All right, we got the Bright brothers in here. You cannot miss this. We have Alex Bright, who was in before, and AJ Bright. Thank you for coming in as well.
Listen, I've been on the Howard Stern show, been on American Greed on CNBC, I've been on BET, but you haven't made it until you get to come on to the MSCS Media podcast. So I feel very privileged to be here, so thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can I hire you? That was the first one out of 210 I got like that.
Tommy, I told you last time, if my brother, he's the perfect salesman. He could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. That's how good he is. So, yeah, definitely you want to bring him on board.
No, this is great. So, first of all, the studio is, like, incredible.
Thank you very much.
I've been in some really nice, I've been in Howard Stern studio. I mean, this is, like, right up there. This is amazing. This is great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
But my biggest concern is, we're on Palm Beach Island, so are we even allowed to be on Palm Beach Island after dark? What time are we finishing this up? We may need to get out of here soon. Did you get us a special pass or something to be here?
I plead the fifth because I don't want them to do me like they did Rogan. They took 10 years of Rogan with comedians, right? And they're just joking around, and they call the guy a racist when some of his best friends are comedians that are black. So I plead the fifth before there's a chop up, and now well, maybe I did get you a pass, but I can't tell you. 2 passes.
Oh, yeah, we might need an escort later to get off of here.
Yeah,
Palm Beach. No, this is nice. It's a wonderful area. This is Palm Beach. This is fantastic. I love coming down here.
Very much. It's so amazing because both of you are such entrepreneurs in 2 different lanes. And what I noticed with Alex before I met you, or talking about you coming in, is he never asked you to help him because, you got your master's degree, you went into the entertainment, you were working for all these Fortune 500 companies, and he never went to, as far as I know, when we had talked about it, he never said, hey, Alex, can you get me in here? Can you get me in there? Or AJ, Alex, could you guys not have A?
The other black guy.
The other guy.
They're going to cut that up too now.
Yeah, he's somewhere. He's back there in the back with the black
guys all look the same. I can't tell which one's which.
I'm pretty dark too. Well, I can't see any of us, so we're all good. We can see him though.
We can't, Rob?
Yeah. So that was the thing, for me, it's always been, and he's always been like the person that I can bounce ideas off of, but he knows that, and he'll tell you, you know what, we can get everything going, but your T's have got to be crossed, your I's have got to be dotted, everything has got to be perfect, because these guys, you only get one shot at all. And that was when I first started trying to really get into the business, I looked at him and I said, hey, what do we need to do? What do I need to do? And he explained to me, you got to get your shit together because you only get one chance with these guys. And if you blow it, they're not going to look back at you. So, I bounce ideas off of him, but I've never ever gone to him and said, yo, call magic because I'm ready. I've never really said that. And because I know I've got to be at tip top, because it's not only my reputation that's on the line, it's his reputation. Yeah. And how he maneuvers and how he gets around, he gets people coming to him because he doesn't ask people for favors.
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with very famous people, especially actors and producers, everyone is coming at them from every direction, 24/7. Turn on any channel, you go to any place they're at, and everybody wants something from them. And the way I got in this industry actually is a great story, but it kind of speaks to the fact that you just have to kind of play it cool, because everybody's coming at them, and you have to be cautious about how you approach someone, especially if you don't have that great of a relationship with them, if you're going to ask for a favor. And a great example of that is like David Ramsey. David Ramsey, met him at Comic-Con. We were at Comic-Con with Hulk Hogan a few years, about three years ago, probably.
It was actually about 4 or 5 years.
So he's I'm Jamaican, I have a terrible thing with time. My time, if I say the other day, I could be talking about last week or like 5 years ago. So I'm not very good with time. But David Ramsey's a big fan of Hulk Hogan. He's like, hey, can I come and meet Hulk Hogan? I'm like, you're David Ramsey. You can meet anybody you want. So we went over and he talked to Hulk and just had a great time. So we exchanged numbers. Spoke to him one time in 4 years. I spoke to him actually 2 times because I texted him to find out when he's going to be back in the area. He's going to be in Miami in May and June, so we're having dinner. Twice in 4 years I've reached out to him. So it's like, you can't overstay your welcome. You can't be too pushy. You can't try to sell these guys because, again, everyone is trying to do that. And if you want to try to get into the entertainment business, which is the most competitive, most difficult business in the world.
Cutthroat, right?
Cutthroat.
It's very cutthroat.
Agents are sharks. Everyone, is after you. Just it's really, really tough. You have to manage yourself and be very careful. And that's something that I've been very good at. And you have to. It's kind of like Barry Sanders when he would score a touchdown. He's like, you have to pretend like you've been to the end zone. You don't have to get all crazy and start dancing. He would just hand the ball to the referee and he'd run back to the sideline. That's kind of my approach. I'm more of that more than like, say, the Icky Shuffle or one of these guys who used to dance and do all these things. That's just not my style. It's just never been my approach. So that's how I've always approached things.
Barry Sanders, one of the most underrated running backs ever.
One of the most underrated. And he retired in his prime.
Yeah.
In his prime.
He could have run for probably 4 more years. He could have broken every record.
No offensive line ever.
He had no offensive line.
None.
Played for one of the worst teams.
Yeah.
He found every hole that there was to find.
Because
everybody watched him because it was always Easton.
Absolutely. They knew they were going to hand it to Barry Sanders. Then they still couldn't stop it.
Or not
It was
Easter.
amazing.
When did they always? Thanksgiving.
They always on Thanksgiving Day.
And you're right, Ron. He had no line. That's
No
right.
line.
I forgot. He had no line.
No.
No help.
He was just so quick with them holes.
I tell
was
people all the
unbelievable.
time he's arguably the greatest running back ever to
so.
play the
I
game,
agree.
besides Jim Brown. Him and Jim Brown are just on God level.
Yeah.
That's
and they had no team.
no.
Yeah. And,
So with
none
these
whatsoever.
high-end people, what you kind of mentored Alex in a way, you kind of want to be that guy that's in the background, because then when they go to maybe want to work with you or deal with you, they want the guy that's not up their ass.
Absolutely.
Because they know if Alex is constantly prying them or you, that's
Absolutely.
not somebody they want to be around all day, because they're already dealing with it all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Because how many times, the guys that you've managed and dealt with, they're eating dinner,
Oh, yeah.
and people come up.
Eating dinner, taking a piss.
Yeah.
They're at the urinal with their stuff in their hands.
Yeah.
And people are shoving stuff in their face. Hey, will you sign this? Business cards. Hey, I want to talk to you about this deal. I want to talk to you about that. People have they're very uncouth. They're just always coming at them because, and in a way, I don't fault them. When you watch someone on TV or there's someone playing basketball or football and you've been watching these people for years, you feel like you know them, just because you've read their books and you've been following their careers. So when they see them in person, they just can't contain themselves and they just kind of go crazy. And I always say this, that you never know how famous Dennis Rodman is until you walk with him in an airport. Because me seeing Dennis all the time, I'm always with him. Like I see him walking around in his underwear, and it's like, it's just Dennis.
Yeah.
But when we go out in public or we go to Asia or we're in Europe and he's walking through an airport, it's like pandemonium. It's like the Beatles have come to town. People go nuts. And I'm talking 7-year-old girls or 80-year-old women. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's a likable guy.
It's
He really
amazing.
is. And then especially what he did with Korea, which we'll get to. I mean, I have a big thing. We'll get to that.
I told you the story when that he told me about the urinal. Like he was in the toilet or in the urinal, and people are pushing papers underneath, and that type of fame. It's very uncomfortable.
For me, I think if you're over, say, 21, if you're 10, 15, and one of these guys are in the urinal or they're eating, it's a kid. They don't know,
Right.
But if you're over 21,
You know better.
look, no matter what he is,
Yeah.
whatever that celebrity athlete is, we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
They just found their niche and they excelled. They want to have dinner. You don't interrupt a man at dinner.
Yeah.
Get him when he's walking outside. If you're 21 and older, I would say. Because if you're under that, you're still excited. You can't get mad.
Of course, again, that's why I said I don't blame them. But at the same time, Dennis Rodman hasn't played basketball in 22 years.
He's a legend, man.
He hasn't played basketball in 22 years. And if you were to take him right now and walk through the mall, you would think that the guy just won the NBA championship last year. By the way, he's won 5 titles.
Yeah.
People forget how good of a basketball player Dennis was. People just, I don't know if he gets the credit he
No,
deserves.
he does not.
Mr. Hustle 101, man. That's what you teach kids, what he does.
Absolutely.
Rebound the ball.
He put on his hard hat and he was like the garbage man. He's like, I'll do the dirty work. You guys can have the glory. And to talk to him and to hear like his philosophy on playing and on life, it's inspiring.
Well,
It's
I
inspiring.
always said without Rodman, Bulls never would have won. And
They would've-
Jordan knew that.
100%.
Pippen knew that. Scotty knew that. And nowadays he does what nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
He realized, look, I'm not going to hit a jumper. I'm not going to hit a three-pointer. Here and there he did, actually. You know,
He's actually a very good shooter. A lot of people don't realize that.
yeah, I didn't.
He averaged 28 points a game in college. He's actually a really
Wow.
good shooter.
I didn't
Yeah.
know.
I've shot around with him before, and I've seen him hit 15 in a row from all over the court. He can shoot. But what he told me was, he's like, if you've got Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen,
What do you
he's
got
like,
there?
what do I need to shoot the ball for? Why am I shooting the ball? It's like, let me go and play some defense, body these guys up, and let me get the ball so they can score. He didn't care about the glory.
No.
He just didn't care.
And that's what made him
That's what
the
made him so
best.
good.
There will never be anybody that's better than him at that position, because nobody's going to do that grunt work
No.
for 4 quarters at, I don't know how he did it after some of the party, and he did. You would know better than me, but however he did it, I'll tell you what, every game he played, he gave 100.
He was ready to go, and he was listed as 6'8" in the programs, but he's really 6'6". When he was playing, he was 6'6", 224,
Wow.
playing power forward.
Yeah.
And Kobe Bryant once said that Dennis Rodman, he thinks, is the only NBA player in history who can guard the 1 through the 5, like lockdown, shutdown defense.
Yeah.
And that just shows you his physical acumen and how athletic he was. He was such an athletic beast.
That's 2 of the best, in my opinion. Kobe Bryant, because he didn't have the genetics like Jordan did.
No.
You know, he had to work, and he did work. So you got Kobe Bryant saying that, and just the fact that Jordan played with him, that tells you all you need to know.
Well, Phil Jackson did a commencement speech, I think at University of North Dakota, and a reporter asked him, who's the greatest athlete you've ever coached? Was it Michael Jordan or was it Kobe Bryant? And Phil Jackson said it was Dennis Rodman, and talked for 10 minutes
So
about how physically gifted Rodman was. And I mean, he would be strong. And Isaiah Thomas has told me this also. Dennis was stronger in the last 2 minutes as he was in the first 2 minutes. It was unbelievable. He couldn't explain how he could see Dennis get a rebound, kick it out, and by the time he takes 2 dribbles, he looks down the court. Dennis is under the basket. And the guy just had unlimited amounts of energy.
I know.
He was unbelievable how good he was.
back then,
It was
we
amazing.
were betting, and we were like, sometimes even though I was for the Bulls, you'd bet against it, and I would be like, there's no way. It's the 4th quarter, and he was like, what we used to call him, Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah.
That
Because
was
you
him.
never knew where he was.
No.
And he was always there.
Yeah.
It was nobody like.
That's what you teach kids now, to hustle, to play ball, fundamental
Absolutely.
ball, rebound the ball. Like, that's a guy they should be looking at, how to play basketball. Right?
Yeah, well, nowadays everybody gets trophies.
And he was actually the first person to ever have a bike on the sideline, because he would be riding the bike. He was the first one to ever do that.
Yeah.
He said he did it because he needed to keep himself warm. Like if he got too stiff, he felt like he couldn't, and he was also one of the only players that, say the Bulls would come into town, say they were playing in wherever, they're playing in Miami, it doesn't matter. On the way to the hotel, the bus would drop Dennis off at a gym where he would go and do a full workout. Someone would pick him up, take him to the arena, he'd play the game, and after the game, he'd go and work out again. Like, he was just so dedicated. He was so
Kobe
strong.
was like that too.
Kobe was exactly like that.
I had season tickets there, and I would from Pennsylvania. So Thursdays I would go and come back on Sundays because of work and everything else. So when they had home games on the weekend, I would go. And after a full game, and toward the last 4 years, they were playing him 40 minutes a game, 42.
Oh, yeah.
After all of that, even overtime, the one overtime game with Oklahoma City when this podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. Cash App. Go to cash.app. Cash App, the easiest way to send money, spend money, save money, and buy cryptocurrency. Cash App believes in providing everyone with access to important financial services so they can fully participate in the economy. Sign up today for Cash App. Use the code MSCS. Additionally, once signed up, create an invite code. When a friend uses the invite code and sends $5 or more from a newly created Cash App account, another bonus will arrive within 14 days. That's cash.app, or download the app and sign up. Cash App. Harding got a little bit of something from Meta World Peace, or whoever it was at that time. You remember that? I was at that game when he gave he gave it to Harden.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, what now, bitch? All them elbows for the first 3 quarters?
I remember that.
And after that game, when Kobe won that game with those threes at the end, they had the Lexus box back then, and we would go up there and eat and everything. And there you see Kobe come back out. I guess he missed a foul shot or something. And for 2 hours, because we were there for 2 hours, eating, drinking. 2 hours. He's still out there after playing 42 minutes.
And still
they had a game the night before at home, so it was
Amazing.
back to back, just like him.
Amazing.
Unbelievable, man.
And I always ask Dennis, I'm like, Dennis, why are the big men so bad at shooting free throws? And he said the reason is because their hands are so big. He said if you had really big hands, you didn't have like that soft touch. It's really hard to, because he was a terrible free throw shooter.
Yeah, I remember
Terrible.
Could have been worse than Shaq.
Although
Shaq would have the
Shaq was terrible. Shaq's hands were like gigantic.
Yeah.
But Dennis always told me, because I never knew and understood, why the big men were always so bad. Because you would think they're so tall, it'd be easy. Because they're almost
On par.
almost on par. When they put their hand up, their hand is almost at the basket. You'd think it'd be a little easier. It's not. Free throws are about finesse and touch, and the big guys just don't have that.
And then when they got to grab that ball, that's like a tennis ball to them. They can't
It's like
really
a
get a
tennis ball.
good grip.
Can't get a good grip to get that nice soft touch
Spin.
that you
Yeah.
need. That's also why they're not great shooters. Also, because you need to have that touch.
Yeah.
Got to have that touch.
I remember moving down here to Florida about 11 years ago, right? And we were at the Hard Rock Casino, before all that stuff's built now. And we're sitting there, and I see like this group of people, right? Almost like paparazzi. Like everybody's following somebody. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, just see all these people, and they're walking along with whoever's there. I go to my left. Let's go over and see who's over there. And I look, and it was Dennis Rodman.
Oh, that was probably the party.
And I grew up as a kid. I'm not an older guy, but I loved the Bulls as a kid. Loved Rodman. So like he's there, and I'm just like, it was one of those like, I just like froze. I was like, and he looks at me and goes, "You okay, son?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" Whoa.
Yeah, he loved the Hard Rock, so he used to always go to Murphy's Law and sing at the Hard Rock.
So
he was
cool.
always at the Hard Rock singing.
That was the story that I told you the last time with the girls when we did, what was it was his 40th party?
I think it was his 40th birthday.
His 40th birthday party, and we pull up, and I told you the story the last time. And that's exactly what it's like. You're walking through, and he's sitting there just hustling everybody through, and he's like, just come up here. And I'm like, no, I'm going to sit in the back. And I'm behind, and you're watching it, and all of these people he's just passing, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then they're taking pictures of you, and that was weird for me.
And like
just
you said,
handled
AJ, on a daily basis, it's got to be so tough to deal with. He seems
difficult.
very thankful for it, which is
difficult.
so cool. But I mean, that's tough. And I remember Phil Jackson did an interview, and I guess Dennis said, "Look, I'm going to Vegas."
Yes.
And Phil said, "All right, go, but be back in 2 days." Well, I think they all knew he wouldn't be back. So I think it was Jordan, Pippen, I was Cartwright there, Horace Grant.
What's Grant?
They went and got him, threw some water on him, got him up, flew him back to Chicago or wherever they were playing, and he played like nothing happened.
They're actually going to make a
I was
movie.
dying laughing the way that Phil was saying it.
They're going to make a movie about that 48 hours when he left during the playoffs to go to Vegas.
And he came back and killed it.
They're making a movie about it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a movie. I think is it MGM? I think is making it.
Yeah.
Really?
That should be really good.
Yeah, we worked on that.
That's two hitters. The Tyson movie should be good with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a series.
Okay,
Yeah, it's called Tyson something. We pulled it up.
maybe Will Smith should play Tyson.
Will Smith should retire. I can't believe he did that, man. Because he's hurt in comedy.
so crazy.
Come on. If you and I would have done that, one of us
issue-
three, you know where we would be?
So crazy.
Writing letters.
The issue with that is it was a really bad look for somebody who was just so PG and so, Will Smith, he's a megastar, 10, 15 years ago in the summer his movies come out, it's $300 million, $200 million easy opening day.
Easy.
And for him to get into the spot that he's in now, it was just really sad to watch because, he how he handled it wasn't what you would expect from this clean cut nice guy that he's always had that portrayal. His raps, he never talked about the stuff that Biggie and Tupac and
he rarely
everybody
swore.
did.
It was very clean.
It was very clean and PG.
And very good as
yeah,
well, too.
Clean and PG, and he got a lot of flack for that. I remember growing up, listening Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I remember those.
He's crazy.
And now it's just I don't know, man. I don't know.
In your opinion, why would he do that? Has a clean cut career. He's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Is he crazy to do this? Especially now. I mean, 20 years ago, somebody says something about your wife. Maybe it's different, but it's a comedian.
I
Don't
think
sit in the
there's
front row.
I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of emotion going on in their relationship. And again, I can't tell it because I don't know him personally, but it was just a bad look. I mean, there's ways to handle that. And I'm glad that like Denzel and Tyler Perry and a lot of the guys came up and they were like, dude, that's not how you handle it. If a comedian is hitting you and cracking on you, and like that's one of the things like in the black culture, there's you're gonna do the dozens, you're gonna get the cracks. You don't go and slap somebody on our bus when we were growing up. Yeah, when we were growing up, constantly on our bus, everybody's cracking on each other, and then you don't take it personal.
No,
it's just how it is. And for him to go in, and the joke wasn't even really that harsh.
It was a G.I. Jane joke. What? Because she's bald.
It was just it's a bad look, and I hope he recovers because he's a really nice guy from what I hear. He's a very nice guy.
Apparently, Will Smith's marriage is open to anything except jokes.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who for 30 years has curated his image and his brand to the point where, again, like Alex was saying, even when he was making, this music, think of the music he was making and the other rappers were making at the time, like Getting Jiggy With It and Summertime and all these songs and just incredible music, incredible artist. But he was so clean cut, managing himself, never got in any trouble. And 30 minutes before the biggest moment of his life, he goes on stage and slaps Chris Rock, a rap god. Just straight up bullshit. There's just no other way to explain it. Absolutely unacceptable. And people are saying, oh, he's defending his wife, he's doing this, he's doing that. Violence has nothing to do with love. That's not, if Jada has an issue with the jokes or whatever, Jada can speak up for herself. She doesn't need him to do this. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a great piece about this. And he talked about how not only did he hurt himself and he hurt Chris Rock and he hurt his wife, but he also hurt women. This idea that women need a man in order to protect them and to stand up for them. Like they can't do that on their own. It's very damaging. It's very damaging. Also, it's very damaging to this idea that, black men are these violent people. And when a street thug gets arrested and is killed or whatever, or they're robbing banks and all these things, you're like, okay, you know what? These are hoodlums. That's one thing. But Will Smith, he was never that guy. Like he was our guy.
Yeah.
He was the clean-cut guy, the well-educated, well-spoken, very high society.
He was Mr.
Very
Hollywood.
Successful. He was Mr. Perfect.
Hollywood.
I mean, Hancock. Did you see Hancock? That was a great movie.
Yeah.
I even liked Wild Wild West. People thought it was shit. I loved it. I thought it was good.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. But this guy even this guy can't control himself. Incredibly damaging. Incredibly damaging.
So damaging. And what I think he doesn't realize is not just that himself, like, the next gigs he gets. They already tried to screw Chappelle, right?
Yes.
One of the funniest guys around.
Absolutely.
Now, is he going to come out and hold back and not be as funny? I hope not, but he might.
And that's the danger. And
then next thing you know, you have Will Smith, who, was Angel Boy. Chris Rock comes out. He's right there with Chappelle. And now you hit him. Is he going to stay strong?
It's a chilling effect. It can have a chilling effect.
And on top of all that, you got two African Americans who are trying, and in that culture, you guys are trying to say, hey, look, we're professionals, we're right, and here you go at, like you said, the biggest time of his life.
Yeah, he won an
You got
Oscar.
two African American men, and Chris Rock, you got to give it to him. You got to respect him.
He was incredible.
He could have clocked him back.
He was incredible.
And then it would have been nuts, but it would have been good for the ratings, I guess.
Oh, the ratings went to the roof as soon as everybody
But
tuned in.
it's just a bad look for what he's, because he started as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. People thought that was where he was going to go. And then he made it clean. He was one
Mr.
of the
Hollywood.
African Americans that just didn't stick to like the Tyler Perry thing.
No.
He did every lane possible, rapping, and kept it clean there.
Absolutely.
No trouble, no gun violence, blah, blah, blah.
Acting, and he wasn't in the kind of roles that you normally would see black actors in. He wasn't a slave. He wasn't a hoodlum. He wasn't a gangster. He wasn't a drug dealer. Killer. He was playing incredible roles.
He was Mr. Summer. He was Mr. Hollywood Summer. That's when you knew a movie was coming out in the summer with Will Smith. You knew it was going to be a blockbuster, and that's what he was getting.
And in my opinion, at the time, the movie that he played when he was by himself with the dog.
Oh,
what was the
I Am Legend?
No.
No.
Yeah,
No.
the vampire one, or
No, he was like lost with the dog, and it was just him. Was it iRobot?
No, was it I Am Legend?
No, it was I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
That's
Is that
the,
where it was?
that's the
Yes,
vibe.
where the dystopian world,
Yeah.
and he was trying to the virus,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
In a normal situation, the only person you would ever see get that role is Denzel Washington
Yep.
or Morgan Freeman,
Yep.
or let's just be real,
Absolutely.
a white guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
And he got it.
He was the guy.
So, and he did great.
was
That was a
amazing.
hell of a movie.
Yeah.
There's nobody
He's a
that,
megastar.
in my opinion, nobody could have done a better
Yeah.
job at that.
He's a megastar.
But he just ruined it.
But
Ruined it.
but what also that no one is really talking about is what is it doing to comedy? What is it doing to the
That's
performers
what.
that are
That's
there?
what I like to laugh.
that's-
Just like we were talking.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, there's comedians that are going to say stuff that's going to push the envelope, and they always do. But some of my I love a lot of the comedians that push that element. And now, what does that say?
Yeah.
You can't. You got to be careful because some guy's going to come not like your joke and come up and clock you one. I mean, it's a precedent that is absolutely dangerous.
And then
Absolutely
it hurts
dangerous.
us too,
Yeah.
because say
fan.
as you brought in and like we were talking before we came on, like you've done all kinds of stuff for other people. You're
Sure.
kind of branching out. You're still doing your
Absolutely.
thing, but you're doing a little bit for you. And let's say you decide to do a podcast one day just to push whatever you're doing.
I know a great studio. Maybe I could borrow.
You absolutely can. But I could tell you this, because of these guys doing this, what Will Smith did, that gives these social media companies more juice behind what they want to censor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now by him doing that, now we have to censor even more because
Devastating.
obviously this isn't enough.
Yeah.
It's absolutely devastating. And then to make matters even worse, to make a terrible decision even worse, he's sitting in his chair and screaming out at Chris Rock from the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you say? Don't F.
Keep-
Don't
keep-
don't
he
keep
said-
your
he said
keep your
keep-
effing
Yeah.
keep my effing wife out of
Keep
your.
my wife's name out your effing mouth. He
Mouth,
said it
yeah.
twice.
He said it
You
twice.
shouldn't have done that.
And
So unacceptable.
Yeah. It's like I said.
Unacceptable, inexcusable. There is no excuse. Listen, I am a gun-toting, meat-eating, liberal. Like that's just kind of like my moniker. But I don't like violence unless it's in self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's in self-defense, you should not be committing violence against anyone. No. And for him to do this, it's just so
It's completely out of character.
It's almost unbelievable.
It is because
If it was Suge Knight, okay, fine.
All right,
I would
we-
understand. Will Smith?
Yeah, that was the big thing for me. It was like because my friend, I wasn't watching the Oscars, and my friend is like, "Did you see what Will Smith did?" I'm like, "What did Will Smith do?" He's like, "He slapped the shit out of Chris Rock." I said, "Get the hell out of here! Why would he get that?" And I watched it, and I'm just like it was shocking, absolutely shocking. Because again, that stereotype that you would have and see would be from, somebody like. I'm being careful not to hit any names out because I don't need to.
Suge Knight. He slapped a lot of people.
Suge Knight.
Yeah.
These gangsters,
like
these
the guys that are the gangsters,
The tough-
Birdman, Suge.
Yeah, you would understand. Or if it was the Source Awards,
Yeah.
You know
Source
something.
Awards,
Well, and that was-
something's
you're
You're
gonna
gonna
go
hear
down.
a gunshot
Yeah,
there.
somebody's gonna get stabbed.
That's
that
a
was
given.
that
I
was
think
the
somebody
joke.
did get stabbed at the Source Awards one
That
year.
was
Yeah.
that was the running joke because
crazy.
it was like the Oscars turned into the Source Awards, and again it was a black
Because
producer,
it's
a black
yes,
and you're just like,
and that's
oh my
another
God, are
thing.
you kidding
This
me
is
right
the
now?
first time in 94 years they had a black producer and an entire black production staff. So all the producers are black, and this is the night you decide to do this. It's just so crazy.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
so crazy.
And if I'm African American, I'm thinking, who cares about your career? You just tarnished us.
Yeah.
all the
Terrible.
work that we did.
Yeah.
Shit.
Will Smith should have been arrested
Yes.
on the spot
and
and
escorted.
dragged out in handcuffs
I'm with you.
to be pulled out of there. And the Academy is saying, "Oh well, we asked him to leave and he wouldn't leave."
What do you mean you asked?
You don't need his permission to remove him. Where's the security?
If I did that, would they? What would they do?
Absolutely.
What would they do to me?
Exactly.
Where's the security?
Yeah.
How does he walk up there, slap him, and not be dragged out of the
there.
arena immediately?
Because he's Will Smith.
Yeah.
And then he gets up, 30 minutes later, he gets up and wins.
And apologizes.
He apologizes to everybody in the world except Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And he even drags Richard Williams into this. Oh, everybody said Richard Williams was crazy, defending his family. It's just so disgusting. And it's like you taint this man's image. And Richard Williams, who wasn't there, Venus and Serena were there, but Richard Williams wasn't. He put out a statement like, hey, listen, our family, we don't believe in violence unless it's in self-defense.
Yeah.
He's like, we should.
Yeah, he was like
distancing himself, like, wait a second, don't compare yourself to me.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
But don't bring me in.
Don't bring me into it.
BS.
So to defile and to stain this moment where Richard Williams is being heralded, his story has won the Oscar. Will Smith did a great job playing him, and to then stain that moment, and not only the moment but the whole Oscars, because people don't know about Dune winning and all these other great shows that won, and it's just it's disgusting.
It was bad.
I don't care what movie
terrible.
he has to come out with. I'll never watch it again. I think a lot of people are with me on that.
See, I not that I disagree with you guys. I do agree that what he did is unacceptable, shouldn't have been tolerated, should have been dragged out of there. In my opinion, that is the antithesis of a human being. A mess up, a bad mess up, right?
Yeah.
A terrible mess up. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it just goes to show you think everyone's perfect. You think everyone's living a great life.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not.
It's fake.
Yeah.
Everybody has some skeleton. Everybody has some something.
100%.
Something was eating at that man.
He's broken. He's a broken man.
I think.
And that's where I say, I'm not saying he was right. I'm not.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Rob. He sat in the front row with one of the best comedians in the world. Anybody knows.
Absolutely.
If you don't want to get cracked, I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I don't care if whoever the most famous person is right now, who knows, sits in the front row. If you're in the front row and Rock or Chappelle comes out, believe me, you're going to get hit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
sit the hell back one.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that slap had in my opinion, I think that slap had very little to do with the joke.
Yeah.
He is a broken. He's a broken man.
Wife.
He's in a situation with his wife where there's some entanglements and other things going on, but he is broken, and that's why he reacted that way.
Yeah.
Complete overreaction, by the way, to a stupid joke.
For me also though is I'm not going to hold that point because again, like Rob said, he is human, and he there is emotions that go into it, and I think we have to. He's got to definitely go on a campaign to fix this. Yeah. I'm willing to be a forgiving person, as long as the asking for forgiveness is authentic, and I think it's going to be because his media team and his marketing team.
But
is
Alex,
be
if it's
definite.
his media team making him do it, is
and
authentic to me
there's
would
the
have been.
disingenuousness. That's what I'm saying.
You know, when he
it
got
can't
up
just be him. It can't just be his media team telling him you need to fix this. He's got to literally want to fix it. And he's, like I said, I'm willing to give him an opportunity, and I want to see it because again, it's uncharacteristic of the Will Smith that I grew up listening to and I watched, and I really like. I would love to have had Will Smith. It's a production company, and like I have a list of production companies that I would love to get a chance to work with, even not just Soul but other things. And his was on the top of that list because the product and the stuff that he's putting out was good. Now it's kind of second thought. Like I don't want to touch it now. It's toxic. Anything with him. So
to me, if it was genuine, when he got back up at the end, he would have apologized.
Yes.
He should have
When
apologized.
He didn't. Then to me, anything after that,
And then he goes to the variety party. He goes to the variety party, and he's like
yucking it up and having a good time.
That
So then his apology on Instagram comes out, which his publicist clearly wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
He had a chance to say all that when he was giving his acceptance speech. Never mentioned Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Just absolutely just a gross and an odious, disgusting moment. It was just, it's hard to find the words to describe how disgusting this situation was. And absolutely terrible. Should be condemned by everybody. There's inexcusable. There's no excuse for this. And we can never be in a position, we can never be in a society where the justification for not dragging him out of there in handcuffs is because we didn't want the optics of a black man being removed from the Oscars.
Well,
like we can never be, our society, like if that's not wrong, if it's not wrong to walk up on stage and to slap a comedian while he's performing live on television, if that's not wrong, then nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
Then we lose all sense of right and wrong.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, like, what do you mean because he's black? That has nothing to do with it. Drag his ass out of there. He should have been removed immediately.
Yeah. And
immediately.
And even going on to like the like I said about the comedian stuff, one of my favorite shows on Comedy Central is the roasts. The roasts are absolutely hilarious. And the stuff that some of those, like one of my favorite comedians to roast is Lisa Lampanelli.
Lisa,
she's
well, I tried to
saw
get
her
her
at the
in.
Hard Rock.
Yeah,
my God,
I tried to have her in. She's
I
not
literally
feeling
laugh my
I saw her at the Hard Rock.
ass
She's
off.
amazing at the Improv.
The
She's
stuff
amazing.
that she does, the humor that she pushes, you know, the whole I'm into dating and fucking black men. That is classic.
I loved when she said she likes to date black men, but not like the good black men, the ones that will like run up your phone bill and fuck up your credit. You know? Like she's just hysterical.
And this is this big white woman.
Yeah,
you know
she's
what I
this
mean?
big white Italian woman.
Yeah.
Can
she's
you imagine
incredible.
not having that?
Yeah,
She's incredible.
She's absolutely incredible.
Oh, she's so
imagine
running up your phone bill.
Yeah, imagine imagine the outrage like that people have. Like
She's
they
amazing.
can't say stuff like that. I remember there's the comedian she was on and what's her name was on it. She's a right wing. She's white ring.
Was she on Bill Maher's show all the time?
Yeah, she's always on Bill Maher. Bill Maher. I can't remember her name now.
I know you're talking about the blonde one.
Yeah, the blonde.
Can you Google the
can't remember
lady
her
that
name.
was on
So-
Bill Maher's show?
so
I don't know if it will come
The
up.
blonde conservative.
The blonde conservative. She's on Fox all the time now. She's kind of like
Kaylee McAfee?
no,
No.
not Kaylee McAfee. Oh my God, her name is
It's okay. We'll find it and come back to it.
So there was a new comedian, and I'd never seen her. Ann Coulter. It was
Ann Coulter.
So
That's it.
she comes up on the dais, and she's like, and Ann Coulter's here, and she's like, wow, Ann Coulter, what does it really feel like to be a supervillain? And she's going off on Ann Coulter. She's like, Ann Coulter, the only Mexicans that'll be happy when you die are the ones that bury you or digging your grave. I was like, wow.
Do you know why can't we laugh?
I was
at
like,
That's funny. Come on, you gotta be able to laugh.
I was laughing and Ann Coulter just sat there smiling. She got her back in the end and she said some corny stuff, but she's not a comedian. But that type of humor and this is really what I think the crux of the problem is we've gotten to the point, and I said this the last time, we've got to the point where we can't look at someone who is on the opposite side as an enemy. You may have a different view from me, you may have a different saying, but you're not my enemy. You're a person who has feelings and they just have a different ideology than I do. And the comedians, when you start attacking the comedians, it's over. It's over. I can't remember what quote it was, but there was a quote talking about totalitarianism and you can measure it by how they treat the reporters and how they treat comedians. And it's a dangerous trend when we can't laugh at each other and have fun with each other.
Well, the good thing is we have a couple funny white hillbillies that drink all day and all night, and they're not going to change.
No.
So I forget Schwab. There's one really funny guy, but he's full blown alcoholic, but he'll never change. But he'll still roast. He'll roast it.
And again, that's the roasts are I love watching the roasts.
I just hope we don't lose that. But I don't want to get killed. I mean, they'll kill me. They'll hit me with Botox, hair back, white teeth and shit because I got veneers. But I'm smart. But I sit in the middle. But where I can see the full stage, but down the middle row, if it's the Improv or wherever it's at, close enough where I have perfect seats, but enough where I'm not going to get hit.
Where you're not going to get hit. Absolutely.
If I want to get hit, then I'll go up. I don't want front row. That's the one time I don't want no floor seats.
No front row. I think AJ said it right though. I mean, a broken man. This was something that's been boiling. The pot was boiling and boiling and boiling, and that just set him off. It's his what's going on. I'm not saying he's right. Again, I'm not condoning what he did. It's whatever's in his head, and it takes one thing for somebody to snap, and that was his snap.
But here's the thing, Rob. If they would have arrested him and taken him like they would anybody else, this probably would have been in and out.
Yeah,
it would have blown over. Because they did, and then they let him go. So what is that the new okay?
Exactly.
Because you got to think about the way the world is now.
I agree, and that's their fault. Then.
Completely
And that's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's a huge miss.
So Alex, you got something big here to present.
Yeah, so definitely I've got the comics. Let's
is your hair.
Yeah, there's my camera. Okay, we've got the variant cover. This is the original cover and this is the variant cover. So we've got those out. Finally got my artists he finally came through, and we're going to be down in Fort Lauderdale. So I definitely want to bring those up and get that to you. We're going to be in Fort Lauderdale April 23rd and 24th at the Broward Convention Center. It's a game and toy and comic show. It's the first one. I'm hoping that it builds up and becomes really big. We're going to have our T-shirts. We're going to have our comic books. I'll be there signing autographs and then talking about the things that we've got coming up. You know, since I left, we've really pushed the envelope on getting the books out, getting our books going. We started another Kickstarter. There was a gentleman on the Kickstarter. I cannot remember his name, but he's a sci-fi writer. Yeah, he's a sci-fi writer. He's running or had run the biggest campaign in Kickstarter history. He basically was a big-time sci-fi writer, and he told his publishing company, I'm retiring. I'm not going to do sci-fi anymore. And then he turns around and starts a Kickstarter campaign and says, hey, fans, I'm going to start writing my next books, and I'm going to self-publish. Here's an opportunity for you to donate and contribute to my campaign, and you will get anything that I write for the rest of my life in perpetuity. He raised $29 million. Damn. $29 million. And he's got a book. I cannot remember the gentleman's name, but he's like one of the top sci-fi writers of all time. And his fans
Congratulations to him.
His fans flocked to Kickstarter. And so we're kind of emulating that, and where we're going to be doing, because the first volume of what our series was going to be, where you're going to get 6 issues for Soul and then 6 issues of Primal Origins. So we took that into consideration because we had a lot of positive reviews, a lot of positive people wanting to see the books. So we decided to launch our second Kickstarter to raise the next 10 books. So you can come in and you'll basically get, in the next 2 to 3 years, we will have 10 books coming out, issue 1, 2, 3. And actually, if you go to the website, you can see the cover. Like I said, my artist is absolutely killer. And we kind of showed the second cover, and the second cover, I don't know if you can get to it, Rob, but the second cover it's amazing. And then another thing that
you want to explain this so everybody can see just what we have.
This
will all be in the description.
Yeah, this is our what we did was, we had a letter that we gave out to anyone that we shipped the books off to, and this is the newest letter because we've got now Soul issue 1 out. So this came with all of our packages with thanking everybody for supporting Firebourne Comics, and we give them the address for our Kickstarter so they can actually go in and check out our Kickstarter campaign, because again, we're trying to raise $25,000, but that's going to cover all of the book art. That's going to cover all of the shipping and the packaging and the printing, as well as a little side money for some of the conventions that we have. Right now we've got 2 conventions lined up, the one in Fort Lauderdale and then the one in Montgomery, Alabama in the summer. It's the Urban Sci-Fi Con, and I'm actually going to be running a panel there talking about my next project that we're doing, which is the Sci-Fi series. We've got the funds for it, and we're going to be
urban panels. That means like a black panel.
Yes, again,
that's like code word.
Black sci-fi. We talked about this the last time. I'm trying to take it over, man. It's this misconception that people that we don't have it and we are not involved in it, but we are. And so, with my series that we're doing, we're going to be doing 6 30-minute episodes, and we're going to start shooting it in the summer. We're getting the first episode, which is the pilot. We're shooting it June 2nd through the 7th, and it's in Orlando. We tied in UCF, we tied in Valencia, so you guys can check that out and hit me up, and I can explain even more. But it's going to be a really cool series that we're going to try to self-distribute. We're going to go. We're going to be working with a company called Film Hub, and they kind of act like a go-between between Amazon Prime, Apple TV, IMDb TV, YouTube TV, Tubi, and what's the other one? The Tubi, and what's the other?
They're like the gateway.
The streaming.
They're
Yeah,
the gateway.
They're the streaming one. So it's Tubi, and then Roku. So Roku and Tubi actually 2 weeks ago announced that they're actually going to start going after original content series to offer and to provide to all of their subscribers, because that's the game now. Everybody is getting into the streaming. Everybody. Paramount Plus, which is Universal, they just came out and they've got Picard. They've got like 5 different Star Trek shows coming out. So you're gonna have new Star Trek shows that you can watch.
So you're gonna force me to watch.
So I'm gonna force you to watch Star Trek.
I like Star Trek. Yeah, I'm more of a Star Wars guy.
He's the Star Wars guy. And
I'm more of a Star Wars guy. But,
and of course, you've got Disney Plus with Star Wars and Marvel and Tubi. It's a smart move because you've got so many different things out there, but there's a lot of repetition in a lot of the shows, and so they're looking for new streaming and new avenues to bring in people to it, because right now people are using Tubi and Roku to lock in and just stream off of Disney Plus or ESPN or Hulu or whatever the other ones are. So they're like, well, why are we broadcasting their stuff when we have enough subscribers where we can put out our own content, and that's going to drive people away from there, and we'll get a little bit of a piece of Disney or Amazon, because those are right now the two big ones.
So if you're going to make any sci-fi projects, maybe you can make a sequel to Snakes on the Plane. Make an urban Snakes on a Spaceship.
Black snakes on a spaceship, right?
I would have to probably try to get Sam L to come in on that one.
I can get Sam L. Hey,
Yeah.
you've made
See
it.
if I can get
Buddy.
him. So
and then so people know when they see the two covers. Now you have two different covers of Soul. It's the same.
it's the same
It's
story,
just different covers.
but what we wanted
Okay.
to do was we wanted to have a different reading and variant to tell some different things in the story. So that's the primary one, the blue cover, which is the Milky Way galaxy, and it's got a little target on it to where you see where Earth or the Sol system would be. And then the second one is as the ships are arriving. It's my homage to Star Wars, where you get that scene of the Star Destroyer chasing Princess Leia's ship, and so I really wanted to get into that, and I'm really excited and really happy. Like I said, if Rob can pull up if you can get to the website, we can or the Kickstarter. If you go to Kickstarter.com and then type in Soul, you can actually see the cover. The cover is the second issue is it's amazing.
And then Alex, if somebody wants this signed, how can they get it signed by you?
So you can reach out to me at firebournecomics.com and ask when you place your order. You can tell me who your order is, because I ship everything out from my house. Everything comes through me, and you'll say, "Hey, Alex, I just bought your comic. I would love to get it signed." Or you can come to the convention.
There you go, which we'll have in the description.
There you go.
So yeah,
Great.
if you click on Soul, which is the one on the left,
Okay. And if you're listening, we are
And then
showing
scroll
Alex's,
down.
Kickstarter.
so we kind of did a sneak preview. Scroll all the way down, keep going, and there's some covers from
pretty
issue
cool.
1.
Oh, that's awesome.
Keep scrolling. There's another page. I think that's page 3 from issue 1. where it's
AJ, are
telling
you drawing all this? Or is it you or Dennis?
I wish
Which one
I could.
which was drawing it?
I wish I
Dennis
could
or you?
draw. I wish I could.
Did Dennis get into drawing?
No, but he's very creative. I think in his past life, he was like a singer. He loves to sing on stage with bands. He's been on stage with Pearl Jam. He's very good.
So
We're very close.
that's
to
the
those guys.
cover for issue 2. So we gave you a sneak peek of what
That's
the
pretty
cover.
cool. I like the one up. Go up again real quick, Rob. Up, not that one. That one's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was he's being chased by the Devar, so he's trying to run away. Yeah, it's
It's pretty crazy,
It's
right?
So it's amazing. He's so creative. So
Yeah.
from as long as
Both of you
I
guys.
can remember, he's been writing stories and just so creative. He's got all these great ideas. And I remember the beginning of the internet first started, he had within Yahoo groups, and he was writing these stories, and people would be emailing him like, "Hey, when's the next chapters coming out?" Like, he had a huge following of people. He's just very creative, and he's good at that. He's just got these
I told him
ideas.
when he came in, I told him, I said, I hate sci-fi. I'm just a straight shooter.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
okay.
And a lot of times
Yeah.
it gets me in trouble, but I rather just say to Alex, I really hate sci-fi.
Yeah.
Then, I like sci-fi. And then
Right.
when Alex leaves, Rob, I can't fucking stand it. You know?
and that's the thing.
But then he explained it to me
Yeah.
a little bit more, and I had put it on. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that a lot of shows that I watch when I used to watch TV, but now I just work a gazillion hours. But when I used to watch, they're actually sci-fi. They come on the Sci-Fi Channel.
yeah,
So I'm more into like zombies.
yeah.
Or even better, like some sort of virus. Well, before COVID. Before COVID, I loved like a movie where you had a virus outbreak that turned you into zombies. Like that was like my favorite.
And then you lived it.
And then then they had to live with the zombies. And
This
people
guy
hunting them
liked it,
down.
and then next
And
thing you
then
know,
we
he's
all lived
living
it.
it.
Yeah.
Then we had to deal with COVID, so not so much. But I'm a zombie guy. I love zombies.
He's not just a zombie guy. Zombies are good, but his
He's bringing.
Be careful now. Don't say anything too crazy.
his big
He knows where all the bodies are buried, so I got to be careful.
I didn't
big
hear
one-
nothing.
his big one is don't let him fool you. He and I have like knockout, drag out Star Wars stuff because he's a Star Wars fanatic. Just
Oh,
like
I love
me.
Star Wars.
Like I remember when episode 7, 8, and 9 came out, he called me and he was like, "Did you watch it?" I'm like, I can't watch it." He's like, "But the progs," and I'm just like, I'm done. So we have literally knockout, drag out fights. But he's in the same boat as I am, where I think Disney really made a huge mistake with
Disney's
7
done
and 8.
for now, buddy.
Oh.
21,000 people canceled their season passes in a
He's
day.
one of them.
Me, I'll never go to that I'll never go to that place again.
So
Nah, that's
yeah,
crazy
I
to
have
me.
other issues with Disney.
Me too, man.
I have some other issues, but the thing with Star Wars is that when George Lucas, at the farther he stepped away from the story and the production, which started with Empire Strikes Back, when he turned it over to
Alan King.
Empire Strikes Back was great, by the way, but I'm just saying that was the beginning of him starting to distance himself. So by the time 1, 2, and 3 were made, they were an abomination. They were terrible. I did not like them. It also introduced the worst sci-fi character created of all
Jar
time,
Binks.
Jar Jar Binks and the Gungans.
Yeah.
Okay, the worst character. Oh, what do you say? Me say this and me say that. It's so stupid.
My brother used to watch that.
It's so stupid. Go
Are
to
you-
YouTube when you have time.
Bro, you're an Italian. What are you doing?
Go to YouTube when you have time and look up Jar Jar Binks
I will.
and the Gungans. It is the worst character of all time. Hated it. Then they were smart and they made Rogue One, which brought me back into the fold, because after 1, 2, and 3, I was like, okay, I'm done with Star Wars. Then they made Rogue One, which is one of the best
Yeah, it's on there
Star
with
Wars
Empire.
movies
Believe it or
ever
not,
made. It was
I
amazing.
watched it with my brother.
Okay.
It was up there. It was up there with Empire.
I watched it.
It's
Rogue One was
Empire.
great. And then they brought in Fellini and Favreau and had The Mandalorian and introduced the greatest character, I think, ever, sci-fi, non-sci-fi, Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
The greatest character ever. And Baby Yoda doesn't even talk.
Poor Baby Yoda. Is that the little one
That's
with the
the green-
ears?
yeah.
Yes.
Man.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Grogu.
I wish I could get that
So,
doll.
so
Yeah.
let me,
Plastic cell, wherever you're at. You need to make that doll. You get
Tommy.
6K on them too.
Tommy, so I'm a huge, like I said, Star Wars and Star Trek are my thing. Sci-fi is my thing.
Oh, yeah.
Greatest character ever created.
Greatest character.
He
Even though I'm still not fully sold on the sci-fi, I'm with y'all. That is a cool ass
Here-
character.
here-
I want that little.
He doesn't even talk. He doesn't have any dialogue. He doesn't
Perfect.
say a word.
Perfect.
Greatest character ever.
So
If we could
there's-
find a companion that doesn't talk, hey, I'm down.
So here's a story.
I'm married.
So he calls me after Grogu is introduced, and thare getting ready to season 2's. I think season 2's running and rolling. So he's like, man, I can't believe that they're telling this story. They're telling the story of Yoda. And I turn to him, I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, Baby Yoda, it's Yoda. And I told him, I'm like, bro, it's not Yoda. That's not Yoda. He screamed at me because one of the biggest things, I like trailers and reactions and stuff like that. He wants
I go
to
in cold.
He wants to go into a movie. He won't watch a
I
trailer.
don't watch trailers. I
He won't
wanna
watch
go in cold.
Nothing. So I'm telling him, I'm like, that's not Yoda. He's like, why would you tell me not? Why would you tell me that? You're ruining it. He hung up the phone on me. Didn't talk to me for a week because he accused me of ruining his greatest story that he absolutely
hate
loved,
spoilers.
because he
Hate
thought
spoilers.
that was the real Yoda. He thought it was an original story from way back telling how Yoda became Yoda. And I'm trying to explain to him it's not Yoda. They just call him Baby Yoda because he's the same species. Didn't talk to me for a week.
I've seen it. I've seen it when I was living in South Philly with all the Italians. There was a bunch of guys in there that was Star Wars and Star Trek,
Yeah.
and this was like, you would think it was March Madness, or you would actually think it was March Madness. There was 4 of them, and every single day, like when the series was on before that year ended, every day would be the same thing. Coffee, cigarettes, and going back and forth fighting about characters. Who did what? Who did what?
It's
Meanwhile, we're like, are we gonna make some money today? Or are we gonna talk?
It's
crazy,
like
right?
it's great. Star Wars people and
it's
Star
hardcore.
Trek people do not get along.
When I
They
said-
do not get
I
along.
used to work in a movie theater as a teenager, and Star Trek, one of the Star Trek movies came out. I don't remember which one. And I was never into sci-fi either, but I remember just to piss them off, standing there waiting for Star Trek. I'm like, live long and prosper. That is not Star Trek.
That'll
That's
get
the
you
wrong
jumped.
movie. I'm like, I thought that's Star Trek.
You did it just
Oh,
about
just that-
to.
just-
Yeah,
yeah.
you
That's
don't
great.
like. Triumph did a special one time where he went to. They were doing the Star Wars. I think it was episode 2, and he went out and was, the comedian who does Triumph. It's
Yeah.
another person who. How can you cancel that? How can you get rid of that? He's the funniest guy. So he was like, okay, everybody, we're doing a Star Trek. They're doing a Star Wars quiz, and he goes, you just have to answer questions. You win some prizes. So the first question was, so what was the name of the the plane or the spaceship that Han Solo piloted. And they're like, the Millennium Falcon. He's like, no, you guys got it wrong. It's who gives a shit. And everybody's like booing him. And then he has like a guy dressed up like Spock walk through, and they're like flipping him off and booing him. And yeah, he's one of the funniest.
Yeah, I think he was at a Star Wars premiere, the Insert Dog, and he said something to a guy like, "How long will it be till you lose your virginity?" You know?
Yeah,
it was at a Star Wars premiere.
Actually,
funny.
Another one was there was a lady, there was a woman, she was pregnant, and he walks over. He's like, "Oh my goodness, you're pregnant." He's like, "Oh, and you're a Star Wars fan?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like,
Oh,
"And so when's the baby due?" He's like, "Yeah, do you know it's a boy or a girl?" He's like, "It's a boy." He's like, "Oh, man. I guess this will be the last time he sees a vagina in his life." Wow.
Whoa.
I was like, holy cow.
I would have ran.
That's great.
I don't know that guy.
But yeah, again,
it's all in fun.
It's all in fun, and we poke fun at each other. But that's the seriousness of how these things are, and they can get. You know,
I
that's
see
my
how
dream.
intense it is.
Yeah,
I saw
it's
it.
very
I'm telling you, I
intense.
swear to God, I saw it in Philly. I couldn't. These guys, literally, it was crazy.
And again, it's not just even like Star Wars. You're really starting
Star Trek,
to see that.
Star Wars is pretty. It gets pretty vicious. I've seen things thrown at each other.
Another fanatic, like these good series, like Game of Thrones. When Game of Thrones came out, that was
they
like
made a ton.
Great series.
They literally the kid who played Joffrey literally quit acting because people like couldn't.
Did you watch Game of Thrones? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I did.
The actor that played Joffrey walked away.
He was getting attacked in the subway in London, in England.
And people are just they
hated his
fanatic.
character.
Oh, they
Hated
hated it. But he was the greatest character. Like literally, I was watching one of the reactions when he actually. Spoiler alert for anyone. He
likes to spoil.
He
movies.
has. It was after the Purple
good at
Wedding.
that.
The
He
Purple Wedding.
knows a lot of big guys. Better be careful.
Good
So
at that.
it was the Purple Wedding, and literally people are watching it and they're reacting and they're watching the reaction, and people are literally screaming at this as this 15, 16-year-old kid is dying.
Yeah.
He's been poisoned, and people are dying. It's
Well,
such a great.
Just like AJ was saying, you know, they people forget that these guys are human beings.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
I got a great Rodman story. So there's a NBA alumni tour that goes all over the world, and we were in Europe. I think my brother touched this story the last time he was here. So it was a bunch of players, and there's so many of these. I don't remember all the players there, but I do know that Tim Hardaway was there, which, by the way, he just got into the NBA Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Tim Hardaway.
Absolutely.
Tim Hardaway was there. Dennis, Muggsy Bogues was there.
Mostly both.
And a bunch of other guys. So we're traveling through Europe. We were in Belgium, Frankfurt, Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. So we're traveling through for about 2 weeks, playing against the national team of Belgium, and then we'd have these big parties after, and then we're invited to all these different things. So after the last game, the promoter of the whole tour says, "Hey, we're having this big party in the penthouse of the hotel we're staying in." So we were in Frankfurt, Germany. So we show up to this party, and it's amazing. They have food and drinks, and it's incredible. So DJ's playing. There's people there from the different teams that we'd played. It was awesome. So the party's over. The next morning, we're leaving. So we have, so Dennis and one of his agents, Steve Simon, was in a limo. And then me, Tim Hardaway, and one of the coaches were in a rental car because we didn't want to ride with Dennis. It's a long story. But when Dennis is partying at night, you don't want to be with him the next day. So I was driving the rental car with Tim Hardaway and one of the coaches, and Dennis was in the limo with Steve Simon. So we're going back and forth, loading stuff in the car. So we have to walk past the front desk, go in the elevator. We're coming up, we're coming down. They see us all morning. No one says anything to us. So we leave the hotel. We're on our way to the airport. About an hour into the drive to the airport, so we're going to the Frankfurt airport. We're following each other. So the limo's in front and I'm following behind in the car. All of a sudden, I see a police car pull up to the side of us. I see another police car pull up in front of Dennis's car, and a police car pulls up behind me. And I'm like, man, Rodman is really big over here. We're getting a police escort to the airport. They're going to escort us to the airport. How cool is that? Then all of a sudden, the lights come on, and they're like forcing us off the road, like forcing us off the exit. And so we all like come off the exit. And a female German cop walks up to my window, And I wrote down, she's like, yeah, do you have your passports? And so we're all like, yeah, we have our passports. So we all get our passports and give them to them, whatever. And she's like, hey, have you been drinking? And I was like, no, I haven't been drinking. And she's like, okay, here, blow into this. She's giving me a breathalyzer. Now, I'm in Germany. I have no idea what the rules are. I have no idea what the laws are. I don't know if I can refuse or not or whatever. So I was like, all right, I guess I just got to blow in this thing. So I blew into it, and I think I blew like a 0.001 or something. And she's like, I thought you said you weren't drinking. I said, oh, last night I drank my ass off. I was like, I thought you meant like right now. No, I'm not drinking out. I drank my ass off last night. So they go, you guys have to come with us. So they took us all. They took Dennis out of his car, Steve. We all had to go into the police station, and they put us in a holding cell. Okay, so I don't want to say we're in jail and we're not arrested, but we are detained. Like, we can't leave. We're in a holding cell in the police station, and someone comes and says, hey, you guys are being detained because you didn't pay the bill for the party last night, and you cannot leave Germany until you pay this bill. By the way, the bill includes a $1,500 investigation fee. And they wanted $8,000 cash. They didn't want credit card. That we needed to send a wire. And we were like, whoa, wait a second. I said, first of all, we were coming in and out of this hotel all morning. Nobody said a word to us about this bill. Second of all, it wasn't even our party. We had nothing to do with it. The promoters didn't pay the bill, apparently. And I guess they figured, well, Rodman's the most famous person here, so he should pay it. Yeah. So we're like, oh my gosh. So we're like on our phones, like trying to call people like, oh my, we don't have
You're in Germany.
We're in Germany.
Yeah.
We don't have this kind of cash on us. So we're calling, trying to figure things out. And all of a sudden, basketball starts showing up in the jail. Basketball. Someone, I guess, went to the sports store down the street. So they're passing basketballs through the door. And Tim Hardaway's like, fuck these crackers. I ain't signing shit. I'm like, Tim. I'm like, Tim, hold on a second. I look over.
Trying to get out of here.
Yeah. Dennis hates being in jail. He hates it. So I look over, and Dennis is frantically like signing balls.
Give me more. Give me more. What was it, 8,000? Give me 8,000 balls, right?
Dennis is frantically signing balls and everything. He's like, hey, Tim, you might want to start signing. Tim's like, fuck these guys. I said, Tim, we are in jail in Germany. We like to go home. We're trying to catch flights, and it was incredible. It's incredible. So we were able to get the money. We had money wired in. We actually paid it.
Oh my God.
We paid the $8,000, including the $1,500 shakedown fee. It had nothing to do with us. And the craziest thing about this story is, number one, that within an hour of us being in that jail, TMZ had picked up the story. No idea how they found out. Okay?
They're good, bro.
They're really good. And number two, usually when things go sideways and there's a problem, and it's usually Dennis's fault. This time, it wasn't even his fault. For once, it wasn't even his fault.
At least he can brag about that, right?
And it's funny. He did brag about it too. Because when we got released and we're on our way to the airport, he goes, "Hey man, this one wasn't even my fault." I was like, "I didn't even do this."
He's like, "Don't put this one on me."
He's like, "I didn't do this."
Did you find a promoter that fucked it?
Oh no, I you know what? That's a great question. I think Steve may have tried to chase him down. I just let it go. But we get to the airport and we missed our flights. So we now had to rebook flights, and they said, oh, we can get you to New York, but we can't get you to Miami. And we're like, listen, just get us out of Germany. Get us out of here. And I look over, and Tim Hardaway's like peeling off hundreds. He's like, he's cut off hundreds. He's like, get me out of here. I'll get the first flight out. He's peeling off $100 bills. It was absolutely insane. It was so crazy. And it was all over the news. Dennis Rodman detained.
Get out?
I think we got on a flight like later that night, the last flight, and we had to go to New York. They couldn't get us to Miami because I guess we missed the connections and whatever. So we flew to New York. We stayed in New York the night, and then we took Lufthansa, which is where our original flights were on, to New York, and then we took JetBlue from New York to down to Miami.
Now, when you're growing up, before you get to college, are you into sports? Like, what's your thing in high school? Like, what do you everybody wants to be something.
Sure. So what's interesting is I actually played soccer growing up. My family, we're from the islands, so we're more of like a soccer family than, say, football. So I played soccer as a child growing up. I was actually pretty good. Played in high school. And
I could tell you some high school stories.
And I never played football. All my friends played football. I didn't play any football. I wanted to be on the debate team. So I I was on the debate team, and that was like my thing. So and the coaches were always trying to recruit me to come and play, and I didn't know anything about CTE back then, but just the idea of me smashing my brain into other people for 4 years just didn't really appeal to me. I just didn't think it was a good idea.
Not only that, my mom was adamant about us not playing football.
Yeah, it was never something I really wanted to do. I didn't have anyone pushing me into it, and I was playing soccer. I enjoyed that, but really I wanted to be a debater, and I ended up 2-time state champion. I did all these different things in debate. I went to the national tournament and did a lot of things. So I was a little bit more involved in that. I was also played the saxophone in the band, and we would travel and do that. We went to a very unique school. So our school was a public school. It's Nova. And they have from K through 12, but it's a public school. It's run like a private school, but it's a public school. It's in Davie, Florida, which is just outside of Fort Lauderdale. So I was playing a little bit of sports, involved in debate, and what's kind of unusual, for like a young black kid in South Florida, I had subscriptions to like Economist magazine and the New York Times and Newsweek and Time, because the debate event I did, it involved me being up on current events. So I was always reading different things, and that's not great for your street cred.
Yeah.
It was good for my knowledge, and I was a fierce and feared debater. I was feared.
What year is this at this time?
This would have been in the late 80s, so like 87 to 90.
What was the best newspaper then? We can't talk about it now, but then.
I think the most unbiased one, I think, was probably Christian Science Monitor.
Yeah.
It was one of the best ones. Like,
don't you miss having that paper?
Source.
Or like you wake up in the morning, you get your coffee.
Oh yeah.
You go sit on the can and you read the newspaper.
I still get the Sun Sentinel on every Sunday.
I get the New York Post
on every Sunday. I still get the Sentinel, and I still read it. I like having the paper.
Me too. You like the feel of the paper, right? We always talk about that.
I think it's technology, and that's the biggest thing I always that I talk to him about all the time, is that we're so moving away from these traditional things that we used to do. Because I remember my mom got us the paper, and we would get it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Sunday I would get up and I'd read the sports, and I would literally, that's my thing. And then comics. I would always want to know what's going on in the comics. I would always then get the lifestyle, which told movie reviews and what's coming out and all the different things. So, but before he moves on for a second, so for soccer, he's underrating himself. He was on one of the top youth teams that I actually was the assistant coach on. And so when I graduated, I was a senior when he was a freshman. I'll tell you a story when I lost my car for 2 weeks because at our school, we were allowed to leave campus. And he was with his little friends, and again, his friend, I got my brother. My brother drives me around every single place and every single time. And so he's going off campus. We were like the only school in Broward that you could go off campus for lunch. So I'm driving my car going off campus, and he and his friends are walking, and I pull up to the side of the road, and I'm like, "Oh, come on in!" And him and his friends start running, and then I just go peel out. He got so mad at me. He told my mom pulled my car for a week. I could not go to school.
I'm the baby of the family.
So he was the baby. So for me, when I graduated, and he went and started playing soccer and started doing debate. He started doing debate in his freshman year, and then he didn't go for soccer. You played soccer your freshman year. He played soccer his freshman year. And when I left, my thing was, I was thinking he was going to get a scholarship for soccer because, again, he was like really, really good, a really good player. And then it started to move towards the debate where the soccer was starting to take the second. And he played all 4 years in high school. But my thing was, and I was upset, I was very upset with him. And I'm like, why are you doing this debate? You should be doing soccer. You're better than this and this and this. And my mom would just like, leave him alone. Like, we would have knockdown, drag out fights because I was coaching him. And he would mess up in a game, and we'd come home, and I would just be on him. And he's like, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm like, no, you're going to play, because I was the one taking him to practice and doing everything. So when I left, because when I graduated, I ended up going to the Navy, and I was away, and he just went and did debate and more debate. But he was really, really good in his debate. Very, very good.
So something I'd like to add to that is I think that I always felt like I was different than most people. I kind of always felt like I was like an alien, like I was from another planet. I know this is going to appeal to you. I know you like aliens. But I always felt like I was different. I wasn't like everybody else. And so everybody was playing football. So you know what? I don't want to play football. I want to do something different. I want to join the debate team. I was like the only black guy on the debate team. And it's a nationally ranked debate team. Rhoda Radow was the coach, the woman who wrote like the AP program for Broward County at the time. Very esteemed woman, known all over the country. And she was the coach, and she kind of took me under her wing. And Lisa Miller was also my freshman coach. And nationally ranked team. And by the time I was a senior, I was the captain of the debate team. So I took it very seriously, and I was pretty good at it. I could talk, and because growing up, my brother talked about this before, you had to be kind of quick on your feet. On the bus, people would make fun of you, so you had to be quick and be able to come back at people. And that's similar to what you do in any sort of organized type speech. You have to be able to rebut and respond to different things. And that was actually great training for me. But I've always sort of modeled my life around being a little different, so people say, well, there aren't that many black pilots. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go get my pilot's license, learn how to fly. So I did that. Hey, there's not that many black people in an MBA. It's like, okay, you know what? I'll go get my MBA. Like, I always just felt like I was trying to show people that I can do anything you can do, and I'm probably going to be as good or better than you. And I think that's something, and I've never talked about this publicly ever before, but it's something that has kind of driven my life. Might be why I never got married too. I don't know. Everybody who's married is pissed off. But by the way, my parents have been married for like 55 years. People think that, you're not married because like you grew up in a broken home and all this.
No,
has nothing to do with it. Our parents have been married for 55 years. So that has nothing to do with that. It just wasn't for me.
Bro, you've been to 5 million places.
Yeah, I've been busy too.
You probably would have been divorced 7 times and had had a nice bill to pay every month.
So I'm gonna cut him off again. So my sister, she basically, like I said, is complete. If I brought her on, you'd get definitely different. But my sister asked him one time, well, why don't you get married? And he's like, if I ever got married, and why don't you have kids?
He'd have a big check to pay.
He said,
That's what he said.
If I got, he said, if I got married and I had kids, I would name them mansion, boat, and Mercedes, because those are the things I wouldn't be able to afford when he was married. And my sister got so mad when he said that.
That's right.
Well, yeah, it's just not for me, And I love being an uncle. I've got wonderful nieces and nephews, and I've got friends who have kids. I'm Uncle AJ, I love it. It's cool. But my favorite thing is telling them, hey guys, get your shoes and your backpacks. Meet me at the door because it's time. It's time to go home. It's time to go home.
I feel you, bro.
Yeah, it's time to go home. I come home, everything is right where I left it. There's no toys. I'm not stepping on Legos.
I love my daughter. I love my daughter very much, just so you know. But my house used to be a bachelor pad. A very nice house to walk into.
Right,
now you walk in, it is Kids Are Us. Nothing is. I turned the hot tub off. I had this fireplace thing that was like fake fire. Girls would fall over.
Listen, I won't even buy like the LED lights because they say they last like 22 years. It's like too much of a commitment for me. I want the lights that are going to burn out in like 2 years. Like I don't have to like.
I can tell you which ones to get because it's happened to me in this place.
So my grandniece was visiting 4 or 5 months ago. My grandniece was visiting like 4 or 5 months ago, and my niece took both of my grandnieces. My niece Ashley took them to his house, and my grandniece walks into the house and she goes, Uncle Junior, why do you live in a hotel? Because his house is just so like it's so like just has this look.
They're by myself. And by the way, my grandniece, I refer to her as my niece's daughter. I don't even call her my grandniece.
Yeah,
I have to acknowledge that I have a grandniece. My sister, she got me into this mess. But yeah, I always try to be different, and I think part of that is when I was in high school doing research for different debate tournaments and things, I would read bills that would come out of Congress. And I always read like about the different crime bills. Crime bill of 87 had come out, and I read it. And I was reading through and seeing like the punishments and the mandatory minimums and all these things. And I'm like, man, you'd be crazy. You would be absolutely crazy to do something to get yourself caught in this net. And I think that from a very early age, I realized that there's whatever I do, I'm not going to get involved in any of this. I don't smoke. I drink. I like a cocktail every now and again, but I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I never even smoke weed. I might be the only Jamaican on the planet who's never smoked
I think you are.
weed before.
I think you are.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
I had a lot of Jamaican friends. I don't know one.
Not that there's anything wrong with a little ganja, but it's just not my thing. I just don't do it. And I think a lot of it has to do with me knowing and understanding the punishments. They're severe.
Sure.
And if I could give any advice to anybody out there, especially young black men, stay out of the criminal justice system. It is not going to be kind to you. Mm-hmm. It is not going to fare well for you. Stay out of the system. And now we have all these rules about felons voting now. We had the amendment that we passed to give voting rights back. And then the legislature said, no, you've got to pay your fines and all this stuff. And people are like, oh, that's discrimination. You know how you don't have to get involved in any of that? You're not a felon.
Yeah, don't get a felony.
You're not a felon. Black men in Florida, 18 to 35, 50% of them have a felony.
And here's the craziest thing.
It's
you
crazy.
Know this?
It's crazy.
If you have a felony, right, you can go get a marijuana card to get marijuana, but you can't vote.
Yeah.
Now, does that make? Am I on another? I mean, obviously, I'm on another planet, but to me, that's like, wait a minute. So a person with a felony can go by technically it's Schedule 1 federally. It's a 1.
It's still, yes.
Which is equivalent to heroin.
Yes, it's still controlled.
And that bill's going to get knocked down. The Republicans are not going to let that go through.
It's so, and again, we've had this discussion, and I told you about John Boehner and how I feel about that, and how,
I think it should just all be legal. Yeah. Take the tax money
exactly
and 100%. Put it into real rehab.
Legalize.
Pay off some of the stuff, because then that way,
100%.
Because like you just said, and we've had this debate many times. If all of us in this room, if CVS right now had every drug that's on the street, would you go get it? No. So maybe 5% decide I'm going to go try it, but that 95% that's already on it, getting it in the street, not knowing what's in it,
absolutely,
dying.
Nowadays. It's bad with fentanyl and all these issues.
Now you got Title whatever coming in, where a gazillion people are coming in with it. You can go right to CVS, and it's not good, but at least you're getting what you're buying.
And I think we could also divert some of our resources that we spend on drug interdiction into other things. Yeah. For example, on April 1st in Marion County on Ocala, they did a catch a predator sting, and they arrested like 19 people trying to have sex with underage kids.
They should do more.
So instead of trying to spend billions of dollars on a losing battle on the drug war, we need to retrain those agents. We need to divert those billions into identifying and catching these people. They're out there. Yeah. They're out there. And when they do these things, you have judges and politicians and teachers and all these people who are trying to meet these kids. Unacceptable. Yeah. We cannot allow it.
And you're not going to beat the war on drugs when the government's involved in it. Yeah. They're not getting it from Mexico through Texaco to Texas to over here without the government somehow letting it get through.
It is
you know it, I know it, because them satellites can see heat radiation.
It's a basic rule of economics. Yeah. The supply will always meet the demand. We're never going to be able to stop. Yeah. Unless you can stop the demand, the supply is always going to find a way. And it doesn't matter. You can get life in prison for importing drugs, and people are still doing it.
Without even thinking.
They don't even think twice.
But
make it legal.
You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop it.
And it's because the money is it's just so out there. I remember what's his name, who was in the Tiger King, the exotic guy.
Joe Exotic?
Yeah. No, not Joe Exotic. The guy who introduced the producers to Joe Exotic. He was a drug dealer, and he was pushing cocaine and marijuana, and he's just like, and I was feeding. I never did any drugs, but I was just feeding my exotic animal obsession that I had. And he's like, I was just making, I was pulling in boatloads of hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's a frivolous pursuit, because you're not going to be able to, like you said, kill that demand. The demand is going to be there.
They'll never legalize it, and they should, and take the money and have real rehab. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I have a lot of African American friends that were my friends in school. They were really good at sports and everything, and they went down the wrong path. Yeah. But let me tell you something. They had kids young, and they were in Philly on the corner, and they had a little bit of crack. I'm talking like $200 worth of crack. And it was just so they could feed their baby. Yeah. And they got that 1,000 to 1. Yeah. Or 10,000 to 1?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Where Three of my friends,
Yeah.
nice guys,
Yeah.
nice guys. You know, they were in the ghetto, but I could go in the ghetto because I was cool with them.
Sure.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it out. In North Philly, bro.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the problem. They were
But what I'm
equating-
saying is, like,
Yeah.
these are good people.
Yeah.
They were
They
equating-
were just doing, and it was a small amount, 25 years.
Yeah, you're equating
25.
you're
Yeah, it's
equating
crazy.
crack cocaine to
It's
what
crazy.
cocaine was, and it was a higher
Yeah.
percentage of imprisonment
crazy.
because of that.
And that whole bullshit with them letting them out,
yeah,
no, they're still doing the
Yeah.
25, and they've been in since they were 18.
It's completely unbelievable.
Fucking
And I
bullshit.
tell you, man, so for me, I wasn't going to try to do stuff like that and worry about somebody changing the law and getting me out. I was just like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm never going to get mixed up in that. Never.
Good for you.
I saw it's just easy to see. And that's the best advice I can give people. Stay out of the criminal justice system. Our system is actually, we have a pretty good system, but there are flaws. Innocent people get convicted. The wrongful conviction projects that are going on out there have freed a couple, 300 people. I think over 100 off death row. Yeah. Don't get caught in that. Stay out of it.
Because once you're in, it's tough
That's
to get
it.
out of
It's
it.
so hard to
and,
get out.
And all you got to do is, U.S. has more prisons than any other country in the world.
Over 2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Florida, we have a lot of people don't know this. We have a 2 strikes and you're out law here in Florida. So if you go to prison, when you get out, if you reoffend within 3 years, they consider that 2 strikes, you're gone for life.
Yeah. Cali's what, 3 strikes?
They have 3 strikes, but this
2 is crazy.
the Florida law has to do with recidivism. So it's like when you get out,
That's nuts.
within 3 years, if you reoffend, life in prison.
That's
now,
crazy.
I oppose the death penalty, so life in prison is something I think should be reserved for the most heinous of crimes. But our system right now, we have the most people serving life no parole in the whole country. Or in Florida.
And a lot of it
ridiculous.
again is not for nonviolent crimes.
It's ridiculous.
So literally, you get it for
A
trafficking.
lot of them are for nonviolent crimes. Life no parole,
crazy.
nonviolent crimes.
So now you're doing this. Then you get out of high school, you get your bachelor's.
Yes.
Now, do you get your master's before you start working with
No.
that
No.
comes later? So you
Comes
get
later.
into the Fortune 500.
Yes.
Half your life you're with Fortune 500
Yes.
companies with a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
Now, how do you make that move? You got to break that down. for
Yeah,
me.
so I got out of school, went to the University of Florida, then I transferred to FAU in Boca, and got my bachelor's in political science. And I was going to go to law school, so I took the LSAT, and I don't remember what happened, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I should work for a little while. I wanted to like make a little bit of money. I got out of school. I'm like, maybe it's time for me to just work. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna work for a few years, and then I'm gonna go to law school in a couple of years. So I went and got a job with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. A lot of people don't know this, but Enterprise Rent-A-Car is the #1 employer of college graduates in the country.
It still is.
It still is.
Wow.
It's a great company, privately owned.
Is it privately owned?
Yes, it's privately owned. They own all their cars.
That's
They
great.
self-insure their cars.
Really?
It's an amazing company. Extremely profitable. If they ever go public, buy some of their stock.
Yeah.
It's not financial advice, but the
Covers his ass.
so I started working there. Hated it. What's the Men on Film? Hated it. Hated it. I'm washing cars and I'm picking up people from the air. Picking up people. Enterprise company that picks you up. I had to drive and picking up cops pulling me over. It was crazy. So I just dropped someone off. I was working at the location that's right across the street from Holiday Park in Fort Lauderdale. And I was driving down Federal Highway, and there was a commercial came on the radio like, hey, there's a job fair at Embassy Suites. Today, it's a sales job fair. Come on down and come meet some of these companies and whatever. And I made a U-turn. Like I made like spinning my tires and made a U-turn because I had just passed 17th Street and Federal.
And you've had it with
and I went
washing
straight to
cars,
the Embassy
right?
Suite.
You're done with this washing car shit.
I didn't have a resume with me. I didn't even have on a suit. I had on a shirt and tie.
That's so cool.
I had a shirt and tie. I went straight in there. I'm sweating. And I went and talked to some companies, and I got called back for a couple interviews the next day, like at their offices or whatever. And I got hired by ADP, the payroll company. So ADP, the payroll company, hires me. And I didn't know anything about payroll, but they have a good training. And I used to work at we used to both work at Six Flags Atlantis in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
And one of the reasons why I even went to the ADP desk is I recognized their logo because they did the checks at Six Flags in Hollywood. So I was like, oh, I know this company.
Isn't that funny how things work?
Crazy. So AT&T offered me a job. A bunch of people offered me jobs. So I go to ADP, And the guy who hires me, he's like, listen, I hired you, but I had to come back for like another interview or whatever. So I came in like the only suit that I had. And it was like this it was kind of short and tight. And I'm in the only suit that I had. And he said, listen, he hired me and he's like, look, we want you to come. We think you'd be great. And he's like, I got to just give you some advice, as your sales executive and your coach and whatever. You got to buy a new suit. It's too tight. I'm like, this is the only one I've got.
He's like, is that your little brother's that you borrowed or what?
Exactly. I'm like, this is the only suit I got. So I started at ADP. My first salary, I think I was making like $23,000 a year. And the $23,000, it may as well have been $23 million, because I really didn't have anything, and that's how it started. I was there for 5 years, and then I got into medical device and pharmaceuticals, and was doing that for a while, and then just very randomly I got into the entertainment business. It was totally by accident, actually. So I have a very good friend of mine, Michael Yavner, who met this guy in the gym. He was working out at the gym in Aventura, and he became friends with this guy. So all of a sudden, Super Bowl would come to town, or the MTV Music Awards were in town, and he was at all these parties. He's at the Playboy party, the Vanity Fair parties, going to all these parties, has all these pictures. I'm like, hey, how are you going to all these parties? They go, oh, I met this guy in the gym, and his name is Floyd Ragland, and I've been going with him. I was like, hey, can you ask Floyd and see if I can go to the parties? Also, I just want to go to the parties. So he's like, sure, I'll ask him. Awesome, no problem. So we asked Floyd, and Floyd's like, yeah, you can bring your friend. So now I start going to the parties. And that's how it all started. That's my journey into the entertainment. We're working with Dennis Rodman and Hulk Hogan and Magic Johnson and Ric
so
Flair,
now you're at
all
the
these
parties.
guys.
So you go to your first party at this. How do you act? What do you do?
I'm at the parties. We have like sponsorship tables and whatever, so we're sitting there, but we would always go out to dinner afterwards. We'd go to Prime 112. It was all in South Beach. We'd go to Prime 112 or one of the hot spots. And when the bill would come, I would take out my credit card.
Power move. Good move.
Because everyone who comes at Floyd, anyone who comes at any of these guys, and by the way, Floyd played for the Miami Dolphins, and he's a sports marketing guy. Everyone who comes to him wants something from him. I didn't want anything. I just wanted to go to the parties. I just wanted to be in the crew.
Hi, right?
I just wanted to be in the entourage.
Give me the bill and let me say hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to be in the entourage.
Sure.
So the bill would come, and people would kind of like, disappear and whatever. I would take out my credit card. And I think I gained his respect, and over about 2 years, we became good friends.
That's awesome.
Never asked him for anything. So he worked with a lot of NFL players. They all have foundations, and they always do like fundraisers for their foundations. And it's always in South Florida, because I always say celebrities love Miami because they can raise money here, or they have a mistress here. So there's the two reasons they like to go. One of the two
all
reasons.
true, too.
So they all have fundraisers here. And so Floyd would be organizing the celebrity golf tournaments and the different events, Zoe's Summer Groove and all these things. And I would come, so I was working during the day, and then at night and on the weekends, I was like helping Floyd. I'd be at the registration table, or I'd be passing out waters, or I'd be doing whatever. Just helping. I just wanted to help. Again, I just wanted to be part of the crew, I just wanted to hang out. And I probably did this kind of thing for about 4 more years. So I'm now 6 years working with this guy, becoming friends with him. We're now friends, and I'm helping him with his events, and we're going to different things. And I remember I was driving on 95, and Floyd calls me. He goes, I need you to take down this number. It's Michael Irving's cell phone number. Call Michael and tell him when he comes.
Michael Irvin,
the football player.
Whoa, shit.
He's like, Michael's coming to town. Call him and tell him, I'm going to pick him up and this, that, and the other thing. And like at that moment, I was like in. That's how it kind of started. So it turns out that Floyd is a lifelong friend of Dennis Rodman. They've been friends since Floyd played at USC in California. He played football there. That's his connection to O.J. Simpson. That's a whole nother story. And
I love O.J. Simpson's morning videos, man.
Yeah,
I would have got life if I would have been Will Smith. You see that?
I've seen it. I remember Floyd invited me to a dinner party at Aquilina one day. He's like, hey, come, we're having some friends at dinner. You should come over there. I show up there, and the juice is sitting there. I'm like, hey, O.J.
What up, man?
Like, O.J. So that's kind of how it started. And so Floyd is very good friends with Rodman. They've been friends for years. And at the time, he was the person that was like working with him, kind of helping him out. She was kind of transitioning out and moving back to Australia or wherever she was going. And he kind of needed someone. And that's kind of how it started. I kind of came in. I was kind of helping Dennis. Dennis's agency is an agency called Prince Marketing Group, which is at the time was based in New York. They're now in LA and New York. And in Prince Marketing Group is where Magic Johnson and Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and Charlie Sheen and Oscar De La Hoya and Carmen Electra and all these other people reside.
They're all with that marketing.
They're all with
company.
Prince Marketing Group.
Wow.
So yeah, so then I started working with Dennis and traveling with Dennis. Traveling all over the world with him.
But I mean, how does that start though? Like how
started
does it start
small.
where Dennis says like,
It started.
hey, why don't you come with me to this?
He's
that?
like, hey, listen, I've got to go on this trip, and I want you to come with me. So it's interesting because he was living in Aventura at the time, in a place I think it's called Southampton or something. And Dennis, he's not great at living very close to people. There's always like an issue, And this particular issue, he got kicked out of this building. By the way, it was I think it's Southampton and Aventura, $10,000 a month rent. He got kicked out for peeing off of his balcony down onto the valet. He said it was an accident. He didn't realize the valet was down there, but that's why he got kicked out of there.
Gotta go. You gotta go.
Oh yeah, he got kicked out of there. So Dennis was moving. He was moving. He had to move. And so there was just a lot. It was like a lot of things kind of happening at once. He needed some help, and that's kind of how I started. He's like, "Hey, I need some help, and I'm going on this trip. I want you to come with me." And that's kind of how it started. It started really small.
I will add something. He's the only one that's able to get Dennis to actually do things. Like
he
he's
said
the
that last
only
time,
one.
man, yeah.
Like I remember he showed me because we were talking at one point about trying to do something like a reality for him, and he's like, "Yeah, let me show you the stuff we had." So I'll let him tell you the story.
I have to get you the video.
Like,
it's funny.
literally, it's hilarious. So he had to supposedly sign.
We're in Long Island,
Yeah.
actually. He was doing a bar mitzvah. Dennis was making our parents
Jeez,
a bar
oh
mitzvah.
boy.
So he's trying to do this signing, and so Dennis is down at the bar, and my brother's like, "Hey, Dennis, you gotta go in. You gotta get ready for the
So
party."
the thing that the story is, it was a surprise. So he couldn't be seen in the hotel. We didn't want anybody to know he was there. So I had to get him out of the bar, the lobby bar, and get him up to his room. So that's kind of where it started.
So he gets him there, and there's the video because I don't know why they
There's
were
a video crew there that
They're
was shooting a
shooting.
pilot for a reality show.
So he's like, Dennis is upset because he's like, he felt like you're interrupting my, and he's like literally on the camera, and he's just bitching. And then these three girls walk by. They're gorgeous. He's like, "Oh my God, you beautiful lady," spinning them around. "Oh my God, you guys, hey, I'm gonna be at this party." Da 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 da. And he's like, "All right, see you guys later." And fuck you, AJ. I'm tired of this. and my brother's just in the elevator, just like this. And Dennis is like, "I ain't done shit. Fuck this. I'm tired of doing
Well,
it."
see, this is the thing with Dennis. When he doesn't like to be, you have to let him like punch himself out. You know what I mean? He'll not want to do something. Like, you can get Dennis to do anything you need him to do. You just have to know how to deal with him. You have to know how to. It's almost like Michael Jordan. Like, you can't stop him. You have to just kind of contain him. You can contain him. No one controls Dennis. Nobody. I mean, he is his own person. If you know anything about him, he's very much dances to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't want to be told what to do. He was homeless for 2 years. When the NBA told him, "Hey, stop getting tattoos. It's damaging our image." Because remember, Dennis was the one that made tattoos mainstream. Because when he started getting tattooed in the 90s, it was very taboo. Like, bikers and people in prison at that time had tattoos. That was it. Mm-hmm. He started getting tattoos, started coloring his hair, doing all these things. And the NBA told him, "Hey," David Stern called him to New York for a meeting. And they said, "If you don't stop this, you're damaging our image. We're going to suspend you. We're going to fine you. We're going to kick you out of the league." He's like, "I was homeless for 2 years." It's like, I don't care. They didn't have any leverage over him. They just, because he didn't care.
That's cool. I like that. He said, "Okay."
He was homeless from 18 to 20. He didn't even start playing basketball till he was 21 years old.
Now, when you came into his life like that, where was he at? When you came in and really
he was already out of the NBA.
Oh, he was already out.
He was already out of the NBA. But his story is amazing. I don't know how familiar you are with his story, but his story is absolutely incredible. He grew up in the South Oak Cliff projects in Dallas.
Ooh.
His father, get ready for this, Philanderer Rodman is his name. Philanderer Rodman is his name. I'm not making this up.
I'm going to try to.
He's got like 35 kids.
Wow.
Mostly in the Philippines. He passed away a few years ago, but his father abandoned their family when they were 3 years old. He was born in New Jersey. They moved to Dallas with his mother and his 2 sisters, and he lived in the projects. And he was, not very tall. He was probably like 5'6", the whole time. And he had kind of a late growth spurt and never played basketball in high school. Was kind of running with the wrong crowd, and he was working at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. And he was like a janitor at the airport. Wow. And he stole a couple of watches from like a watch store. And they saw him on camera. And so the police came and when he stole the watches, he didn't even sell them. He just gave them to his friends. I think he just wanted to be like accepted or whatever. Sure. So he stole the watches, gave them to his friends. They had him on video, so they arrested him. So he's in the jail. When his friends heard he was arrested, they all returned the watches. So he got out. So when he got out, he was trying to figure out what to do with his life. He's probably about 20 years old this time. He was couch surfing for 2 years. He was basically homeless. Mom kicked him out. So he was living in the South Oak Cliff projects or whatever. And when he got out, his mom took him back in. So there was a basketball tournament in the city of Dallas like that weekend. And there was a team that needed another player. And by this time, he's like 6'6". He's like a tall, skinny guy. And they're like, hey, won't we have Dennis come play with us? And so Dennis came and played with them, and they won the tournament. Wow. So he's sitting on the steps of like the gym. He's got this big trophy. It's on the front page of the Dallas newspaper the next day. There's a coach in Oklahoma who sees the paper. His name is Elon. And he's like, Dennis Rodman, who is Dennis? No one had ever heard of him because he's not in any scouting reports. He had never played basketball. No one knew who he was. So he was a coach at a community college at the time. And he said, I'm going to go find this kid. So he takes the newspaper. He goes to, it's a white guy from Oklahoma, goes to the South Oak Cliff Projects, one of the most dangerous parts of Dallas you could be in.
Did he go in there in a tank?
He went in there and just knocking on doors. Like, hey, do you know this guy?
I would have went in there in a tank.
Yeah.
A tank and a full suit on. Wouldn't you if you were me?
I probably wouldn't have gone in there. He's knocking on doors. Hey, oh, yeah, that's Shirley Rodman's son. Where's she? He tracks him down, knocks on the door. Shirley comes to the door. He's like, hey, I want to talk to your son about coming to play basketball for me in Oklahoma. And she's like, my son doesn't play basketball. And he's like, no, he does. Here, look. And she showed him the newspaper. She's like, wow, really? She goes, all right, come on in. Dennis was in his room. He was very shy. So the mom's on the door like, hey, come on out. There's someone wants to talk to you. He stayed in his room for 2 hours. He wouldn't come out. He was like just terrified to like meet this guy, whatever. So 2 hours later, they finally coax him out. He comes out and he says, hey, listen, I want you to come play basketball for me. Dennis is like, I don't know how to play basketball. And he's like, no. He goes, don't worry. You'll come in the summer and we're going to have a camp. We'll teach you how to play. He's like, I think you'll be great. And Dennis is like, he had nothing else to do. He just got out of jail. Had nothing else to do. He's like, okay, I'll do it. Elon came back the next day to pick him up. And Dennis took a backpack, just a regular backpack, put a few things in it, walked out the door. That was everything he owned. And that was his start to going and becoming one of the greatest NBA basketball players of all time. That moment, Lon Reisman. And when Dennis did his Hall of Fame acceptance speech, in the Hall of Fame, we could talk for days about that whole saga. But when Dennis gave his speech, and I wrote out all the names he needed to say, and go and watch his Hall of Fame speech on YouTube. He pulls out a piece of paper, and the first name on that list was Lon Reisman. Without Lon, no one would know who he is. He would have been dead or in jail. 100%. Lon Reisman is the one who
saved his life
and introduced this amazing person to the world and made the NBA just spectacular in the 80s and 90s.
When did you see him go from like the Pistons, Dennis Rodman?
Yes.
Who was calmer? Probably inside still wild, maybe. I don't know. From your standpoint, when did you see the change? Like, was it like Carmen Electra that things started to change? Or?
So he changed.
I thought they would be together I didn't think they'd ever break up.
Yeah. So
I thought they fit pretty good.
Yeah.
Or is that just from the outside?
Dennis is complicated. So.
We'll leave it at that.
He made his transformation when he left Detroit. So when he left Detroit, He went to San Antonio, which probably couldn't have been
I
a
always
worse.
forget that he went to
He
San Antonio.
probably couldn't have been a worse team for him to be on, because they were all like very religious, and they would have like Bible study after games. Like they were having Bible study. He wanted to go to the strip club. You know, like he just didn't fit
Who
in.
was coaching that? It wasn't Popovich, was it?
No, I think it might have been. No,
I'm not sure. No, it was the black guy. Forgot his name.
Oh, and who was that? Do you remember?
It was the black guy. I can't remember his name, but it was the little black guy. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he went to San Antonio. He didn't fit in. He hated it there. He was walking through the mall, and this big, tall hairdresser grabbed him and said, hey, I want to come do something for your hair. Took him to a salon. He was in the mall in San Antonio. Took him to the mall, and he colored his hair red. No idea why this guy did this, but he's like, I want to do something for you. And Dennis is like, all right. You know, and by the way, Dennis is like the Pied Piper for gay men. Gay men just love Dennis. And he's 6'8" tall. That gay guy just grabs him and takes him to a salon, colors his hair red. So they had a game that night in San Antonio. So he said he said he had on a hat, and he was afraid to like go out there, and he's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I have this red hair. So he said he left his hat on in the warm-ups, and right before the game was about to start, you know, he took off his jacket or whatever, and he said he took off his hat, and the crowd almost blew the roof off of the place. They went freaking insane. They went insane. He was like, wow, this is my niche. This is my thing. Like, he's very like colorful. He's very, I always say he's like an artist and at heart, you know, in his past life, maybe like a rock star or a singer. He's an artist. He's trapped in an athlete's body. So I think him coloring his hair and the tattoos is just a way for him to be colorful and to express himself. And that's just kind of how he really communicates with people, because he's actually very shy. He's very shy and very introverted, which is part of the reason why he wears glasses all the time. He's always wearing sunglasses, because I think he just likes to be in his own space, you know. And I think that gave him a chance to sort of express himself in a way that he just normally wouldn't do. But that's kind of when that transformation happened.
And then from the past, from what he'd been through, now he comes out with the red hair. The whole stadium's going, Dennis, you know?
Like the hair watch used to like, what was his hair going to be?
What was his hair?
Yeah, it was like everybody loved it, you know?
It was incredible.
And then when he started doing the colors, I mean, it made him Dennis Rodman.
Absolutely. You know? It built a brand that still is everlasting. It's still,
he
hasn't played basketball in over 20 years, and people still love him, and they know him. And then he left there and went to Chicago, and that was really
the epitome. Where
the rest is history. The rest is history.
What does he say about Phil Jackson?
Loves Phil Jackson.
I bet I knew. You know, you hear things when you read things, but I always wanted to know, because to me, I think Phil Jackson is. No one's even close to a coach. You could say, oh, he had Shaq and Kobe, he had Jordan, Pitt, and Robin. Okay, you try to control that type of ego.
Absolutely.
Well, greatest coach ever. You see it now. Look at the Lakers. The Lakers aren't even in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they have the greatest players.
So
you got Anthony Davis and LeBron. I mean, it should be a shoo-in.
Yeah. So to tell you what he thinks about Phil Jackson, when he did his Hall of Fame speech, he did the Tonight Show and the Howard Stern Show leading up to the Hall of Fame.
That's funny. He did the Howard Stern Show.
Yeah, right before. And
the Hall of Fame.
And everyone was asking him. Everyone was asking him like, "Hey, what are you going to say?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just going to wing it. You know, I'm just gonna talk off from the cuff and just, you know, wing it, whatever." I knew better than that, so I was like, "Look, I better put some remarks together for him." You know, one of his agents had talked. Hey, maybe we should get him a speaking coach and someone to write a speech. I was like, "You think Dennis Rodman is going to sit down with a speech coach? Are you out of your mind?
You even know this guy?
Like, it's not going to happen." I said, "Let me think about it. I'll come up with something." So I came up with this idea of his four fathers. I said, Dennis, I was going to write a whole speech out for him. I was like, never going to happen. He won't do that. But I said, talk about the four men in your life who've been like fathers to you, since he really didn't have a father. Talk about how they impacted your life, and that's your speech. And he's like, I like that. So,
because let me get it. Let me correct me if I'm right, because I like following you. So you knew that there was no way that Dennis was going to go off a paper
100%.
Or a speech coach. So you thought genius idea.
Absolutely.
You thought, how can I think of the 5 quickest, shortest, simplest talking points, and then let him ad-lib
exactly
that will keep him kind of
right.
like not too far off.
It's exactly right.
Genius move.
That's exactly what I did. And it's Dr. Jerry Buss, Phil Jackson, Chuck Daly, and James Rich, the family that took him in Oklahoma. And I said, just talk about them and how they impacted your life. And you have to go watch his speech. It's considered to be one of the greatest speeches in Hall of Fame history. It was amazing. But if you would have given him a speech to try to read off of, there's just no way. And he was in hair and makeup 10 minutes before he had to walk up there. And he was nervous as hell, man. He was like a cat in a room of rocking chairs, you know. It's like he was so nervous. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, AJ, do you have that list and that thing you said you have?" I said, "I have it right here." I took it right out of my pocket. I gave it to him. Go and watch his speech. Phil Jackson was standing up there with him. You get to have one person stand up there with you to like vouch for you or whatever.
He picked Phil.
He picked Phil. So Phil is standing there. He goes up to the mic and he's like, he starts breaking down. He gets a little emotional. He's like, sorry, Phil. And he walks back and talks to Phil. And when he comes back to the microphone, watch, he takes out the little list I gave him and he starts reading from it. And he talks about Lon Reisman first. But the four fathers was the framework, and then he just filled it in. And you got to go back and watch it because these are the four men that really impacted his life. James Rich, when he was living in Oklahoma. So when he went to Oklahoma to play basketball, there was a young boy who had a hunting accident and he killed his friend. And so part of his court-ordered sentence was to go to the local college, and he had to go to like this camp in order to like rehab himself and get himself right or whatever. He was like 13 years old. Dennis was like 22 years old. So at this camp, Dennis was there at the camp because he was learning how to play basketball. They became friends. And so this 23-year-old guy is friends with this 13-year-old white kid. And this is in Oklahoma in like the early 80s.
Where that just doesn't happen, right?
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma, it doesn't happen.
Hell no.
So the family at the last day of the camp came, and Brian, his name is Brian Rich. Brian's like, "Hey, I made a friend at the camp. Can I bring him home, for like dinner? Can I bring him home for dinner?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And it goes, "Oh, hey, Dennis, come on." And Dennis starts walking over, and the parents are like, "Oh my God, 6 foot tall black guys coming at home.
What else? Take our house?
What, are you crazy?" So he goes to the house, and he said, and this was so crazy when he told me this. They had dinner that night, like with the best crystal they had and fine china and all this. He said it was the first time he had ever had like a family dinner where everybody was there, the mother, the father, and everyone's sitting around the table and everything. And he said he tried to drink from the glasses, and his like lips are so big, he's got these big soup cooling lips, right? He said he couldn't drink from the glasses, so they brought him like a pitcher to drink from.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, so they brought him like a pitcher. And he said that they're eating whatever. And he said he looks up, and like the window in the dining room, all the local kids from the neighborhood are at the window, like looking in, like, who is this guy, this big black guy at the Rich family house? He said they were all like looking in the window, almost like he was like a zoo animal or something. They had never seen anything like this.
That is so cool, though.
It's an amazing.
And then he mentioned the kid at the Hall of Fame speech.
Oh yes, absolutely. The Rich family was great to him, and what was amazing is his Brian was like, "Hey, mom and dad, Pat and James, can Dennis stay the night?" And they're like, "Stay the night." He said, "Hold on a second." So he said they went into like the other room, and like all hell breaks loose. They're screaming. He's like, "Please, please, just let him stay one night, please, please." So they said, "Okay, fine." So he comes in. So he's got one of those like little racing car beds where you can pull out the bottom. It's like a little bed on top, and you pull out the little one on the bottom. So Dennis is so tall he couldn't sleep in the other one. So Brian stayed in that one, and he stayed in the pull out part. So he said he was so uncomfortable he kind of slept like laying back, like his feet together, and like almost like he's at a crucifix. He just couldn't get comfortable. He wakes up in the morning, and Brian is laying like right here, and the door opens, and the mom comes in. And he's like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "I'm going to jail."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he said he woke up to like, he's like, "What is this kid doing here?" And like all hell breaks loose in the house. From that day, he never left. He lived there with them.
Did he really?
For 4 years. Yes, he never left. He just became part of the family.
How amazing.
It's amazing.
Especially back then, too.
Especially back then. Never left. And the Rich family took him in and as one of their own. And he just lived there with them. And they really helped to save his life and to shape him and to get him through school, and
to show him like what life
life can be like. And they really got him off to a great start. And so the Rich family had a lot to do with that.
Now, when you were, in my belief, I think he paved the way for Trump to go see King Jong-un.
100%.
Because had Dennis not done that, I don't think Trump would have been able to go in there solo
100%.
after the whole Rocket Man and everything else. So I think Dennis should be getting a hell of a lot more credit for being the first one to go over there and show King Jong-un, hey, look, if you just calm down with this nuclear stuff, you can have a country like here where it prospers. And it just so happened King Jong-un was a huge fan of the NBA.
100%.
And that was the door for Trump to go in and try to make a move before it got...
Kim Jong-un is not the ideologue his father and grandfather were. He grew up, he went to Switzerland, boarding school in Switzerland. So he didn't grow up in like North Korea per se. And so he wanted to do something special for his country. He wanted to have a basketball exhibition. So they originally invited Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan said, hell no, I'm not going. So when they couldn't get Jordan, he was a big fan of the Bulls. And there's a famous picture of Kim Jong-un when he's like 16. He's wearing a Bulls jersey. It's a Rodman jersey playing basketball in Switzerland, which is kind of crazy. So he's like, hey, maybe Dennis Rodman will come. So when the deal first came to us, I was immediately against it. I just thought it was a terrible idea. North Korea, there's a dictator. I said, I just didn't think it was a good idea to do it. And because of sanctions and those sorts of things, you can't accept money from North Korea. So it was very tricky as to how the deal had to be structured. It took like 2 years. I fought it every step of the way.
That was a 2-year process?
2 years. 2 years. Very difficult to deal with the government of North Korea. They're very difficult to deal with. A lot of regulations to even go there. And you can't bring things, like there's all these sanctions. And
even when King Jong-un is saying, come on in?
Yes.
Wow.
It's very difficult to go there. Very difficult. And Switzerland, there it is.
Wow. Isn't that some shit?
It's amazing.
And there they are sitting at the bottom.
It's
Rob,
amazing.
click on that one there with Rodman.
Switzerland is like the representative for North Korea for the rest of the world. So you have to they're like the proxy. You deal with Switzerland, then they talk to North Korea.
Really?
North Korea talks to them because they can't have direct talks with North Korea because of sanctions.
I see.
So Switzerland's the middleman. You have to go through. It took 2 years. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I fought it every step of the way. I lost partially because the fees and the money and the opportunity was just so great. On the monetary side, even though I thought that the blowback would be fierce, which it was, I didn't think it was worth it. I lost that discussion. He went. He went there, and it was kind of a catastrophic success the first time. He did an interview on CNN where he had been drinking a little bit, and he got a little bit heated with Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo was doing an interview with him, and it got a little heated, and that interview just like went around the world. And he said something very prophetic at the time. He's like, listen, one day this door is going to open, and when it opens, we can do some amazing things here. And it was, people kind of laughed it off, and then here we are, many years later, where the United States had direct talks, opened the door. Trump actually went there and shook his hand. And I think you have to always have an open dialogue. And my brother touched on this. You have to be able to talk to everyone, even your enemies. You have to have that dialogue. You can disagree but you have to talk.
Yeah.
That's where it all begins.
And again, and that's just what the last time I was on here is you have this thing right now going on, and I talked about it with the Golden Girls, and that's what turned my opinions the way I am right now. But you have to be able to go and talk to someone, and even if you disagree, you still have to be able to express and articulate why you feel this way or why it's upsetting to you without it becoming, cussing and you're losing
personal attacks.
Yeah,
and
you're losing that personal attacks. Like I told you the last time, he has that group on Facebook, and literally, like, I walked away. Again, he constantly is trying to get me back on it, but it's an area where he's very strict on what you can say and what you can't. Like, you can't have. He hates memes. He is not the meme person. My ex, he loves memes, and that I constantly have to turn my damn phone off because of the memes. But you can't be memes, and everything has to be.
We have very strict rules.
Yeah, everything has to be.
No ad hominem.
Yeah.
There's almost like a constitution, and there's no ad hominem. There's all these rules, and we have a political talk group that's civil.
Yeah, and
which
there's
people said it was impossible.
Yeah, and there's there's like a huge Grand Canyon gap between the people that agree and the people that disagree. But they can get together in this room and they can actually have dialogue. And he does have, if you break the rules, you're in the kiddie corner.
The naughty step.
The naughty
I call it
step.
the naughty step.
You're on the naughty step.
I still don't even know what a meme is.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I thought a meme. What is a
You don't know what
meme?
a meme is?
I hate all
picture
that.
with the little words on it.
Listen, I go on social media, I post and I'm off. I want nothing to do with it.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. So when he first went to North Korea, I almost got him executed, by the way.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So what I didn't realize is in North
I'm
Korea,
glad
it's
you're
illegal.
still-
What I didn't realize it's illegal to tweet and to post on social media in North Korea.
Are
So when
they're communists.
They're communists. So when they first got there, they took their phones. Everyone had their passport and their phones. They had to give them up. And so when Dennis got there, I start tweeting from his Twitter account. And he
got the guy whacked.
He played. They just finished playing an exhibition game. He's in the locker room.
I hope he did good.
He had taken a shower or whatever. And he said 2 big guys in black suits walk in.
Oh, shit.
And they're like, "Hey, what is this?" And they showed him his Twitter, showing that he had been tweeting. And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." He goes, I didn't send that. Like, my people are doing it, whatever. And so they were allowed him to call. And he called me and goes, "AJ, you almost just got me executed." I go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like trying to delete. So after that first trip, he went back again. And the first trip was kind of a disaster because he didn't really have great talking points. So we had him ready the next time. And I was like, "Listen, only talk about basketball." Richard Nixon sent our ping pong players to China, and it was a sports exchange, you know, and I coined the term, which actually was trending on Twitter around the world, basketball diplomacy. I coined that term. And I said, I'm here. I told him, just keep saying, I'm here for basketball diplomacy.
Period.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not here for politics. And go and watch his talks when he's there.
did.
He's like, "I'm not here for politics. I'm here for basketball diplomacy." And he kept saying it over and over again, and it started trending. And it kind of changed. It started to change the narrative. Now people aren't talking about the dictatorship and all of the problems there and everything. He's like, "Look, we have to open the door with these people. We have to engage with them." And he actually did a good job at that. Now, some of the institutional issues and problems in North Korea, I don't know if you can fix that just with basketball. It's complicated, which are the reasons why I don't want him to go there. He was getting death threats. People were sending email death threats, not like letters cut out from a newspaper or something, like an email that you can trace back. Like it was crazy. Wow. He had he has a vodka brand, Dennis Rodman's Badass Premium Vodka, and we had all these orders lined up, all these orders from all over the country, supermarkets and distributors, and probably $2 million worth of orders canceled.
Wow.
Canceled. Everything was in shambles.
When the guy's just trying to help the country.
Everything was in shambles. And you watch the
F every one of you that canceled on the guy trying to help the country.
Yeah, it was crazy. And if you go back and watch his press conference where he was in Vietnam when Trump and Kim Jong-un met, what he was really emotional. He's like, "Listen, I couldn't even go home when I came the first time." Like, go back and watch it. You'll see him
I
talking
saw him
about
crying.
That. Yeah. It's because of the death threats. He had it was a lot of issues. I mean, there were a lot. By the second time with the basketball diplomacy and some of the things we were doing behind the scenes, it started to shift. So originally it was probably like 97% to 3% was against him on the first trip. By the end of the second trip, it was running like complete opposite. Yeah. 97% were supporting him, like, "Wow, this guy's actually kind of doing something good," and 3% were still kind of bashing him. But we had completely flipped it around, just because he was really focused on, "Hey, we're here to spread friendship through sports. It's a universal language. It has nothing to do with politics. We're just trying to help the North Korean people, the North Korean children." He helped to get what's his name out of captivity.
That's right. He did.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Didn't he get more than one person out?
He got him out, and can't remember his name, but I was in dialogue with his sister, and I was talking to his family. The gentleman who was in North Korea, can't remember his name. It was Kenneth Bay.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Kenneth Bay's sister. We had really good communication. And when Kenneth Bay got out and he came to the United States, he actually, one of the first things he said was, "I want to thank Dennis Rodman for bringing publicity to my case." So he did a lot of good. He did a lot of good there. Is it complicated there? Is it complicated for us to be talking directly to them? Absolutely. But the fact that he was able to help Kenneth Bay get out of there, and I would highly recommend that no American should go to North Korea. The young kid got in trouble, and he ended up in a real bad situation. I forgot his name. I think it's from Boston. Don't go to North Korea. Stay out of North Korea until things change.
Right, because you got to remember that Kim Jong-un was a huge, as we just saw,
Yes.
a huge fan of Dennis Rodman.
Absolutely.
That's why he was able to walk in.
Absolutely.
And like you said, he took the Nixon move, which worked with China, with the ping
Absolutely.
pong. That did work. That
And China at the time, our relations with China were way worse.
way worse than they are.
way
worse.
Way worse.
And,
And-
and that cleaned it up because it wasn't political. It
Wasn't political.
they strived or took the conversation to their liking.
Yes.
Right. And then that gave Trump the way in to say, hey, look, we can make your country better. You can have a basketball team.
Let's bring you into the world community. Let's bring
Yeah.
you into the world community.
But
Now
had
they're
Dennis
right.
not done that first,
Never
I
would
don't
have
think
happened.
Trump would have been able to get
But
in.
even like he can tell you the stories about when Dennis put the trips to China together. Our relationship to China, while it's sometimes adversarial, they love American basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Like every
Oh,
time
yeah.
he's gone over, he's like he'll text me or call me. He's like, man, these Chinese people, they won't leave us alone. They're just following the bus.
There would be
yeah.
people there. We went to China the first time in 2008, just after the Olympics were there in Beijing, and there would be people at the hotel. I mean, thousands of people at the team hotel, and we'd leave in the morning and we'd come back 10 o'clock that night, and the people haven't moved. They're just, and I'd say, hey Dennis, I saw this girl this morning. We left here, man, like 8 in the morning. Can you just go over and sign this thing with her, man? Take a couple pictures. And he would go over there and sign, and people are like crying. Just the Chicago Bulls are like God in China. They love the Chicago Bulls. They love Dennis. He's got the bull tattoos. I don't know if there's something significant about bulls and Chinese culture. I'm not sure. But in China, we all had an interpreter, and we all had a security guard. Everyone on the tour, no matter where you went, if you left your room. Now, the security guard, I personally think was like a government agent trying to monitor what we're doing.
I'm sure.
I'm just going down to get something at the little market. I don't,
We're talking about China here.
They're talking about China. So they would go to everywhere, and then you had a translator. So we had a translator and a security person. Everyone had at least that, sometimes more. So when we're on the bus, all the translators would be sitting in the back. Actually, they were sitting in the front, and they would all be talking. I won't imitate their accent. It's 2022. Not appropriate.
Can't say anything.
20 years ago, I would have imitated the accent.
And we all would have laughed.
Yeah,
Yes.
it would have been funny. Yeah. I'm not going to imitate their accent. So when they're talking, they were like saying this word, and the word is niga, and it's kind of like a filler word in Chinese. It's niga. It means like, I think it's like this or that. Like when you say like I'm gonna go to the store, and then I'm gonna do this. So niga is that word for them, and you could hear them all talking, and they're like, and I'm not gonna imitate their language.
Right.
Be very inappropriate. But they're talking, and
you
hear,
think that they're
and you
saying-
hear like niga, and they're talking, and they're pointing at things, niga, this, and so Dennis stands up and he says, "Whoa, hold on a second," and everybody quiets down on the bus. He's like, "I don't know what they're saying, but I want to know what the fuck that word means." And they're like, "No, it doesn't. No, it's not a bad. We're not even speaking English." Like, and they're trying to explain it. He's like, "Oh," he goes, "No, I don't know about this. You guys keep saying that word, man."
And what happened?
They just tried to explain. I said, someone explained it to me. I said, "Hey, man, listen, it's just like a filler word or whatever, but that is a terrible word to be using on a bus full of 10 of these big black guys.
Yeah.
Terrible word."
And what are they? 5'4", 100 pounds?
So
soaking
small.
wet?
So we went to Tiananmen Square, which the camera cannot capture the scope of how big this square is. I wanted to go there because I remember seeing the guy in 91 standing in front of the tank and blocking in Tiananmen Square. I was like, hey, where did that happen? And I was trying to orient myself. But when I was there and I saw the people going to Chairman Mao's tomb, his tomb is there, like towards the one side of it. The buildings are huge, the biggest buildings I've ever seen. The square is so big. There were like 300,000 people there, and it looked empty. And the one thing I took away,
300,000
people were there,
empty.
and it looked empty.
Wow.
One of the things I said when I was there was, being in that square, I hope to God we never have to fight these people. There are a lot of them there.
Yeah.
They have over 1 billion people. Their middle class is like 300 million people. That's like the size of our country. That's just their middle class.
And every one of their males have to go into the military.
Yes, they all have to serve. They have compulsory service.
I don't think that's a country we want to
That's not a country we ever want to fight with. The good news is we have that big ocean that kind of separates us.
Separates us, exactly.
From them.
And we're very good for their economy.
They would be nothing without us.
Yeah.
There would be nothing without us. If we turned off that spigot, they would be back to where they were in the 70s before we started to everything made in China, made in Taiwan. So it was just a very, very interesting time over there, and people just love this guy. He's just an interesting guy, very misunderstood.
Yeah, give me one more funny story with Dennis, and then we'll get back more onto you.
Sure. So. Dennis was on the.
I was really, I was a huge fan of him.
Oh yeah,
he's not just because you're sitting here. You can ask Alex. Before I even really knew, I really because my favorite players, not Jordan off the court.
Sure,
but I know a lot about Jordan off the court. But on the court, my favorite is Jordan.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment either. Jordan, Kobe, Rodman, and believe it or not, I like Will Perdue a lot.
Yeah, good strong players. Strong players for sure. Dennis was on the Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah.
So this is before Donald Trump had any political ambitions.
Right.
This would have been in 2009, 2010, something like that. So Rodman's on Celebrity Apprentice.
Remember this?
So it was with like Joan Rivers and
what a shame with Joan Rivers.
Yeah, Joan and Melissa Rivers, Brian McKnight, Tom Green,
Brian McKnight the
singer,
beast,
amazing. One of the girls from TLC, T-Boz, I guess.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Do you remember?
It's not Left Eye.
What Brian McKnight.
Brian McKnight.
Yeah. Do you remember? It was a bang.
At one.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh, Back at One.
Back at One. That's what it was. Back at One.
That was my jam.
I had it in my Acura in high school.
Brian McKnight. He was amazing.
He danced with the girls.
Yes.
Brian McKnight.
That was closing music. That was closing music.
And Genuine. How about
Genuine?
Oh yeah.
Rock that pony. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was great. Brian
I got
McKnight.
some soul in me, brother.
There you go. I like it. Tom Green. You might not be able to be here at night in Palm Beach.
I'm with you guys.
Tom Green, Roy Black, Annie Duke, the poker player. So there was a bunch of people on the Scott Hamilton, the ice skater. So it was an interesting cast. So on the very first night of filming the Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice, they filmed the exit shots of everybody. So after Trump fires you, you have to walk to the elevator, you go down the elevator, you walk to the car, and you get in the car and you have the little exit interview. But on the very first day of shooting, they film everyone exiting so the paparazzi won't know who gets fired each time. They do it in the beginning. So nobody really knows that. So everyone had to do that. So they had a little happy hour in Trump Bar, which is at the base of Trump Tower. So the crew all stayed in Trump Tower at Columbus Circle. So Trump Tower at Columbus Circle is where we stayed. Everyone stayed there. Then a van would pick everyone up and bring them to Trump Tower on Park Avenue because the studio was inside of Trump Tower. I think it's on the 12th or 13th floor. I'm not sure where it was. The boardroom and all that was all inside Trump Tower. So,
of course it was, right?
So on the ground floor, there's Trump Bar, which is where they had the happy hour where everyone was going to film their stuff. People were eating and drinking down at the table. Okay. So it's like this big long table, like in like a restaurant. And so there's like, I'm sitting here, Rodman's here, like Joan Rivers is here, and they're all kind of spurts out. Trump is here. I can't remember the daughter's name. Why am I forgetting it? Ivanka. Ivanka is here, and then some of Trump's people are there, and then everyone's kind of dispersed around. Brian McKnight, all these guys, Tom Green, everybody's there. So we're drinking, having a good time, and one by one, they're taking people to go and film their shot. Trump, they walk out of the boardroom, all dejected. They have to walk to the elevator. They go down with the guy and walk out to the car. Then they do the exit interview but they're wearing a jacket, a black coat, so you can't see what they're wearing because they might be wearing something different on the day they get fired.
Right.
So it's the magic of TV. So Joan Rivers is holding court at the table. She's so funny. She's cracking jokes. She's like, oh, Rodman, you're so. She was the best. She's like, Rodman, you're so incredible. You haven't played basketball in so many years, and you're so relevant. She's like, you and I should get married. I wouldn't even have to change the monograms on my towels. She was just so. She's like, I don't know if I can handle you in bed, but it was just.
She was the best.
She was just holding court, and everyone is like dying laughing. So everyone's talking, and so we're starting to drink a little bit, and I don't know what it is, but alcohol does something to Dennis. It gets him a little bit, brings him out of his shell a little bit, and he starts to say things maybe he shouldn't say. And so we're sitting there, and he says, hey, so Trump is like sitting like right here. I'm here, Dennis is here, Ivanka's there. So Dennis is sitting there. He goes, hey, Trump, and everyone's like quieting down. And he's like, I'm going to fuck your daughter. And I was like, oh, boy. I go, here we go. And Ivanka takes a long drink of her drink. And Trump's like, oh, Dennis, hey. And Ivanka's like, hey, do I have any say in any of this? And it just like broke the tension. Everyone starts, hey. And I was like, hey, dude, hey, man, you need to cut this bullshit out right now. It's not a good time for that. Not right now. Come on, man. Come on, keep it together. And I'm like, dude, don't do that. But Trump just kind of laughed it off.
Did he take it cool?
He took it very cool. Kind of laughed it off. She was great because she broke the tension. Like, hey, do I have any say in it? It was great.
Because they knew it was just joking.
Just joking around. But that's Dennis.
But somebody else that could have been really
that could have been
catastrophe.
He might have gotten slapped in the face.
or a lawsuit. Or a lawsuit.
Somebody may have walked up to him and slapped him in the face. Imagine that. So it's a Will Smith joke. So the costume designer, her name was Kitty Boots. I'll never forget her.
What a name, huh?
She's from England. I think she lives in London, but she was the costume designer. So she has in charge of all the wardrobe. She comes up to me and is like, do you think that Mr. Rodman would want to change in the changing room, or do you think that he might want to change in the bathroom? Like, what do you think he's going to do? I said, well, where's the changing room? She's like, oh, you have to take the stairs, take the escalator, and then go down the hallway, and then go around the corner, and and then the changing rooms are there. I was like, dude, he's not going to do that. Like, so forget about that. Where's the other one? He goes, well, the other one, we may be able to take him to a bathroom. I said, okay, that's fine. He'll probably do the bathroom. He doesn't need a official changing room. But I said, but whatever you do, don't bring his wardrobe here, because he will change right here in this bar. And she's like, what do you mean he'll change in this bar? I said, what I just said. He will change right in this bar. Do not bring his wardrobe here, and tell him, to change. So of course, like a lot of people who are very good at their jobs, these are the top people, top producers, top costume people in the world working on this show. Of course, they think they know more than you do. Okay, so what does she do? She comes in and brings his wardrobe on a hanger, and is telling him, like, hey, we need you to change into your wardrobe. I told her to come and talk to me. Let me handle it. She didn't do that.
You're only around the guy every day.
Exactly. I'm only wrangling him all the time. So she has the wardrobe. It was like a suit. It was just a suit. And she's like, Mr. Rodman, we need you to change. And he's like, well, where's the change room? She goes, oh, you have to go up the escalator and down this thing and down around and go around the thing and go down. And he goes, oh, forget about that. I'm going to change right here. He stands up. He stands up at the table. Everyone's like eating and whatever. Pulls down his pants. Now, Dennis doesn't ever wear any underwear. This is a true story. So he's like, knocking things, he's like Mr. Snuffleupagus. He's got that flailing around, and he changes right at the table. And I'm like everybody's looking like, oh my God, is he really doing this right?
And you're like, I told you.
I tried to tell you. I said, don't do it. He changed. He's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. He's like, let's go do it. And he just walked right out. I was like, oh. God, like this is going to be a long 6 weeks.
And verbatim, you said.
I tried to warn.
When she said left, right, left, you said he ain't going to do it.
He's not going to do it.
And
I tried
verbatim,
to warn him.
she did.
He pulled his pants down right at the table.
Good for him.
It smelled like a locker room in there. Just smelled like raw meat, like a butcher shop.
Well, who knows what he was doing last night? I'm sure something fun. I'm sure he was having fun.
So the funny thing is, the entire time, Dennis Rodman, Melissa Rivers, Tom Green, they were partying every single night.
I can't imagine
they partied
Tom
together
Green with
every
Dennis Rodman
single
partying. That has to be bad.
Oh, it was crazy. And Halloween happened to fall while we were there. And I remember we
And
went
you
out.
got to keep all this under control.
Yes, it was hard. With like call times were like 6 o'clock call times. It's crazy, crazy.
Boy.
So we're all in a cab going somewhere. It's Halloween night, and we're in a cab. So it's New York City. It's bumper to bumper traffic. Tom Green is like hanging out the window, like just saying jokes to people. People are coming up to the car. He gets out of the car at one point, and we like lost sight of it. I didn't even know where he went. He's like talking to people, rolling down the windows. He is so funny. He is so like Freddie Got Fingered and Road Trip, and he's just so funny. And anytime he does stand up, I always go to his shows.
He is
to catch him.
He's in a van now, you know that?
Yes, he's in a
Doing a
van. He's got his
podcast.
dog. Yes, amazing. I follow all of his stuff. I talk to him all the time.
Funny as
Anytime he comes to Miami. Matter of fact, next time he comes, you should come with me.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah, I always go to his shows, and it's great. We usually will have dinner after, whatever, because he doesn't make it down this way that often. But he has a house in Costa Rica, so sometimes he does like to come through on his way to Costa Rica. And but it was those guys every night. They were partying every single night till 4 or 5 in the morning. They were at like strip clubs and just like what you think Melissa Rivers, this little conservative, valley girl.
She was out with them?
She was out partying with. She was going toe to toe.
Those rivers are cool as
They're
hell.
cool. And I got to tell you, Joan Rivers, for as famous as she was the nicest person.
Everybody I've met since I've done this, like celebrity-wise, they all right. Everybody we know that knew her said that she was just a sweetheart.
Sweetest person. She was so funny. So funny.
Shame
always
to go
cracking
the way
jokes.
she went to, huh?
Such a
bullshit.
Yeah.
Such a shame. She was so nice. She loved Dennis. Oh, loved him.
I bet
and she always had a crew of people like walking behind her, primping her hair and her makeup. She had all these little people following behind her all the times. Like,
From
like
watching,
she always looked
from
perfect.
watching her stand-ups, right? Joan Rivers. Yeah. I could see how she could understand Dennis.
Yeah,
sure.
Like I could just see in her like she could understand him.
Sure.
Personally.
She's old school, and that's the thing. Those comedians like that, like they just had an aura around them.
For sure.
And I think that was the thing with her, is that she was that edgy comic when it was before the edgy comic was.
Oh, I forgot. Andrew Dice Clay was on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried. He's stopped on podcasts.
He was so funny. So I remember the very first day of filming, they filmed like the opening sequences where like, Herschel Walker was also there. So like Herschel Walker with his Heisman and Dennis Rodman like with a basketball and all this stuff. So they're filming all this stuff, and Dice Clay shows up late into the room, and he comes and goes, "Hey, Donnie, we got any bagels or anything in here? Like nothing to eat?" And he just like didn't stop all day, cracking jokes.
Shit.
So funny.
I tried. We
so
tried.
funny. Oh, and Khloe
100 calls to get
Kardashian.
him.
Khloe Kardashian was also there.
How was she?
She was there also. She
This was pre transformation, or
so this would have been in 2010. Yeah.
Yes, or pre.
Yeah, she was there, and I think she might have been the first person fired because she had to go back to L.A. She had like a DUI or something. I don't remember. She had a court case she had to go to.
Yeah.
And Trump fired her. He was really like mean to her when he fired her because like, I hate people who drive drunk. You're fired.
well, his brother was an alcoholic.
Yes, he was, and Trump does not drink.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I didn't even realize that when we were at the bar, Trump bar. I had no idea he did not drink, and he didn't drink. Didn't drink. So when Dennis got fired from the Celebrity Apprentice, he was fired. He was the team leader, the project manager. Sorry, and he was supposed to run this hotel, and these guys were coming and they needed a car to take them to Tao, the steakhouse. And so he was like working at the valet, he had like on a little vest, and he's like running the valet and running the whole project or whatever. So these guys come and they're going, "Hey, we need a car. We're going to Tao." That's Dennis's favorite restaurant in New York. And so Dennis is like, "Oh, I'll get your car." So he calls, for the limo or one of the black cars to come up. And the guys get in, and one of the guys rolls down the window and goes, "Hey, Dennis, man, we're going to go to Tao, man. Are you coming?" And he goes, "Hell yeah, I'm coming." He like takes off his vest in the middle of the production. He's like, "Hell yeah." And he gets in the car and he goes to Tao while he's the project manager. My phone is blowing up. Producers are like calling me like, "AJ, he left the set." I go, "What are you talking about? He left the set." He's at Tao. I go, "Ah." He left and he ended up getting fired. He got fired that night. So the next day after he got fired, Mr. Trump wanted us to come and meet with him in his office. So we go to Park Avenue, and there's a famous picture of Dennis and Trump together. I actually took that picture. Probably should have like copyrighted or something. That picture has been everywhere.
Probably worth it. Shit.
It probably worth a lot of money. That picture has been everywhere. And so we go to that picture right there on the left is the one I took. That picture. I should have copyrighted.
Good for
that's
you,
my
man.
picture.
Congratulations.
So we go into Trump's office, and his office is kind of interesting because he doesn't have anything on the walls. Everything is on the floor, like
Not to
autographed.
interrupt you. I started wearing Ed Hardy because of him.
Yes.
Remember when he was the first one to start pushing that?
He was very good friends with
I had the wristband.
Christian Audigier. Yes, he was very good friends.
Because of him, I started
Yes.
rocking Ed Hardy.
We used to go to Culver City, their warehouse, and they would let us take anything we wanted.
Sorry to interrupt you, bud.
No, it's okay. We'd fill up boxes of Ed Hardy stuff, hats and shirts and belts and all the rhinestones and all that. And we would ship it all back to Miami. But he was good friends with Christian Audigier, the guy who owned Ed Hardy, the clothing line. So we're in Trump's office. He has nothing on his walls. Everything's on the ground. I don't know if they were just renovating or what they were doing, but like Mickey Mantle jerseys and all these things. Nothing's on the wall. I thought it was kind of weird, but whatever. So Trump looks around. He kicks all of his people out. He goes, "Everybody get out." So it was me, Dennis, and Trump in a room in his office on Park Avenue for like 45 minutes, and it was like unbelievable. This is in 2010. No one knew he had any desire to run for president. And it was just a meeting of Trump and Dennis, and we're just sitting there talking. And I snapped a picture of that meeting. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever published that picture. I still have it. I'm going to copyright that one.
Yeah, you should.
So yeah, it was just the three of us in his office for
Was it a good 45 minutes?
It was incredible. I was just a fly on the wall and just talking to them, and he was just talking to Dennis because they've been friends a long time, and they were just talking about the show, and he was asking Dennis like, what's going on with you and the drinking, and he was like basically
trying to help him out in a way.
Trying to help him out a little bit, and but it was just amazing just to be in that room, because before Trump ran for president, he was very much was very much a business icon, and for me, being a very business centered guy, it was kind of great to be in that room with him. It was kind of cool.
Do you like Trump like now? Like
I
after
do.
the president and everything? Like, how do you feel about him, and how does Dennis feel about him? I'm just curious.
So he and Dennis are very good friends, and he was a big supporter of Trump, and he was tweeting about him and campaigning and things for him. I think that Trump, man, this could get me in trouble. So
you need to stay away from him.
No, I listen. I think that
before he answers, he went on CNN after Trump was, and that was a big, interview. It was him, and it was a table just like this, and the left was on the left, and the right was on the right, and he was right there with Dana Bash at the head of the table because he didn't vote for Trump. He voted for Gary Johnson, and he tried to be this. Again,
I was trying to be the adult in the
middle of the adult, and he's like, the questions that we're asking, and the people were getting at each other, and Dana Bash is looking at him, and he's like,
it wasn't Dana Bash.
Oh, it wasn't Dana Bash. It was
can't remember her name. The host of the morning show there. I can't remember her name. It wasn't Dana Bash.
And literally, when he got off that show, the visceralness that he got.
Oh, the trolls attacked him on Twitter.
Trolls attacked him on Twitter. They attacked him because he said, you should give Trump a chance.
Let's give him a chance to see what he can do. This is just after the election. So the election was in November. This was probably in December. He hadn't even taken office yet. And so they had a panel of people. Some voted for Trump, some who didn't. And I voted for Gary Johnson. I was the Johnson voter. And while I know President Trump and I like him, he's always been very good to Dennis. Anytime we've ever needed him, we'd call Keith Schiller, his right-hand man, and he would help us with anything we needed. He was always there for us. He was always great. I always believe that being the president is it's very difficult. It's complicated. And for someone who's never held office, at the time my position was, I wouldn't vote for anybody who's never held office to be the president. I don't know if they know how to be the president. And so I did go on CNN, and I was on the voter panel as the Gary Johnson voter. And I got attacked, man. Yeah. They came for me. I mean, they came after me. Oh, man. Right? They came after me. But the thing is, what's interesting is I said, hey, let's see what he can do. Let's give him a chance, see what he can do. And now when Biden got elected and everyone on the right was attacking him, I was in a great position to say, hey, let's see what he can do. Give him a chance, because I said the same thing about Trump. So I think that it gave me a little bit of credibility as far as being very open-minded to trying to give someone a chance who is elected by the people. I think that should mean something. And so, it's interesting how sort of the world sort of circles around and turns around and comes back.
And I think that's the thing with me and him is there's a hypocrisy on both sides of the aisle that I think is disingenuous to an argument or even a discussion, basically, because the same ideas that you have on one person should be the same thing that carries over to the second person. And you saw that definitely in the trial, in the hearings for the Judge Jackson. The right rallied, oh, she's this and she's that and she's this, and it's the same arguments that the left had when they bring on a conservative judge. You should hold the views. If you don't want to see partisan politics or you don't want to see a partisan argument, then you should hold those same type of views when it's not your person that you're pushing. And too many times we see the left attack because they may be pro anti-abortion or gun rights or something like that. But then when they put up their person, the right goes the same freaking thing.
It's always the opposite.
It's a hypocrisy
that's why this two-party thing is just crazy.
It's a disingenuousness. The way if you don't want to see partisan politics, then
don't be partisan.
Yeah.
I think if we had a viable third party,
absolutely.
third party, it would dominate. Because
Absolutely.
I think most people are in the middle. I'm socially very liberal. I'm fiscally very conservative. I'm pro-police. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in reasonable gun control. I'm a registered Democrat. And I like to say I'm a gun-toting, meat-eating Democrat. and
he does have his gun. Yes, he does.
And you like gas.
Yes, I do. I just feel like most people are in the middle. I think most people are where I'm at.
I'm always in the
middle.
We always talk about in here. I think the general public is in the middle, and you get forced almost to say
you have to pick a side.
Yes. So I have to
pick a
vote
side.
I cannot vote for a Republican, or I cannot vote for a thing. Instead of picking the right guy
for the position,
and based off, everybody has ideals, right?
Yeah.
Abortion's a big one. Always, there's things like that.
If people would be if a candidate was truly into the middle, they would dominate. They would absolutely dominate every single election. But they keep trying to try to go to the side that they are on, and it's
like you have the Freedom Caucus on the right and you have the Squad on the left. Mm-hmm. Most Democrats don't agree with the Squad. Most Republicans don't agree with the Freedom Caucus. So I think most people are really in the middle, and I think that's where, if there was a way to harness and all that energy,
alleviate the left, the right, the middle, and then you go. Whoever wants to run goes and runs.
Yes.
There is no left, no right, no middle. So that way, if you go into your job and you say, I'm a Republican, but the boss is a Democrat, you don't have a job.
Right.
They all run. Whoever wins gets the majority of the Senate and the House too, right from the gate. That way, the 4 years that they do have, hey, look, the people elected them. You got to deal with it.
Absolutely.
Okay? You have see what he can do. Let him pass the bills, because in 4 years, if he's bad, somebody else can come in and retract him. But the way it is now, even if you have the best president in the planet, if the House and the Senate aren't one party,
they're not going to get anything done.
It's a cock block for 4 years.
And again, that's the biggest thing. And I think I said this on the last time I was here, is that we have a very ill-informed and a very ill-informed electorate. I'm going to keep it nice. That's the term. And you have people that don't understand what it is to be, what the president's role is, what's Congress' role, and what's the judicial role. And you think that too many people nowadays don't understand that the president isn't king. He's the enforcer of the law. That's what the executive branch is. The conservative, the Congress is conservative. And my brother and I, we disagree on some things, but we're kind of the same. And we both have talked to our friends that are liberals that wanted to get rid of the filibuster. I said, that's the worst
a terrible idea
thing that you could ever do, because the filibuster was put in so that you could meet halfway or partway to where, if it's the right that's controlling or the left, you can get all you have to do is get 10 people. 10, and all you have to do is adjust whatever your ideology is. And I think it's damaging when you have a branch, whether it's or a side, whether it's the Democrats or whether it's the Republicans, that are just ramrodding. We're not all just Democrats, and we're not all just Republicans. We've got to find a way.
We have to leave the filibuster alone. I think that it's important, because if you don't have the filibuster, the party in the minority is going to be shut out, and they'll be steamrolled, which our system of government has been set up specifically so the majority cannot just steamroll the minority. That's what the Senate is for. The Senate is specifically for that. And so by removing those fail safes, I think it's really bad for our country. I think it's bad for democracy, and I think we need to leave it alone, because the thing that the Democrats have to remember is you're not going to always be in the majority.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, come November, I don't think they are going to be in the majority. Partially, they've squandered control, and I think that they have taken up an agenda which I don't think helps the average person. You know, I'm a kitchen table guy. I don't really care about a lot of the other noise that they talk about. I'm really focused, and I think everyone should be very concentrated on, you know, economic issues, jobs, the economy, our energy policy. There's so many different things that we could be focusing on, and I think that the Democrats have squandered a great opportunity to do some great things. They've been and it has created a lot of issues for them, and I think they're going to pay dearly in the midterms.
They had a shot this time.
Absolutely, they have complete control
to really kill shit.
They have complete control, and I think they squandered it.
And not only that,
they're not going to always be in the majority. They have to remember
what
that.
worse decisions could you make? And I would say that whether it was a Republican,
100%.
Democrat,
but
independent, whoever it was, I would say you cannot have made worse decisions in 2 years than this guy.
But Tommy,
you just couldn't have.
It's a cycle. We go through this cycle every single time. You get the Democrats that'll get in control, they'll screw it up, and then the Republicans take over, and the Republicans get in control, and they'll screw up, and then the Democrats. It's a cycle that has to stop. Yep. It has to. And again, the worst thing you could do is remove that filibuster, so then you get that gangbuster of rule, and then guess what happens in 8 years when they can't get everything great? Then the next party comes in, and all the stuff that they
nothing happens, and inflation is through the roof.
It's
what
ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's going to take. And again, I've said this. It's going to take splashing cold water on these voices that make up all this nonsense and noise on the right and on the left. You need policies that are going to benefit everyone, not just your party that you're rooting for. And the rhetoric has got to come down. You can't be calling people enemy of the state. You can't be calling people your enemy. You're not. Just because you have a different ideology than me, we should be able. I can call you tomorrow and say, "Yo, me and my brother are going to be in Miami. Let's go have some dinner." We may not agree on everything, but you're a good person. You're a good guy, and we need to get back to that, because it never happened. And like I said, I'm 53. It never happened in Reagan. It never happened in Clinton. It never happened in Bush. It never happened in Gore. It never happened in
Bush.
In Bush too. And we've got to get back to that. And when you see Obama and Bush, who were diametrically against each other, sitting and talking and laughing and joking, you got to say that we got to get to that where we can sit down, disagree, but still go have dinner, go have a drink, and go have and chill and just relax and not be.
We all would love that, but I think that's fantasy.
It's a pipe.
What were you gonna say?
If you look, I just looked at today actually about the woman who was just nominated.
Jackson.
You're right. And I looked back, it just caught my interest, and I saw the vote, right, the numbers, right?
Yes.
And I went to the one before Kavanaugh, right? And I looked at his vote.
That was fucked up.
But hold on. I looked at his vote. And then I looked at, I think, the one right before that vote. They were all very close, right?
Yep.
When you go back before that, it was like
landslides.
70-30.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, very liberal justice.
93-7.
She was 93. She got 93 votes. So times have definitely changed.
You look at that and you're like, how from that point can they sit? Because they sat in a room, they sat together and they said, hey, and they went through everything. And they probably threw some bad stuff about her and some good stuff and said, listen, overall, she's a good person. Why can't you make this decision? Because you consider yourself a Republican, you consider yourself a Democrat, and you can't vote for a Democrat.
But that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem in it, is that they're not looking, because if you listen to the exit interviews of every single senator that's a Republican, they're like, she's a great person. She's got more credentials than anyone sitting on the court currently. He debated against her, by the way.
Did
he
he
didn't
really?
tell you that.
She was in debate tournaments and I was there. She was she would have been a senior. I was a sophomore. She was in a different event than me.
Did you like her?
We used to be
the only thing they kept saying was about her the child.
But if you look at the
I didn't look, so I have no.
but if you look at the other,
I'm not going to make an opinion.
Those were mandatory minimum issues.
And again, that's set by Congress.
Qualified.
It's not her,
Yeah.
but she's qualified on the level more than anyone else that's sitting on Congress. So you can't tell me that, again, this partisan, the same way and then to go on, and again, this is what pisses me off, to go on and then crack on and whip on partisan politics when you're performing partisan politics. Because if she has got the credentials and she's busted her behind to get it,
it's that left right thing.
It is.
But one thing with her, when they were killing her on that low sentence thing, I know guys, this sounds crazy, but they would order hookers.
Yeah.
And the hooker would say, hey, look, I'm going to bring my friend, okay? And, you know, a guy that I know was like, yeah, sure, you know, bring your friend. Two for one, you know.
Right.
You know, instead of $1,000, you know, you give me 2 for $1,200, you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. So he goes and meets, and now remember, this is 2019. So a girl that might be 14 with some dark eye makeup on and everything else, she looks 21.
oh yeah, you got to ask for ID.
Right.
So now it was a setup. It was a sting operation.
Wow.
So he goes and meets these two, and I saw the pictures and everything from the
Right.
internet. The girl looked, I mean, you would think she was at least 22, 23.
Right.
Now, in that situation, I don't think many guys are saying, excuse me, how old are you?
Yeah.
You know
Check
what I
your
mean?
ID, right.
You're kind of giving the cash, and that's it. 20 years. Okay? So when I heard that about her,
The tenderonis. Stay away from the tenderonis.
but when I heard that about her, I didn't do any research, so
Yeah.
I never made an assumption, because how if she gave a person a reasonable sentence in that situation,
Right.
where the guy didn't know the girl was
Right.
14,
Right.
set up on a sting because the mom got caught hooking. So the feds wired her and said, "Hey, get one of these guys to do this,
Yeah.
and we'll knock your year off, and
some
we'll give
time
somebody else 20." Right?
Wow. That's crazy.
So without the research, you don't know if maybe Judge Tom, maybe instead of giving a guy like that 20 years who should not get 20 years for
Right.
that, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was going off of the sentencing guidelines. And I'm not that well versed on. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
but she was. There were some federal sentencing guidelines which I believe she was going off of, which is why some of those sentences were lower. But I think that when you look at Supreme Court nominees, that's not typically how the confirmation process works. You know, is someone qualified? Do they have the ethical standards? Do they have the education? Do they have a knowledge of the law? Like, these are the things you look at. And elections have consequences. You know, when President Trump wins, he gets to pick justices. When Joe Biden wins, he gets to pick justices. So whoever wins, you get to nominate justices, and you can't just say, well, I'm going to oppose them because maybe their rulings or ideology, maybe they're too activist for me, or they're too conservative for me. Like, that's not the standard.
No, and in that situation, see, they don't explain it, and they didn't. And what they did to Kavanaugh was
But
wrong.
again,
that
this
was
is
a sick situation.
But
But
again,
with
this
her,
is the same thing that they
in federal court, you don't know what went on in that federal court because you have I'm very familiar with federal court.
Yeah.
You have a PSR lady. So she, even though she has no idea who you are, she holds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So when she goes through the paperwork, she might recommend a downward departure because of A, B, C, D, E. Then you have the U.S. attorney that has an input. You have the assistant U.S. attorney input. You have the investigator that has an input. So when they say she gave lower sentences, well, before you say that and that she went light on pedophiles,
Right.
did you read all the cases that she did and the circumstances around it? Probably not, because you didn't mention it on the news.
Well, her explanation was I thought thorough, because she was saying 20 years ago, when it was paper that these people were taking pictures and you would distribute 500, now you've got the internet where it's not, you know, it's you put it out and it's 1 billion or a million or hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Where she got murdered though was when they asked her, do you know what a girl was?
Yeah. Well, again,
she got she got killed by a lot of people.
But
I mean,
again,
look what happened to Disney.
But again, the whole thing on that is that's not. She really shouldn't answer that, because something like that may come up in her cases, and that's the standard MO, is to say, you know what, I'm not going to answer anything on that grounds because that might come up in a case, and I can't bias myself towards that.
That would have been the right answer.
And I think that's what she should have said. But again, the whole thing is it's we need a lot more research and a lot more different things to even deal with a lot of the stuff that's going on here.
Now, all the Fortune 500 companies you worked with,
Yes.
What's your opinion on Elon buying the majority of Twitter? I mean, that's a huge move.
Listen, I'm a big fan of Elon
Me
Musk.
too.
I
Me and you
think
both.
that he is. I say this all the time. He's the Einstein of our time.
Without without question.
Here's a guy.
We had the argument the last time.
I had his partner, and bro, they are going to Mars in 7 days. He's building his own molecules
like
so that the matter don't hit.
This is a guy
Elon.
who helped us start.
You can't doubt Elon.
Guy who helped.
He's your brother, but he don't know. He's out there in sci-fi. So
He's wrong.
I love you, but you're out there.
Like Elon Musk.
Yeah,
so he went to PayPal. He started a company before. Went to PayPal. Said, you know what? I'm gonna start a rocket company. And people's like, a rocket? Are you crazy? Yeah. You can't do that. Only governments can do this. He's like, all right, watch me. So he did it. Started SpaceX. He goes, you know what? I'm going to build an electric car. I'm going to start a car company. You know how many car companies have been successfully started in the last 100 years? Like none. So he goes and he starts Tesla. And everyone said, you can't do it. There's no charging. There's not enough range. You can't make it. And he found a way to do it. He found a way to make it. The federal government's now building all these charging stations. There's this huge infrastructure bill. They're trying to put charging stations and make it more. And now everybody has, did you see the Super Bowl? Every commercial was for electric cars.
Yeah.
That's Elon did that.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't mean it to be like that.
No, he did it.
So again, my argument is it's not Einstein. He's more of a Henry Ford, and that's my thing.
No, completely wrong.
I think he's a Henry
Ford.
Listen, I think he's a Henry Ford.
Whoa.
I think he's
completely wrong.
Alex.
There have only been four. There have only been four organizations.
I love you, but
hold on a second.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There have only been four organizations that have ever put a person, a human being, and a satellite and orbited the Earth. China, Russia, the United States, and SpaceX.
Well, and again,
four. That's it.
Again,
four.
How about Neuralink? And you want to compare him?
No.
In 2 years,
no.
This guy is
in 2 years. If you're paralyzed, they approve.
Oh,
they're only approving one.
Again,
you are no longer paralyzed in 2 years.
This guy's amazing.
Again,
I think it's a great move. He brought to Twitter. Listen, I think it's a great move he brought onto Twitter. I think it's a brilliant move.
What do you, from your experience with these major companies, what do you see happening, and how long, and how does that process take with these companies? Because nobody better at asking.
I think he's kind of in a way, I kind of think he's trolling Twitter by buying them, because he's like posting about, that's what our board meetings are going to be like. He's smoking a big blunt, and I think he's just like trolling them. And he's got the money to do it. He's got FU money. He can do whatever he wants.
His ideology.
People quit.
Well,
people quitting.
I think his ideology. I think his ideology will be good for it because it's going to change and flip, and it's going to flip Twitter on its head. And I think that's the one thing that he does. You can't say that he doesn't have the ideas. The ideas are brilliant. And again, I said this the last time. Where I have the problem, again, and I explained it in my last, and I've had this discussion with him, is that the ideas of I want to go to the moon, and then the infrastructure to put that together and how to get it, no one does it better than him. And I'll admit that. No one does it. But Einstein created the theory of relativity. I don't see him doing anything on that level, which is why, again,
Alex,
my point is
I think he's his own molecule. To
it's unbelievable.
Again, if he does that, Tommy, if he says that, if he creates that, and I see that it's him that's doing it and not people that he's bringing on board,
I would never bet
I'll
against
get behind
him.
it.
I would never bet against him.
I'm not going to bet against him.
And this is the thing is, with him buying into Twitter, I think it's going to also help crypto because he's the crypto.
Oh yeah, he's
the big guy in crypto.
He's a huge
crypto
guy.
I think this is going to help crypto. I think this is going to help push and mold the social space with the censorship. I personally think that people should be allowed to say whatever they want online. I really do. I think the nanny state has kind of taken over social media. If you don't like someone, you can block them. They're gone forever. If you don't like a post, you can scroll past it. I think the freedom of ideas should never be stifled, even at the risk of some people saying things that maybe you don't like. The First Amendment is not contingent upon the content.
No.
In the United States. In other countries, it is. There are some countries where words are illegal. Yeah. It is illegal to say this. Like you could be arrested or face civil penalties for saying things, which to the United States, to Americans, this is a crazy idea.
Yeah.
And social media, they're private businesses. I get it. But I think that the freedom of ideas should be protected. And, You don't have to be on social media. You don't have a constitutional right to be on social media if you don't like things that are being said. How can someone bully you on Twitter? You just get off of it. You block them. It's just we become so soft. We become so soft. Oh, this person is bullying me on Twitter. You don't even have to look at it. Just scroll past it, delete it, block the person. It's madness. The nanny state is taking over. We've got to get people to take more control over themselves and not think that the government or a company has to, house, clothe, feed them from cradle to grave. We've got to get away from that and be more independent.
Well, when you hinder free speech, right, then it stops evolving, right?
Yeah,
so
ideas.
Because maybe you have an idea that sounds crazy right now.
Yeah.
But what about in 3 years when technology
Absolutely.
catches up where your brain
to it.
is?
Yeah, absolutely.
But now you can't say it because maybe within that sentence is a censored word. You're taking free speech away, you're taking away advancements.
Right.
While the other countries are getting stronger
Yeah.
and bigger and better. And what I think Elon's going to do is play with them a little bit because he's like a little kid.
Oh, of course he
You know
is.
what I mean? And then I think he's going to flip the script because Dempsey, who left, one of the reasons why they booted him out was because he wanted to do 2 Twitters. One that was censored like it is now.
The one that's wide open.
And then one that's wide open.
Yeah.
And the board didn't like that.
Yeah.
And they slowly kicked him the fuck out. And I bet you somewhere, somehow, him and
It's gonna
Elon
come
are
back.
kind of
Yeah.
talking a little bit. And I think Elon's going to make
I don't have an
the move.
issue with an uncensored Twitter. Just
That's
block-
what we want.
I think
Stay
that-
off of
I
it.
think-
Say whatever
yeah,
you want.
I think
what we
that-
want,
I think the
though.
problem
so we
is-
can exchange thoughts and minds and
Freedom of
I
ideas.
I think the problem is you should always have that, but the ramifications for your speech is what the who is executing the ramifications or for your speech. I think that's where we really lose it.
Should be
because
nobody.
you
Because you can always
again,
click off.
You can always click
Just get
off.
off
And you
of
can
it.
always turn
It's as
off.
simple
You don't have
as
to
that.
go on there.
But
Scroll past it.
And
That's it.
and for me, it is. I think that's the epitome of really what it's about with your speech. There should be ramifications. Like again, you've got people that like Martha Stewart, dropping the N-bomb or finding whatever. The ramifications are going to be there. People are going to then take
I think
that choice.
that wasn't Martha Stewart. That was the other one.
No, not Martha
The
Stewart.
Southern one.
Paula Dean.
So let her say it.
Yeah. So
Let her say it.
So
but
who cares?
But again, she says it. Then there's a ramifications. People stop supporting her. People stop doing that. And
Exactly.
That's, and I
They
don't have
don't
a
need
problem
to
with that.
censor
Yeah.
because
I don't need the problem.
if he or she says something bad
Exactly.
enough,
People-
society
yeah.
will handle it.
Exactly.
Well, that's
And I
the
think
free
what it
market.
is. That's what the free
Yeah.
market is.
The free
And I
market
agree with that.
forces will always balance these things out. I think, again, the nanny state is something that we should reject. I think that we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to
Absolutely.
be responsible and comport ourselves in ways that are good for society. And when you don't do that, the free market usually will step in and sort of equalize things and handle these sorts of things. So I don't know. And I'm on social media a lot, mostly Facebook and Instagram. I'm now on TikTok.
You were hard to find.
Yeah, I made my first TikTok video, but I should be easy. It's just Aston Bright. At Aston Bright is all my social media. But I think that if I'm not like I don't commit like ad hominem. I'm in a lot of political discussions. I have my political group. I don't make personal attacks, and I don't ever take anything said online too seriously, and I don't ever take it personally. I think someone writing a couple sentences online, if that can send you into a downward spiral, I
You
think
need a
that
therapist.
You shouldn't be online.
No. Yeah,
You shouldn't be online. I think someone putting a couple of sentences and putting it on a screen can send you down into like a meltdown. Why? Why someone you don't know, you've never met, has that much control over your state? Like how? How is that possible?
You need to go get in a couple fights or
Yeah,
something and
how-
realize how the real world is.
That's crazy.
So even
crazy to me.
even when he was attacked from that CNN interview, he was just laughing it off.
Yeah, it's no big
and
deal.
he's been on Channel 10 here, and he's made some statements, and people are trying to cancel him and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I laugh at it because he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like he's gotten into knockdown, drag out fights with my sister because my sister is like, and he just laughs and he just.
I don't take anything.
Yeah, he doesn't
personally.
take it personal,
You
and you
can't.
can't.
I don't take it personal.
Yeah, and you can't.
So now tell me about the EVP the EVP partnership that you did, and it was a Jewish Federation. Yeah, I am reading this because this is a lot to read.
That's okay. It's okay.
I'll let you say.
So the
Why am I even going to attempt to say these massive words?
Let him say the words.
So I'm a firefighter with my city.
Volunteer. Which
I'm a
is
volunteer
great.
firefighter, and
Congratulations.
thank you. It's the greatest thing I've ever done. And in 2015, I got involved with an organization out of Jerusalem called the Emergency Volunteers Project. This is a group of first responders in Israel that started an organization that comes to the United States to recruit and train firefighters from the U.S. to be deployed in Israel in times of crisis or war or whatever. What most people don't know is there are 29,747 fire departments in the United States. Only 9% of them are paid departments.
Wow.
Most people don't know that.
I don't know.
70% of all firefighters in the United States are volunteers.
Wow.
So that's a shocking statistic, a shocking number. Most people don't know this.
Very shocking.
So in Israel, the situation can be very dire if there's ever a war and any kind of really big natural disaster, because Israel's about the size of New Jersey, and there are only about 2,000 firefighters in the whole country. So in Palm Beach County, there are probably 6,000 firefighters in Palm Beach County alone, where we are right now. And in all of Israel, there's 2,000 in the whole country. Wow. So when there's a big war or any kind of big event, they need help. And so the EVP recruits us and trains us here and gets us ready that on a moment's notice we can be deployed and sent to Israel. And I've been deployed there twice.
Wow.
Now, how was that over there when you went there? Because when I was reading about it, it seems like it was quite a situation.
It was absolutely one of the most amazing and one of the most terrifying things I've ever done.
You seem
both.
normal. You don't seem all, you don't got like your eyes
It
go
was
like,
both.
you don't have one eye going that way, one eye going the other way. So
It was an incredible experience. I don't know if I knew what I was getting myself into when I first decided to do it, but it was incredible. So in 2017, I was there in Jerusalem, and we were running calls. I mean, we would go to a fire call, and Israelis do the same dumb things Americans do, leaving pots on the stove. They get stuck in elevators. There's fire alarms. There was a fire at the Jerusalem post office downtown. Like the same mundane kind of stuff that happens here happens there. So being a firefighter is a firefighter. But in 2018, when I was deployed again, it was for dealing with some fires, arson fires that were being started out of Gaza by Hamas. They were taking kites and balloons and weaponizing them with incendiary devices and floating them into Israel and causing fires.
that's where the terrorism kite
That's where the terrorism kite comes from.
Holy shit.
So in my city and the city of Plantation, we had about 35 fires last year, all of last year, 35 fires. We have about 100,000 people in the city. Between May and August of 2018, there were over 1,000 fires started in southern Israel out of Gaza, over 1,000. The last day I was there, before I rotated out, there were 26 fires that one day I was there, to tell you how unbelievable this
and there's no
situation was.
firefighters to help.
It was all hands on deck. They canceled all the vacations. They had the IDF, the military was helping. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane. And what happens is the Americans go in to help fight these fires because there's just not enough manpower to do it. And so we were stationed along the Negev, which is like the southern Israel, like Ashkelon, Sderot, Netivot, Beersheba. So we were interspersed throughout the south. And when a fire would come in or a balloon would come over and start all these fires, we'd have to go out there and fight the fires. Now, a fire doubles in size every 90 seconds. So when you're talking about a very dry, arid place like Israel, it's a desert. So when you have these ash and hot embers dropping down from these kites and balloons, they can start fires very quickly, and the wind is whipping off the coast, and you have a raging inferno, a wildland fire raging. And these are some of the most dangerous types of fires to fight because you don't typically fight them with water. You have to dig trenches and bulldoze, and you have helicopters coming in and water planes, and it's very, very, very dangerous. And so we would go in to try to help. But in the meantime, there are also still normal calls. There are fire alarms. There was a synagogue that caught fire. we had to go to so there's also, in addition to all these fires, there's still normal everyday calls.
Right, because you have the massive things coming at you, but then
Yes.
you have your daily, everyday
somebody left the
situation.
pot on the stove.
And there's nobody there to help.
Nobody there to help.
Wow.
Someone's in a car accident. They're trapped. They need the jaws of life to come get them out. Like, those calls are still coming in.
It's not like they stop because there's a big situation.
They don't stop.
Right? You wish.
No, they don't.
They don't stop. So we were running those calls. We were doing these things, and I got to tell you, it was an incredible situation. So along the Gaza border, there's like a demilitarized zone in between Gaza and Israel. And there were a lot of fires in there because a lot of the balloons would kind of fail to launch. They kind of go up and they come down. They start fires in this little area. So we're fighting a ton of these fires. And all of a sudden, the IDF tells us to take cover behind one of the fire engines. And by the way, the fire engines in the south that we were using are armor-plated, bulletproof fire engines. These are like tanks, but it's a fire engine. I mean, I didn't even know anything like this existed.
Me neither.
So we're on these fire engines, and we're wearing bulletproof vests and Kevlar helmets also, by the way. And the firefighters there carry guns.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw...
You're like a war.
Yeah, you're in a war zone. The first time I saw one of the officers put on his 45 in his holster when we were going on a call, I was like, why do you guys carry guns? And he's just walking to the engine. He looks back at me and he goes, terrorists.
Oh. What do you think when he said...
I was like, okay. I was like, all right.
You call him and tell him that?
No.
I was going to say.
So we're fighting this fire right there in little DMZ between Gaza and Israel. And the IDF's like, everyone take cover. They spotted some like Hamas snipers in Gaza because Gaza is like right there. You can just see it. It's a wall and you can see in there. And I guess the IDF, they have spotters, they have drones, they have Predator drones overhead flying. There's tanks roaming around in there. It's insane. And so we take cover behind one of the engines. So when you don't put water on a fire, it's going to continue to grow. A fire doubles in size every 90 seconds. So the wind is whipping, so there's smoke and ash, and the fire's like flicking, and it's just growing. And we're sitting behind this engine, and it's really hot. We're in all of our gear. And I look over at my buddy and I was like, this was not in the brochure.
I didn't get the memo, right?
Yeah. Hey, come to Israel. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, nothing about terrorists and balloons
nobody
and all
told me
kinds
anything
of
about snipers.
45s to get in a fire truck.
Experience culture. Experience culture.
Snipers and sitting behind a bulletproof fire engine while like there's
AJ, but we're going to give you the best experience of your life. You can take home stories with you if you live.
Good food, good wine, good culture.
If you live, you have something to tell if you make it back.
I was like, what did I get myself into? I should have known a little bit more when we originally did our training. We did it here at our fire station, but the first training for the EVP in Florida was done at Plantation Fire Station. And some the Israel Fire and Rescue Services personnel came from Israel to train us. And they had firefighters there, and they also had government officials there. I personally think they were in the Mossad, but I don't know. They said they were from the government.
If you were a betting man, right?
They said they were from the government. So we go through this whole training. We go through this whole thing. At the end of the 2-day training, they come and they want to give us like a political debrief. They're like, this is after the 2 days of training. Like, we need to talk about educate you guys on the political situation and the terrorism and what's going on. They start rolling out all these charts showing like stabbing attacks and suicide, this, and bombs they've detonated and things they found. And I was like, you guys probably should have showed us this at the beginning of the training. Like, why didn't anybody tell us about stabbing attacks before? Like, stabbing attacks? What do you mean?
You want to sign up then?
Yeah, it's crazy. How many attacks per day, where they are in the country. It was very detailed.
Oh, and AJ, there might be a balloon that will blow you to smithereens that comes down, and if you shoot it, it's just going to blow up on top of you anyway, right?
Yeah, so it's
a pretty good move.
It was very sobering. Yeah, very. If they did it at the beginning, I think most of us might have left. Like, hey, man, I don't know about this. So I think that they did a good job sort of preparing us for kind of what to expect. And I think I knew that I wasn't in Kansas anymore as we were flying into Israel. When you go into Israeli airspace, everyone must take their seat. And I didn't know that. So the pilot comes on and goes, we are in Israeli airspace. Sorry, I have to work on my Israeli accent. Sorry. But we are in Israeli airspace, and you must all take your seats, and you must remain seated until we land. Like, that's when I knew, like, okay, like, shit has just gotten real. Like, you're not even allowed to get up. Once you're in Israel airspace, everyone has to sit down. You cannot get out of your seat. And it was just incredible. So when we got there, we go through the airport, and beautiful airport. And we have to take a bus takes us to Jerusalem, or they take us to Stair Road or wherever we're going. And when you go into Jerusalem, Jerusalem is one of the most amazing cities. It is incredible. And I was so surprised at all of the, because you think of Israel, you think like a Jewish state, but there are a lot of like Arab Muslims that live in Jerusalem. You know, there's mosques there, and so it's a very international city. Like there's Old Jerusalem, which is controlled by the Palestinian Authority, and then there's like the newer side of Jerusalem, which is controlled by the Israelis.
Is it kind of modernized?
I mean, there's a mall that's like right there, you know,
Okay.
and near the Western Wall. So you go down to the wall, and people are there praying, and there's bar mitzvahs going on and bat mitzvahs, and you can go into. I mean, this is like the oldest like wall, like one of the oldest walls in the world, the Western Wall,
How
the most
cool is that
holy
to see?
site. Amazing, the most holy site. We went to, you know, a lot of the Christian sites, a lot of different churches. So then Nazareth and some of the very holy Christian sites are controlled by the Palestinian Authority, so Jews can't even go there because you have to go into like old Jerusalem to get there, and they're just not allowed to go in there. It's just too dangerous for them. So it's a very complicated place. It's got a complicated history, but there's a lot of collaboration that's there. You know, there are 9 million people in Israel, 2 million Arab Muslims, Palestinians, and there are Palestinians. There's a Palestinian who's on the Israel Supreme Court. There are Palestinians in the Congress, and in their Congress called the
you wouldn't think
Knesset.
so.
Yeah, most people don't realize that. So if you go to the north, like in Akko, there's like a church, a mosque, and a Jewish synagogue, all in the same intersection. Like, and they're all like living together. And so it's an interesting place. It's got a complicated history, but it is some place that's near and dear to me. And I've been there twice, and when I was there the last time in the South, the commissioner of Israel Fire and Rescue Services. So their fire department is like nationalized. They don't have individual cities, don't have fire departments. There's one fire department. It's run by a commissioner. It's like the military, but it's a fire department. So one of the things he said was, when you go back to the United States, please tell everyone about what you saw here. You know, the media is not fair to us. We don't get fair representation. So we need you all to go back to America and tell everyone. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been speaking at events all over the country. And when COVID hit, it was all on Zoom, which I hate talking on Zoom.
I hate Zoom too. I mean,
Hate talking
it
on
really
Zoom.
has to be
Hard.
somebody huge.
It's really hard to talk on Zoom.
Like if it's
hard.
somebody big, I'd rather spend the money because it's not personal.
So hard. You're just talking to a screen. You don't
I
get
hate
any
it.
feedback.
It is
So since COVID, it's been online. But prior to COVID, I've been all over the country at fundraisers, at different events, speaking at Hillel's college campuses. I was invited to speak at Harvard. Syracuse is inquiring. I mean, there's just, as COVID is starting to wane, there's going to be a little bit more in-person activity going, and I'll be back out on the road trying to fight the good fight for our best and closest friend in the Middle East. It's the only democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah, you need to get that out there. 'Cause
Yeah.
people don't know. And you know what the Jewish people did? That they actually were the ones, you know, I got to be careful how I say it because of censorship, but when they started with the vaccine thing, right?
Yes,
The Jewish, they're like their own cult type of thing.
sure.
And they follow the menstrual cycle like crazy.
Okay.
Well, that vaccine was throwing off the menstrual cycle for the women.
Yeah, I never heard this.
Yeah, it's in the medical journal. And yeah, you'll never find it on Google.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So what happened was, you know, and they're
I don't have a menstrual cycle, so
I just read the medical journal all the time because it's actually legit. It's third party.
I believe you.
Yeah. So, but what had happened was that they live and die by that menstrual cycle. So, you know, they know when to have sex and
Sure.
have babies and to
Sure.
reproduce within.
Sure.
Well, the vaccine was throwing off the menstrual cycle heavily. So it was really messing up. I don't want to say call because they're not, they worded it a more proper way, but their group.
Sure.
That threw it off, and they were the first ones to really make a stink about the vaccine when everybody was saying this, that. And shortly after that, that was when Dr. Malone, who invented the vaccine, came. He actually went on Rogan first and then Fox and CNN and everywhere else and was saying the opposite of what the news was saying. And this is the guy who invented it because he was giving the wrong data from Pfizer because Pfizer was doing their own third-party tests. And that's how they were coming out with it. So I'm just saying that they were the first ones to make make a move on it. Like, hey, hold on here.
Well, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the
whether true or not, I don't know.
A lot of the things that were coming out, that a lot of people are looking at, some of the researchers and coming out of Israel, but they're always on top of it, on top of things, and making sure everything is
I believe them more than anything I hear.
Israel is an interesting place. It's like a startup country. They're great. Their technology, their medical innovation, technology, a lot of the different communications, things that we use all over the world, medicines and things are invented in Israel. It's a very important place. And when Israel was founded in 1948, it was a desert. It was a rocky desert. There was like nothing there. And one of the things that most people don't know and don't think about is Israel is very important for the region because over 500 million migratory birds come through Israel when they're migrating to the south.
People don't realize how important that is.
How important that is. And when we first got to the south in 2018, Shmulik Friedman, who's the Southern Regional Commander for the Israel Fire and Rescue Service, we had this big meeting. And all the Americans were there. There were 10 of us. And I thought it was going to be like this, like go out there and we're going to kick some ass and put some fires out. And we're going to, like this rah speech. It wasn't that. He started talking about the turtles and the birds that were being affected by these fires. Mm-hmm. Totally caught me off guard. I've been to a lot of fire trainings, fire speeches. I've never heard anyone talk.
One link is broken in that. Yes. There's a big problem.
I've never heard anyone talking about.
It's the butterfly effect.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't realize.
Never heard anyone talk like that. He was like,
smart man.
The turtles and the birds and the vegetation that they require. So when they're migrating from Europe, they stop in Israel to feed, to get the energy to continue going to Africa, or they're going to Asia, or wherever they're going.
Which has been going on for gazillions years.
Since the dawn of time. And if you look at satellite images of the Middle East, everywhere around Israel is all brown. It's desert, rocky desert. And in Israel is like a garden. It's green.
So those animals, they're dying to get to that green.
Yeah.
The animals are that's their only refuge. If they're going to Asia, going to Africa, wherever they're going, wherever they're going, they got to stop there and fatten up.
Amazing.
500 million birds. So it's a very important ecological center.
Yeah.
So there's the environment that's important.
Smart man.
The cultural history. And right now you think about what's going on in Ukraine. You have the Ukrainians, there are Ukrainian Jews there who are very scared because, again, the Holocaust happened, 80 years ago. So Israel has opened their doors to say any Jewish person in Ukraine can come here, we will take you in. So they have a place, like it's their refuge.
Right.
And so Israel is a very important place, and we have to protect our friends there. And honestly, the best thing you can do for the safety and security of Palestinians is to have a safe and stable Israel. And by the way, and I say this every time I speak, no matter where I'm speaking, and more people need to hear this, just because you're pro-Israel doesn't mean you're anti-Palestinian. I've been in the West Bank. We've run calls on the West Bank, which is the Palestinian
But that's what's portrayed to America.
That's what's portrayed to America, but that's not true. I think that a Palestinian child needs to be safe and secure and have a good future just as much as I think a Jewish child is. And I have a very good friend who's a commander in the Israeli IDF. And when a lot of firefighting is a lot of sitting around, and then moments of terror, so it's like a lot of sitting around and talking. So we were talking, and he said, one of the things you have to remember about the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, is they're not the Jewish Defense Forces. They're the Israeli Defense Forces. So anyone in Israel is under their protection. So they are charged with securing and protecting everyone in Israel. It's not just about Jewish people. So it's everybody. And so the safety and security of Palestinian children is just as important to me as the safety and security of Jewish children. And when they were sending these kites and balloons indiscriminately attacking into Israel, the wind is carrying them, balloons and kites, and causing these fires. There are Palestinian children who have respiratory issues, and the smoke can harm them, can kill them. So this terrible threat is important that we push back against that. And we were there as part of a contingency from the United States to remind Israel that we will always be there for them in their time of need. And whenever they call, we're coming.
And then is that when you built the website and started speaking like you have here? Like to speak, like, is that what you're speaking about?
Absolutely.
Okay, can you go through the website so everybody knows?
Sure. So yeah, my website is astonbright.com. and we that was me on ladder. I think it was on ladder 6-2. That picture was taken at Plantation.
You look like you're just in a fire. Well, I guess you are. Right? I mean,
So yeah, the website is where you can go. You can communicate with me there or on my social media. You can find me at astonbright. I have news clips and videos and things like that. So yeah, a lot of speaking inquiries come through there. A lot of them come through the different organizations that I speak at. A lot of Jewish organizations. There are over 600 Jewish organizations in the United States.
a lot with Magic Johnson. Huh?
Yeah, Magic
Is
comes.
he as nice as everybody says?
He's the nicest guy ever. Matter of fact, he was just at an event about a month and a half ago at Trump National in Doral.
Yeah.
He was speaking there, and Eric Trump was there. So I met Eric Trump for the first time there backstage. Trump, Magic was the keynote
He always
speaker.
seems
Eric
so
opened
fucking
up.
nice, man.
He's amazing.
He's a big dude.
He's a big guy. He makes me look like a kid standing next to him. He's a very, very big guy. He comes to he's in Miami probably like once a quarter now. He does a lot of business in Miami now.
He's still in good shape, too.
He's in great
Look at
shape.
him. He's-
buff,
if you're listening to this, Magic Johnson's still jacked.
He's jacked. He's jacked.
Yeah, good for him.
He's the nicest guy, very shrewd businessman. He started Magic Johnson movie theaters, and everyone told him he was crazy. He wanted to put movie theaters down in the hood, in the urban centers.
He
Everyone
makes
told
very
him-
smart moves.
Yeah, great businessman, really smart. And right before he retired, he went to Jerry Buss and said, "Hey, I want to have lunch with everyone who has courtside seats." Because remember, back when he played, they didn't make the kind of money they make now. So he's like, I want to be educated by anyone who can afford those seats. I want to know what they do, how they make their money. And he went and had lunch with everyone, and that's how he started
That's
to
a
kind of get
businessman.
that education as to starting his movie theaters. His first deal he did was a radio station. He and a couple players bought a radio station. They sold it, made some money, and then when he retired, he started the Magic Johnson movie theaters. AMC bought the theaters.
Oh wow.
He took
Wow,
a
so AMC.
Yes.
Wow.
And he took a cash and stock deal from AMC. This is probably like in 1996. What happened in 1999? The dot-com boom. So his now 150 million he got in stock from AMC is now probably worth 250, 300 million. That's kind of what got him started.
Yeah.
Then he was the first person to franchise Starbucks. He did the
I
same
didn't know
thing
he
with TGI
franchised
Fridays.
Starbucks.
Wow,
Yes.
and TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays, Starbucks.
Magic Johnson knowledge had no.
All right, my man.
He took that same model. He took that same model and went into the urban centers, bringing Starbucks and Fridays.
Wow,
Then
how
when
cool, huh?
when the family that owns the Dodgers was getting divorced, the Dodgers were up for sale. A group out of Chicago wanted to put in a bid, and they're like, "Well, we don't have enough juice in Los Angeles to get this. We need somebody who's got juice in Los Angeles." They called Magic. So he had to divest everything he had. He divested all the Starbucks, Fridays, everything. He divested everything.
Wow.
He actually put money in that deal. So he's not just a figurehead. And then they put in their bid and they got it. Almost $2 billion, $1.9 billion for the Dodgers. They got it. They got some crazy TV deal. So his investment, I don't remember how much he put in. I think it was a couple $100 million. It was a $1.9 billion deal. So yeah, it's a lot. And I think he put in a couple $100 million of his own money. So he's not just a figurehead. But they got some crazy $10 billion TV deal. So his a couple $100 million investment tripled. And he's the owner of the Dodgers. He's just a very good businessman.
Nobody can pass.
He had
that.
his own PPP loan funds.
Oh yeah, he
during-
did.
during
I do
COVID.
remember that. Yeah.
He actually also owns a portion of the MLS team in Los Angeles.
There you go.
Does
So
he
if you
really?
ever want to go to any Dodger games, let me
Yeah,
know, man.
absolutely.
Magic's always like, hey, man, you can come to games anytime you want. He's like, bring as many people as you want. Come.
Shit,
He's like, home or
you
away.
got to ask me
No,
twice. I'm
absolutely.
hunting you down. Don't throw these at me, AJ.
he tells-
me and Alex are boys. I'll hunt you down.
He tells me all the time. He's like,
Don't start throwing that, man. You got
he
two
tells
big
me.
fans over here.
He tells you, bring as many people as you want. You can come anytime.
He played Superman, right?
Yeah, Steve Kane.
Steen Kane.
Nah,
This
you
was at
fucker.
a
Every
show.
kid in the planet wants to get a picture with Superman.
Yeah.
Even Alex.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was at a
That's kind of sci-fi.
at a Comic-Con type show.
Yeah.
Dean Cain was there. William Shatner was there. William Shatner was holding court in the green room.
He's a
And
great
it was
actor.
he was so funny. He was so funny. He's like, Dennis, tell me about all these women. And he just had everybody dying
You know,
laughing.
it's so funny
So
because
funny.
these regular actors, that they want to taste the Dennis
Oh, yeah.
life.
Oh, for sure.
And they may say whatever on the side, but they say that to the people that they have to. But in
Sure.
real life,
Sure.
they want to hang out
Oh,
with
for
Dennis
You know how
Rodman.
big you know how big the celebrities are, because I remember the first time when I went and helped him out handling Hulk Hogan, and it was like
It's
come
Eddie
out-
Vedder, my boy, Eddie.
Who's
yeah,
that?
That's
Eddie
Eddie
Vedder.
Vedder.
Eddie
from-
Vedder.
Yeah,
Van
Pearl
Halen.
Jam.
Oh, Pearl Jam.
Yeah, I'm the wrong one.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
That was in Fort Lauderdale. Eddie was on tour.
What a bad.
Pearl Jam's actually getting ready to go on the road again.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're going.
Hey, why
to,
not?
on the Western U.S. and then they're going to go to Europe this summer. So I'll probably be in like Copenhagen or somewhere.
Hey, why not?
I'll be there.
So now, if somebody wants to hire you to speak, they go up to speaking inquiries
they can
on the
just
website.
send me an email. I'll connect them with my my agent who can
Up top,
work
Rob?
it out.
It says speaking inquiries.
Yeah, I haven't I know some great agents. So Prince Marketing Group helps me with that. Working through some of the details. We're actually setting up a college tour right now. We're going to be speaking sort of outside of the Jewish organizations, sort of more in the deeper end of the pool, which college campuses right now, there's a lot of anti-Semitism, there's a lot of problems on campus. And so we're going to be talking and doing a tour outside of like the Hillels and the Jewish organizations. We're going to be in more of the secular audiences. So that's coming up. We have a Muslim, a pro-Israel Muslim is going to be on the tour with us as well, giving a different perspective, and it's going to be very interesting.
When you listen to their perspective, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So when you take away the media and the what's it called when you like judge somebody
outside,
without
no, just take out the outside.
you take out all the outside noise and you listen to what they have to say, it's very interesting.
Sure, it is, and I think that one of the biggest problems is the outside agitators who come in. So you have a lot of outside groups from Iran and other places that come in, and they create a lot of the discord, because Israel's made many overtures to the Palestinian Authority for many years about building their own airport, helping them build resort centers so they can get tourism and do all these things, and it's always rejected because there's certain people who count on the acrimony in order for them to remain relevant.
Yeah, I was reading about that. Why they stopped that airport? That would have changed the whole game.
Changed the game. Airport and their own resort hotels, and because they have beautiful beaches. Gaza, and
it's like white sand.
Yes,
did you see that?
Beaches.
Yeah.
It was this close to getting approved. And why
they won't do it?
Why they stop it?
There are outside agitators who come in and who undermine those sorts of deals because they don't want peace. They need
they want the
acrimony so they can project their influence in there and continue to vilify Israel. And
that alone would have changed that whole place.
It would change everything for them. It would change everything.
A safe resort.
Well,
right
the whole thing is you see that in a lot of different, not just Israel. It's always that, conflict sells.
Yeah.
In my business, which is entertainment, the best shows are the ones that are just these train wrecks that you can't watch. Like Tiger King. He got me watching Tiger King.
Oh, great
and
show.
It's just a train wreck, and they want the conflicts. You want those arguments. You want those.
Well, look at what's going on with the black community. You see that there are some people who count on there being like this acrimony and making it seem like it's 1952 in Selma, Alabama still.
It's almost like they want it.
They almost like they don't want there to be that cohesiveness and that togetherness. I think we're stronger together. I think that most people don't realize that black people are actually doing very well. There are a lot of black people who are thriving right now. Poverty rates among black men in the 1960s were at 40%. They're at 18%.
Yeah.
How about how many billionaires there are now that are African American?
Hold on a second. 1 in 2 black men are in the middle class or higher. So it's but if you turn on TV, you think we're being dragged out of cars and just being shot and arrested all day long. It's just not true.
The things are still happening, but I think this is the movement, and he and I have this discussion and this debate all the time, especially in the last 10 to 15 years. The technology is what really is improving, because before, like, the best thing that I think that's happened in the last 6 to 7 years has been the pushing of Acorn, the pushing of Robinhood, because you made and the laws to change to where you can now buy stocks at a low end. You don't need the hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's opened up the generational wealth.
Crypto.
Whoever's buying Robinhood better read that fine print.
You're really
crypto.
But you're really
crypto has equalized that. Also,
you're seeing this. You're seeing a lot of movement, because again, I belong to a lot of these groups that are like black millionaire groups that are telling people, you know what, you don't need that person to teach you how to do this. There's groups out there that can assist you and help you and give you those directions. So you're seeing that there. Yeah, it's still, you got to jump through hoops and so forth, but it's like I've always said, and he's always agreed with me, is that you have to understand how to play this game, and too many in our community don't know how to play the game. And game may be a harsh term to put, but that's what I look at it as.
I think that progress has to be recognized. I think that we've come a long way in this country. There have been terrible problems, the rape, torture, and murder of black people for hundreds of years, which ended 100 years ago, and there have been a lot of challenges over that time. But I think that as the civil rights bills started to pass in the mid to late 60s, and you saw the 70s, I think that there are a lot of structural problems that still can be worked out. But anyone who wants to go to school and stay out of trouble and get some skills, get some education, can really make and pave their own way. And I think that having a message of despair is very detrimental to young people. So you have to give them messages of hope, like that things aren't as bad as some people want you to believe it is. Because if people don't have hope, then they have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
they're not. They
You
feel
figure
like
I'm done for in life. I might as well go to the corner.
I might as well.
Yeah.
I might as well. So you have to. We need more people pushing that message, and I just don't think that there's enough of that.
And that's also what you do. If
Absolutely.
Because let's just call it what it is. If I go up and I speak, no one gives a shit what I have to say, right?
Well, yeah.
But you were with Dennis Rodman. You got pictures,
Sure.
whatever. It's reality's reality, right?
It's easier
Someone's
pill
going to
to
listen
swallow.
to you more than they are with me because of your background. Like Lilo,
100%.
like Lilo Brancato. He's an ex-drug addict. He goes, volunteers to speak to kids that are on drugs, right?
Amazing.
Not one of these kids in New York listen to the counselor that has no idea,
No.
or even somebody who's been through it. But you bring in, a celebrity or whatever, an actor, movie guy, they listen to him
100%.
because he went through it. He went to jail. He was hooked on it bad. The whole nine. They listen to him. So like you can make a difference with this.
100%. I think I've always tried to model myself in a way that I'd like to show the way for others to follow me if they'd like to do the things that I've done. I haven't done anything. I don't have like magical powers. I've just been living my life. I got a little bit of education, and I learned some skills.
A little bit. You only got a master's degree. only a pilot. I've been to 40 different countries.
I try to live my life in a way that sets a good example, and I think that's more powerful than Black Lives Matter or any organization.
That's what's missing too. It's like, not to get biblical or anything like that. I'm not the type of guy, but like, they say the old thing, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, right?
Yes.
Teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime.
100%.
You give someone knowledge and power to do that, they're transforming their lives. They may come from the gutter, they came from absolutely nothing. But the whole point is, a lot of times, you think of the government, you think of things, the welfare system. I'm not going to go down those roads, but you're just giving people stuff, and there's no need or want to even try to make it. It's purposely done.
You have to.
There has to be a prop up of it, and he and I have, like I said, we've had this debate before. You've got to be able to, and again, just like you said, this voice is easier, especially in the community, to talk to and to listen to, because we went through it. We look like them. We look like each other. We identify with each other. And again, we're middle class in our community. And where we grew up, there was two sides of Lauderhill. There was deep side, which was the hood, and that was the side you really didn't want to go to. And then there was a side. What happened was it was an area where these houses were up for sale and people were buying them, especially in our community, which is Jamaican. It's little Jamaica now. You go to Lauderhill, it's all Jamaicans that live there, and they fixed the houses up and they bought these houses, and those houses were all people that were retired. I remember when we first moved in our neighborhood, we were the only black people on the entire 2 blocks.
Right, but what I mean, is
thing.
if Rob is doing a speech, I'm not going to listen to a word he says. But if Rob is hanging out with, I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to be like, really, you want me to listen to him? Who is he? Just in reality.
Just being honest.
I know.
And I think 90% of the people, okay, I'll go, all right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you're on the phone. But then you have somebody like you who has this portfolio, and you're doing a great thing because you're using all the experience that you had that were great, that 1 in a million people get to have. And now you're taking that and using it to talk to people to better a situation.
Absolutely.
That no one will listen to you either.
Yeah.
If you hadn't had the background that you have with these celebrities because people will listen because you're somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's just life. That's just a human.
Again, I think that
like you're gonna listen to Johnny Depp or the guy down the street,
Right.
right? My favorite actor is Morgan Freeman. So
I love Morgan.
am I gonna listen to Morgan Freeman or the guy on the corner?
Right.
I'll listen to Morgan Freeman talk about the color of the sky. You know?
I think the most
if he thinks it's orange, it's fucking orange.
I think the most important thing for people is their mindset.
Yeah.
Because and Tony Robbins has this saying, and I love this. It's one of my favorites. And Tony Robbins, by the way, lives very close to where we are right now in Palm Beach.
I'm
and he
trying.
says,
I'm working on it.
Yeah. And one of his sayings is that if you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And it has to do with your mindset. It has to do with what it is that you believe. Do you believe that you can do something? Then you're probably going to be able to do it. If you don't believe you can do something, or
then you
have
can't.
no hope, there is 0% chance you're ever going to be able to do these things. So,
but you got to take that statement for what he's saying. If
absolutely.
you believe you can't, you can't. But if
yes,
you believe you can,
then you can.
But if you look at,
that's how I've lived my life.
But if
there's crazy things I've done,
worked out pretty damn good for you, buddy.
Getting into the celebrity
we
world,
don't got a pile of license.
with no contacts. I didn't know anybody, had no connections.
Congratulations.
You know what I mean? It's like you have to believe it's possible. You have to have hope.
Both of you.
And again,
you have to believe that.
When we were talking about Elon Musk, that's the biggest thing I think that Elon Musk does.
He's a dreamer. I'm a dreamer.
He doesn't accept no, and he wants to prove to you that he can do it. And like I said, the point when I started this story, it was about someone telling me that, well, no, black people don't do sci-fi. And I just was like, well, watch. I want to be the biggest science fiction storyteller out there. And I know I have a great story. I know it's going to be a monster. And it's just, continue pushing, keep on pushing, and keep on
grind.
going.
It's the grind. And then with things like that, I know, too. It's like you're grinding, nothing happens, and then it's just like out of nowhere. Like you with your situation and your past with WWE and Harlem Globe Trotters. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
When he said Harlem, I didn't know that when I first came in. I used to watch those guys. Holy shit. And, things just happen.
Yeah.
But as long as you keep grinding, you don't lose. You're only a loser when you give up to me.
Sure. So I think one of the funniest moments for me with Dennis was when he was on the Howard Stern show.
I got to hear about that.
Yeah, it was great. So they were making fun of Dennis, like the way that he talks, Like, oh, Dennis, you sound like kind of like a white guy when you talk. And Dennis goes, you think I sound white? You should hear the guy I'm with right now. You go talk to him. And then Gary Delabate came and grabbed me and brought me in there. I go, oh, hey, what's going on, man? So I start talking, and Howard's like, oh, so what's it like with Dennis? Like, are you there to tell everybody, all right, everybody calm down, whatever. And it was like the toughest room I've ever been in.
Why?
It was so hard to get a word in. It was a tough room.
Because you got Howard across from you, right?
Howard across.
Robin in the
was
window.
In her little booth.
Where's Fred at?
Fred, he's at the table. So I was standing there. Dennis is on the couch. Fred was there. Howard's here, and Robin was kind of like off the side. I couldn't even see her.
Before he said something, because the whole thing was they were talking about how Dennis, is the tall, good-looking black guy, and Dennis was like, "Well, you should see my guy I'm with." And so he comes in, and Fred, as soon as my brother walks in, Fred, or was it Fred? Or was it another guy? He goes, "Oh Jesus! Now another black guy that's taking all the white women." And Howard is just laughing, and then Howard asks him, because it's a video. I watched the video. He shows me the video, and then Howard asks him. He's like, so what's it like?
Yeah, he's like, what's it like? When everybody calm down, everybody take it easy. And it was really funny because they just couldn't believe when I was saying, actually, Dennis is a very laid back guy. He's not as wild and crazy as people make him out to be. When he's drinking, yes, for sure. But they also made a joke about, I don't even remember the specific joke, but it was something about him. You could hardly understand him sometimes or whatever. And so they're like, after they heard me like talking or whatever, my vernacular is so clear and clean. They're like, Robin was like, oh, when the phone rings, do you just hand the phone to him and say, hey, you take this call? You just talk to me. It was really funny, but it was a tough room. Tough. Just to get a word in, like they'd ask me a question, I start answering, and like you had everyone like jumping in, and it was an amazing moment because from the time I was 16, I was listening to the Howard Stern show, loved Howard Stern, and to be there, like my phone was like blowing up, blowing up. Everyone's calling like, "Oh my God, I hear you on the Howard Stern show." I'm like, "I know I'm here. Like I know I'm on." But it was great, and I got to talk to everybody in the back. A lot of the guys. None of the Whack Pack were there, but all the guys that work on the show, they were all in the back. I was going around the offices and talking to everyone. David Height was there. He was doing the archiving of all the old shows, and it was really one of the most incredible experiences. I'll send you the video so you can check.
Yeah, you got to. It's great. I was the same way because I always listened to Howard, always. And when I had Stuttering John in,
oh wow,
even though he had left, I had him in a few times.
I did see that.
He is now. You know what you just said about Dennis? How everybody thinks, he's out of this world.
Right.
Stuttering John off the camera, number one, he doesn't even stutter. Rarely. Unless he's drinking. Now, if he's on his drinking thing, right, he's out there.
Right.
But when he's not hammered, he's the nicest, kindest guy, very kind to my daughter. He doesn't stutter. He'll take the shirt off his back for it. He's not like that. But at times he gets a little crazy.
Everybody does.
Sure.
But not 20. But you would think he's a nut 24/7 like Dennis.
No, he's not.
But he's not. He came to my house, held my daughter,
Amazing.
Stuttering John, not one stutter.
Amazing.
And what people don't know is at the height of his career, when he was on that red carpet, he was leaving, and a kid came up to him. Now this is at the height with Howard, and the kid says, "Hey, I have a date tonight, but I don't know what to say." And he steps away from the red carpet and he writes down for this kid, "Hey, look, before you go to the movies tonight, write down what you're going to say to her. That way you're not nervous. You could say here." And then they give it back. 20 years later, he runs into this guy at the Brigada in Atlantic City. He's the head chef.
Wow.
Comes out and says, "John." And John looks at him, right, Rob?
Yeah.
And John didn't recognize him. And he goes, "It's me from 20 years ago. You gave me the note on how to stop stuttering. It worked. I don't stutter." And he doesn't stutter anymore.
That's life.
Amazing.
But that goes to show you, that's two right there. Dennis and Stuttering John that you think are off the wall, nuts, drunks, whatever. And they're not like that.
Smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Very smart guy, too.
Dennis has genius level intelligence. Dr. Drew thinks that Dennis is on the spectrum like Asperger's. I think he's probably farther along on the spectrum than that. But Dennis, he memorizes everyone's phone number. He doesn't save any numbers on his phone.
Wow.
He'll call me sometimes and be like, "Hey, what is Eddie Vedder's phone number?" And I'll start giving it to him, and I'll give him the first three numbers. He goes, "Oh, okay, you know what? I got it. Click."
Yeah, that's genius.
He's genius level. He has genius level intelligence.
Yeah.
And I personally think, in watching so much tape of him, when a shot would go up, he was doing the calculus in his head.
Timing it.
He could calculate on the arc of the ball and the rotations. He knew where the ball was going. And if go back and watch tape of him, the ball goes up, three guys go that way, he goes over this way and he gets the rebound. He knows where
he said that on ESPN that he knew when the shot was released where it was going to hit the rim and where he needed to be by the time that came off the rim.
And he would study the top shooters of the other team. So he would know how many rotations the ball makes when they shoot.
Yeah, you would watch him when he's boxing out even, and he just intense stare, and you'd see
he knew where it was going.
He knew where it was going.
Other guys jump, and all of a sudden they're up and they're coming down, and
he's going up.
He's up.
Yep. And he would tip it to himself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He'd grab it.
You're right.
So he's counting the rotations of the ball. Like that's the level he's rebounding.
Shit.
Yeah. How many people can do that? Those kind of calculations.
Yeah.
So he's doing the calculus. He knows where it's going. And an interesting thing, John DeLeva, the president of the NBA Hall of Fame, getting him in the Hall of Fame was not easy. So Michael got in, then Scotty got in the next year, and then Dennis got in, which is pretty crazy. He should have been a first ballot, but that's okay. And he did a signing. He did a public signing at the NBA when Michael got in, because we were on like a PR tour, because we were the NBA, the Hall of Fame was concerned about what he might do, and he's going to be crazy, whatever. So we had to show him like he could behave himself. He was going to be good. So during Michael's induction, he did a free public signing at the Hall of Fame. And it was like one of the biggest signings they've ever had. It was supposed to be for 2 hours. He was there for 5 hours. The line was so long.
That's so cool.
He just wouldn't leave. He's
Most
like, no,
guys
sign
would just
everybody.
get up and leave.
Absolutely. He stayed there for 5 hours signing. He bitched a little bit, but he stayed. He signed. So that helped a lot. So then the next year, Scotty got in. So we came back for Scotty, and he did some private events for some of their donors and other things. And while we were there, he went to John DeLeva's office, the president of the Hall of Fame. So we go in his office, and as you can imagine, this guy's got memorabilia like out the wazoo in his office. He's the president of the NBA Hall of Fame.
Imagine.
So we're in there, and the biggest picture he has in his office, like right across from his desk, is a camera looking down from the top of the backboard. You know how you have the camera looking down and the players are looking up or whatever? It's a picture of Dennis Rodman boxing out Larry Bird.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I was like, he's going to get in.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to get in.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, wow, amazing. And then the next year, actually before that, he had to talk to Jerry Colangelo, was the president of USA Basketball at the time. He was the owner of the Suns. And something happened with our schedules where I wasn't with him. I wanted to be in the same room with him, but I think I was out of town or something. So we had to do like a 3-way call. This is before Zoom. And I called him before the call and I said, all right, Dennis, whatever you do, no matter what this guy says to
I
you,
love that.
do not say anything except yes, sir, no, sir. Do not say anything. Do not say anything. And he said, okay, I got it. So call Jerry Colangelo.
He should be a comedian. Dennis should be a comedian, right? Wouldn't he be a funny comedian?
Oh, he'd
I
be
bet
great.
he would kill.
Yeah, he'd be great. So,
But you would have to keep them together.
Oh, forget it. So I called Jerry Colangelo's office, and they patched me through to him. And I wish I would have recorded the conversation because he was the president of USA Basketball. They were going to have the vote like that week. And Jerry Colangelo starts talking about, Dennis, do you know what it means to be in the Hall of Fame and all of the responsibility and, you know, conducting yourself in a way that represents the Hall of Fame? And he's like, you know, yes, Mr. Colangelo, yes, I understand. You know, he was great. I was like, all right, so far so good. And he's like, it would be important to you and your legacy, and, you know, we'll have to see what happens. We're going to do the vote, and I hope you make it, but I just wanted to talk to you, see how you feel. He goes, then it's like, yeah, I would be honored, sir, to be in the Hall of Fame. It's quite a blessing for me. So I hope you guys will vote me in.
You probably went like this.
I'm like sweating. I'm sweating. Remember what he said to Ivanka? I'm sweating.
Yeah.
So we hang up the phone. And when I'm on a conference call, if I have to talk to someone who was on the call, I always hang up and call them back. I never will have a conversation because I think the other person might still be on. So I hang up, I call him back. And he picks up and he's like, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't hurt people. I don't do anything. Like, why was he talking to that? But I told him I'd say anything because I knew he might go off on him. I'm like, that's not the guy you want to go off on. This is the president of USA Basketball. So he vented to me, and I knew he would have done that if I said, dude.
You let him get it out on you.
Give it to me. You can give me anything you got.
See, great manager, right? Knows his guy.
Yeah, and about 2 weeks later, he got in. He got voted in. He made it, and it was like it was such a moment. And that week, that entire week, when we went for the Hall of Fame, it was so unbelievable.
He should have been with the first.
They rolled. He should have been a first ballot.
But whatever, he got in, and he's a great player.
He also didn't make it onto the top 50 team, the NBA all-time top 50 at 50 years. He wasn't on the team.
He was on the newest one, though, right?
Yeah.
He was on the top 75 team, so we've forgiven the NBA for leaving him off the top 50. But the interesting thing, he wasn't on the top 50 team, but they put out an official coffee table book of the top 50 players, and he was the centerfold. He wasn't on the team, but his picture was on the centerfold of the book. Go get the book and look at it. So the top 75 came out, and he got it. Actually, I still have the letter that they sent notifying him that he was in. I mean, they called us beforehand. They told us, but when they sent the letter, I made sure to grab that. So I have that letter. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it. And it was great, though, because now he feels like vindicated when he was left off the top 50 team.
Yeah.
He deserved to be on that team.
Yeah.
He deserved to be on the dream team. He deserved a lot of things that didn't come to him. His off the court antics hurt him a lot.
And it shouldn't have.
It shouldn't have.
Because it didn't really affect him.
It didn't affect him at all. He's complicated, but he's really at heart, like Southern Johnny. He's a really nice guy. When he's not drinking, he's very quiet. He doesn't really say much of anything.
And you could see his heart when he came back from North Korea. You could see the man has one hell of a heart. He's
big heart,
shedding tears on camera after all that. I mean,
big heart.
Come on,
you'll see a homeless guy who gives homeless guys money.
You can't not respect a man like that, and that he did all the dirty work for 15, 16 years.
Absolutely.
In the league when it was really the NBA.
Absolutely, he's got 5 championships. He's never on a losing team. He has one of the highest winning percentages of anyone in the NBA. If you look at his statistical analysis of his career, it's off the charts. He's never on a losing team. He was always a critical person. The Bulls don't get that second three-peat without him. There's no question. If they had not broken up the team, Jerry Reinsdorf and those guys didn't break up the team, they would have probably won 2 or 3 out of the next 4 or 5 easily.
Two last questions because I don't want to kidnap you and then you never come back. So 2 last, and then you got to promise to come back because I got a lot more for you.
Sure.
Okay,
no
so last 2. Do you think that if Reinsdorf and Krause was the other asshole, right?
Yeah.
Because I know Jordan wanted to play another year.
He did.
And I'm sure Pippen would have too.
He did.
Phil wanted to coach another year, but they didn't want him.
He did.
Did Rodman want to play another year and win another one?
Rodman wanted to play. If Jordan hadn't left or resigned or whatever, retired, he would have stayed. Yeah, he wanted to play. And
I think Jordan would have played if Phil didn't leave.
100%. And to this day, Dennis still doesn't understand why the team broke up. He still doesn't know. He still doesn't understand.
I'm pretty sure Jerry Krause.
It was Krause.
Now, they always say, this is my second line.
It was a stupid decision, by the way.
It's fucking the stupidest decision
Chicago
ever
hasn't
made.
Chicago hasn't sniffed.
That is the stupidest
championship.
decision in sports history, in my opinion.
The worst.
Can you think of anything stupider?
Yeah.
Terrible decision.
Probably the best basketball player that ever lived.
Yes.
If not tied. I think he's the best that
He's
ever
the best
lived.
ever.
I don't think anybody will ever come close. This LeBron talk is a joke.
It's not even close.
Not even remote. The closest one is Kobe. And
Yes,
he's
Kobe's
not
up
as
there.
good as Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan is the greatest ever.
So you have the greatest player ever, the second greatest like wingman in Scotty.
The best
and you
wingman
have
ever.
Rodman.
Yes.
And then you have everybody else around you is perfect for their spots.
Yep.
You know, you lost Paxton, they got what's his name? Who filled Paxton's spot?
The coach of the
They looked
Golden State.
Kerr.
Steve
So
Kerr.
they had everything. That was the dumbest move ever.
They would have won probably 3 out of the next 5. 3 out of the next 4 or 5. Easily. No one would have been able to beat them.
Yeah.
They would have been unstoppable.
Now, is it true that Scotty and Jordan and Rodman really didn't talk much? Or
They
is
never
that just
talked.
for the meet? That is true,
They
huh?
never talked. So when they were on a bus
I thought that was bullshit.
or they were on the plane, Michael would be in his section, Scotty would be over in his section, and Dennis, they never really talked. They never really talked.
I know Scotty and Jordan had a little bit of static, or they portrayed it to be.
They do now.
They do now.
They do
Scotty
now.
came out with this ridiculous book, and I know Scotty and his people. We do stuff with them occasionally, so I don't want to bash him too bad, but I don't understand what he's thinking. I don't understand what he thinks this is going to do by bashing the greatest player ever. He's the greatest duo. He and with of course Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas were great in their own right, but
Scotty.
one of the greatest duos ever in the NBA, Scotty and Michael. For him to bash him, I don't understand it. I'm sure he has his reasons. I don't understand his reasons.
But they wouldn't have been who they were without each other.
No.
They wouldn't.
You know?
No.
Well,
Michael
hey,
needed Scotty, and Scotty needed Michael.
Well,
no doubt.
that's what free speech is, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if he has to get that off his chest,
Absolutely.
so be it. You don't have to agree with it, but at least he could do it
Yeah.
right now.
100%.
Another year, he might not be able to, right?
100%.
Yeah, but I'll let you get at it and come back again, and we'll go through a bunch.
Oh,
of
I would
Absolutely.
love to. Maybe I'll have my book done by then. We can talk.
yeah. But I think those speaking events are really important. So you want to run over that again so everybody knows?
Yeah, so absolutely. Doing speaking all over the country. I'm a pro-Israel speaker. I speak about the importance of a very strong ties with the United States and our friends in Israel, as well as the safety and security of the Palestinian people. And anyone interested in having me come and speak at their school, their organization, can contact me on my website at astonbright.com, and my people will talk to your people, and we can go from there.
Did you say you do something with agents, that you help somebody get an agent? I thought I heard you say that, but I might have misunderstood.
Not directly,
Okay.
per se. People reach out all the time. Like I was on American Greed on CNBC, and people were reaching. People
know
were
a few of those guys in there. Always
yeah,
fun.
people were reaching out
Yeah.
about, hey, can you represent me? I'm a writer. I'm this. Like, I don't know anything about music.
Yeah.
Musicians are always reaching out to me. I don't know anything about music. I can't help you. I wish I could. Music is cool. Like, it's sexy, rock and roll and music and artists. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how it works. I don't know how anybody makes money doing
Not
it.
your lane.
Would be the
Yeah.
worst music agent of all time, because I just don't. That's not my lane. That's not what I know. I'm good at working with retired athletes, these iconic legends. Joe Frazier. I went to Michael Jackson's funeral with Joe Frazier.
Wow.
So it's like instead of like a red carpet entrance, there was like a black
Smoking
carpet.
Joe Frazier.
There was a black carpet entrance, and all of these A-list celebrities were coming up to him, wanting to just touch his left hand, like, "Oh, champ, your left hook."
Me too.
Everybody loved him.
I met him in college
Did you?
at a 7-Eleven. I'll never forget it. I swear
Amazing.
to God, I'll never forget it. I walked into 7-Eleven. I was at Temple University, right? Walked into 7-Eleven. I see these little kids running up to this guy. I'm like, it's an older black man. Who is this guy? These little kids are running up to him. They know who he is.
Yeah.
And
Smoking Joe.
he walks out the door, and I go, who was it? She goes, that was Joe Frazier. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he was the nicest guy. He was.
He was giving the kids like
You probably wanted to shoot yourself that you didn't go up and
But
shake his
He
hand.
was-
he was well older at this point.
Yeah.
He was the nicest guy. No one loved his fans. Oh man, more than Joe. He loved his fans. Such a nice guy. Super, super nice guy. Actually, his son Derek was on Big Brother. He was, his son Derek was on Big
That
Brother.
killed too.
They did the
They did well.
They did like the family members for Big Brother, the last one.
Oh, okay.
That was the last one.
Yeah. So that's my lane. That's kind of what I know. Music and writers and people are always contacting me about things. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about it. So
Yeah.
I can't really help.
Stick to what you know.
But I think that people should always pursue their dreams. I'm a dreamer myself.
Yeah.
I have a lot of great ideas, and as I said before, I'm sort of transitioning now into kind of being a little bit more of the talent, which is very unusual for me. I'm usually the one behind the scenes and that kind of thing, dealing with producers and stuff. Now I've got people wrangling me, like, hey, you got to be at this time, your call times, and
Well, you like the competition. From
Yeah.
from the moment the first thing you said was like everybody was playing football. You
Yeah.
wanted to do debates.
absolutely,
Because of your competitive nature, is what I've
Absolutely.
gathered over our time together.
absolutely.
So
And
you
it's
wanted to do what the others weren't to see if you could make it.
100%.
The challenge.
I feel like I'm just a little bit different than most people, and I kind of do my own thing. And I became a firefighter just really by accident, and it's one of the
No.
greatest things I've ever
See,
done.
you do this thing that people nowadays don't do. They do what they want, even if it's a risk.
Sure.
And if they fail, so what?
Absolutely,
You keep trying again.
You just come back.
That's the
again.
difference
Absolutely.
between a person like you and a person who's, oh my God.
You gotta take
If you
chances.
don't take the chance, you're just going to do the same thing for the rest
You've
of your
got to
life.
take chances.
Absolutely.
Becoming a firefighter is the greatest thing I've ever done. It's the
And look at
greatest
your
thing I've
brother.
ever done.
Your brother's coming out with a sci-fi comic book.
100%.
You know how that's not easy to take
No,
off the
it's not.
ground, and it's
He's
going to
been
take.
working on
And
this
he's
a long
aware.
time.
He's aware. It's
Yeah.
going to take years for this to hit.
He's been working
But
on
if
this
he
for
keeps
a very long time.
pumping, as we both know,
Absolutely.
if this doesn't hit particularly in some way, some shape or form, if you keep at it, it will hit.
Yeah.
It may not be Soul and Firebourne Comics.
Yeah.
But something within this genre will work for you
Yeah.
if you keep with it
Yeah.
because you love it.
Yeah.
And if you love
that's
it,
the thing.
it never
Yeah,
loses.
That's the thing.
100%.
Is the passion. I think that's what both of us definitely have. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
passion.
Your family is some serious
I-
shit, especially your sister. I'm
think-
scared. I'm scared of your sister, bro.
I think I try to keep a positive.
I mean that respectfully.
Yeah. Oh, no, of course.
Obviously.
Of course.
And this, I want no problems.
I try to.
Remember I said last
We'll
time?
bring her in.
I
next
try
time.
to.
They got
keep
me.
a-
We'll
They got me
bring-
scared to death of your sister.
We'll bring her in next time.
We'll bring in Avery.
You
Avery-
can. I'm
Avery-
hiding.
She'll sit over there and just stare at you the whole time.
We're like
I'm hiding. She
we're like
get-
Claymore Mines. Someone's going to be cutting up that 2 seconds of what I say.
I'm over here. He can sit here. The Irish guy can sit here.
I think the most important thing and best advice I can give anyone out there trying to accomplish something
Please do.
or dreamers or thinking of something is I think your attitude is probably the most important thing you can ever have because it's something you control 100%. You don't have to know or understand anything, but having a positive attitude will take you a very long way because most people are very negative. Most people are very they have a very negative mindset, and when you walk into a room with that positive attitude and that alacrity and that love of life and passionate, you're going to stand out and people are going to notice you, and that is how you can move forward because it's not so much about what you know, it's who you know, having those right connections. Britney Spears is not the best singer in the country. She had great connections, and that's why she was able to break out. So it's about having those connections, being positive, coming into a space of saying, hey, I'm here to help. Not trying to, there was I forgot his name, but I was watching some speaker and he was talking about your attitude and your approach, and he had a napkin and he put it in his thing like he's getting ready to eat. He's like, most people approach situations with like the napkin in here like they're ready to eat. You need to approach it like this. And he took it off and he put the napkin over his arm like he was a waiter. Like you're coming in to serve everyone else. And when you do that, it's going to help to manifest and bring other great things to you. And I just love that. And that's how
really
I've lived
cool
my
analogy.
life.
Yeah.
That's how I've lived my life. I can't remember his name. I would love to give him credit for it. But it's the guy on The Secret Millionaire. Can't remember his name though.
Oh,
but-
I know who you're talking about. I worked with him on the show. That
Okay.
show. It's he was on The Prophet. He had the show called The Prophet as well.
No, that's not him.
Oh, it's
That's not
not
the
that
prophet guy. No, Secret Millionaire. But anyway, I think that when you go into life and like I'm here to help, that's I think the key.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm here to help. And if you do that, I think that's a great way to sort of chase your dreams,
and that
go after
opens
your
the door.
goals,
Yeah.
open your doors, and you're going to fall on your face, and you're going to flame out, and you're going to make mistakes all the time. You're not going to. I think they said Michael Jordan's missed more shots than anybody. He's the greatest player ever. So you're going to have a lot of no's. People aren't going to be interested in what you're doing. They're going to say you can't do it. Look, he's got his comic here. They told him you can't. Black guys can't write science fiction, and he's doing it. He's going to turn into a TV series. It's going to be great. I'm hoping to have a part in there. I just want to be able to say like fire.
Yeah.
Like William Shatner on Wrath of Khan. I just want one line like, put the shields up, fire.
And I want to be in there and say he got whacked.
Everybody wants to come up and say something. My friend wants to get killed. He wants to say fire.
I just want to get on there. And say
Alex,
fire.
promote your stuff before we get out of here.
So definitely want
It'll
everybody.
all be in the description, by the way.
Yeah. I want everybody to check out Soul. It's we've got the first the issue out. We're getting ready to get our Kickstarter going. That's going well. And then we keep a lookout for the series, because the series is going to be fire. It's going to be amazing. We've got some great artists. We've got some great actors all lined up. It's definitely pretty cool. And then also my shirt. I wanted to give my shout out to my boy Zach. I'm wearing his shirt today.
Is that online on the store now?
Yeah. Well, it's on jacktalos.com. You can go in and buy our t-shirts, and as well as you can get an information as to where we're going to be, because I'm handling him. I get the expertise from my brother on how to handle different talent. So we're going to be down in Miami tomorrow at the CCW show. So definitely, if you guys are ever around, listen for those and check it out. But
and you also wanted to speak about Zach.
Yeah, Zach, we're trying to get him
on.
on. Definitely, he's a very interesting, unique talent. He's 7 feet tall, 320 pounds. He's a monster. We had a dark match on Impact Wrestling a couple months ago, so you can look him up, Jack Talos. That's what his moniker that he goes by, and you can check out how he is. And we're really trying to do some things with him, and he's a great guy. Great attitude, just like my brother and I. He's really easy to get along with. No issues, no anything. He's just a really hardworking guy. So definitely.
Right, and these books are great. My daughter goes through it because they're very colorful. I have a 1.5-year-old, and I have a bunch from when he came in before, and she just likes. I sent you a couple of pictures. She likes to see the colors and the weird bright colors.
Yeah,
in it. So
definitely. The soul is the issue 1 is going to be.
If you got kids and you want them quiet for about 10 minutes, no guarantees on the 10 minutes. No money back on the 10-minute guarantee, but you got a shot.
The pictures are good. The pictures are
Tommy, thank you for having us. I had a great time.
Oh, thank you for coming
amazing.
in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Alex, for coming back again with your brother. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
We'll be back
fan.
again.
Big
We'll
fan
be
of yours.
back.
You're doing a lot of great things for
Appreciate
people,
that.
man.
Thank you.
And I really respect you for all the with all the people you met and all the fame that you had, and now you're taking that and giving it back and trying to help things out. I just really respect that.
Well, I've said all my life, I'd love
You're not like all bougie and shit.
I'm definitely not bougie. I've said all my life, I'd love to see peace in the Middle East, and I actually have a chance to do that now.
Yeah,
so I'm trying
because
to
it's all bullshit war. It's like religion shit for a million years.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you could do something. If you keep at it, you know what? You'll make a difference.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Tommy.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. All right.